Like you're seriously injured. I'll help you heal. Otherwise, what do you think I'm going to do? The colorful water clam asked speechlessly. Then you will strip me naked? Huaxian smiled and said, what about acupuncture? If the injury on your face is not treated in time, I'm afraid it will affect your beauty. And if you want to treat him in time, you have to use acupuncture all over your body, using a secret method to treat him. By the time I finish acupuncture, he will basically be cured. Are you sure you only want to give acupuncture? Have you ever thought about doing something else? Shui Bang Duokai asked with some anticipation. Huaxian looked at the parts of her body that he shouldn't have looked at and said, I have some ideas. And he smiled and asked, could it be that you have thoughts about me too? You bastard. The colorful water clam was extremely shy. He glared at Huaxian fiercely, closed his eyes and stopped talking. Huaxian smiled slightly and deliberately reached out to touch the place that shouldn't be touched. The colorful water clam couldn't help but cry out. And he glared at Huaxian and loudly blamed him. You did it on purpose. You bullied me, and I must take revenge. He actually rushed towards Huaxian regardless of the silver needles on his body. Chapter 615, Mutated Dragon Python. Huaxian quickly stopped her and said, don't be impulsive, we have plenty of time, let me heal your wounds now. Even so, the colorful water clam still bit Huaxian hard and demanded more. After a few minutes, they reluctantly separated and said affectionately, I will be your woman from now on, don't even think about abandoning me. Huaxian grinned, I never thought of abandoning you. Heal your wounds first, and then see how I punish you. With chaos-level medical skills, healing is a very simple thing for Huaxian. The colorful injuries of the water clam were visibly healed, and its peerless beauty was the first to emerge. Huaxian pulled out the silver needle as quickly as possible. When the last silver needle was pulled out, Huaxian had not yet had time to gain the upper hand. The colorful water clams pounced towards him, and their crazy force stunned Huaxian. When one layer of the barrier was breached, Huaxian finally reacted and looked at the colorful water clams in disbelief. It was unbelievable that I was being suppressed. The colorful water clam's face turned red and it lowered its head shyly. But its fighting power did not diminish at all. Huaxian had no position to counterattack, so he stretched out his hands to where they should be, allowing the colorful water clams to burst out with their fighting power and cooperate with them to their heart's content. A few hours later, the colorful water clam eventually ran out of energy and was defeated by Huaxian. Eting, he said, you are the man I conquered, don't even think about stepping on me. Huaxian smiled and said, then I will allow you to take the initiative from now on. That's wishful thinking. I won't do so many things, but I feel happy in my heart. No matter how powerful a man is, he will still be conquered by himself. Not long after, Shui Bang Duokai fell asleep exhausted naturally. He had no impression of Huaxian's powerful cultivation and physique. So he walked out of the room. Auntie, that's amazing. The evil and resentful voice came. Huaxian looked over and saw that she was the only one there. Curiously asked, why you're on, have you been waiting for me here? Yes, I am the next one to sleep with you. Does your husband need me now? A look that said, husband, can you do this? As a man, how could Huaxian tolerate such provocation? He immediately decided to teach him a lesson. He rushed over, picked up the evil spirit and continued to rush towards the room at the side. Just at this moment, roar! A loud roar with a powerful impact was heard, causing the entire spacecraft to shake. You know, this is a very advanced spaceship from the real continent. The fact that this situation has occurred can only prove that the owner of that roar is very terrifying. Huaxian rushed out of the room and came to the deck. Look over there. A huge dragon-like creature with dragon gills blocked the spaceship. But it doesn't look like a dragon, because its tail is actually a huge fish tail. The tail just swayed gently, and a strong wind blew between heaven and earth. It can be seen how terrifyingly fast this creature's fishtail would be if it were in the water. Mutated Dragon Python, the voice of the undead Zhu Shen came. Huaxian asked curiously, what kind of species is this mutant python? It is a species born from a dragon and a mutant snakefish. The chance of its birth is less than 1% after all. Mutant snakefish are extremely rare. If this thing is made into a delicacy, wouldn't it be delicious? Huaxian actually thought about eating, and everyone was speechless. You lowly human, you are about to die and yet you still want to eat me. Today we'll eat all of you alive? A mutated python suddenly flapped its huge fish tail. This time, it was no longer just a strong wind, but a destructive cutting wind blade that attacked the spaceship. It's over, I'm dead. I regret it so much, I shouldn't have boarded this damn spaceship to the true continent. Countless people complained with regret, believing that they would surely die. Huaxian took a step forward. With the point of his finger, a wall of air appeared in front of the spacecraft. Boo Winter. A huge wind blade attacked the wall, continuously cutting it and making a sharp loud sound. Countless people who thought the end of the world had come and closed their eyes waiting to die opened their eyes out of curiosity and were extremely shocked. The seemingly weak air wall that could break at any time actually blocked the wind blade that seemed to have the power to destroy the world. What's even more amazing is that the air wall didn't even shake. Huaxian waved his hand again, and the air wall turned into a dragon shape, breaking through the seemingly powerful wind blade and rushing towards the mutant python with a terrifying aura. Roar! A mutated dragon roared, spitting out a torrent of water from its mouth, and charged towards the air dragon. The whole audience was terrified. Some people have silently prayed for Huaxian, hoping that he can win. After all, my life is in his hands. Booming magnet. With a slight sound, the water column broke and turned into rain falling into the sea. The key dragon swallowed the mutated python in one gulp. Because the air dragon is transparent, everyone saw in horror that the body of the powerful mutant python was squeezed and deformed inside the air dragon's body. Roar, roar, roar. The extreme pain made the mutant dragon python extremely miserable and it roared continuously. Boom! A head finally couldn't bear the extreme pressure, and it exploded and turned into a bloody mist. Next, his huge body that was swallowed by the air dragon also exploded repeatedly. It was not until Huaxian withdrew and the key dragon dissipated that the blood mist transformed by the dragon python scattered into the sea. Everyone in the audience looked at Huaxian in shock. It's unbelievable that this human race is so powerful. The soldiers of the escort team were even more grateful for the decision made by the general. Otherwise they would have died even more miserably than the mutated dragon python. In everyone's mind, Huaxian has only one impression: strong, invincibly strong. The spaceship continues to travel at full speed and must reach the true continent within 13 days. Huaxian Chao said to the leading general. The general said bitterly, "Sir, even if we don't encounter any troubles, it will take at least 20 days to get from the transit island to the real continent. It is impossible to reach the real continent in 13 days. Huaxian frowned and asked coldly, "Is there no other way?" The general fell silent. At this time, an old deputy general said, "Sir, I know a shortcut to the true continent if we take that route. It won't take 13 days if we are lucky. We can reach the true continent in a few hours." The general was shocked and asked, "You actually want to recommend a Chuanwo to His Excellency?" After that, he said to Huaxian, "Sir, the sea whirlpool is strange and unpredictable, and the pressure is extremely strong. It connects different places in the Death Sea. If you encounter it, you must avoid it. Once you are sucked in, you will die. Even if I'm lucky enough to survive, I don't know where I'll be teleported to on Death Island. The probability of being teleported to the real continent is very low." Huaxian became interested. He asked, "In other words, the sea vortex is equivalent to a random teleportation array?" The general said bitterly, "Even the teleportation array is not so dangerous. The sea vortex itself is extremely dangerous, and the place we teleport to may also be a very dangerous place." So, Huaxian interrupted, "So the sea vortex can greatly increase our speed, right?" Chapter 616, Searching for the Sea Vortex. "Sir, the sea whirlpool can increase our speed, but its direction is not something we can control." Huaxian said, "Then let's go to the sea vortex. If we go in the wrong direction once, we can go in the wrong direction twice, 3 times. And there will always be a time when we can get it right." The general was extremely bitter seeing that Huaxian would not listen to his advice. He had no choice but to give up and walked away in frustration. The old deputy general said, "Sir, it's not like you can find it just by looking for it. Sea whirlpools are hard to come by, and if you encounter one, you're extremely unlucky. What's the point of you saying so much?" Huaxian said somewhat unhappily. The old deputy general smiled bitterly and said, "Sir, although my cultivation is not high and I have no status, I have been fortunate enough to encounter sea whirlpools twice and escaped from their jaws both times. So I do have some experience in finding sea whirlpools." Huaxian's eyes lit up and he said, "Then hurry up and find the sea whirlpool." "My lord, I can look for sea whirlpools, but I cannot judge the size of them. If we encounter a small sea whirlpool, our spaceship can withstand the strong pressure and will be safe and sound, and have a chance to appear in another place. If we encounter a large whirlpool, or even a super whirlpool, our spaceship will be crushed by the strong pressure in an instant, and those with low cultivation will die instantly. Therefore, looking for sea whirlpools is a suicidal act. We must strengthen the defense of the spaceship. The defense of the spaceship is the formation, right? Oh, find the sea vortex for me and I will set up the formation." Huaxian does what he says. As for materials, not to mention that they can be exchanged at will in the system, he has also obtained countless materials in the magic pit, so he has no shortage of them. Seeing that Huaxian was so crazy that he was actually trying to find the sea whirlpool, The people on the spaceship were terrified to the extreme. Wet Spirit Jusheng said to Hu Xin, "Hubby, I encountered a sea vortex once before. And that time it was only 3 miles in radius. I checked ancient books and found that it was just the tiniest sea vortex. Even so, 2 of our spaceships were sucked into the sea vortex before they could escape. I saw with my own eyes that the advanced spaceships were instantly crushed by the strong pressure. And no creature on them survived. And this is only the strong pressure of a miniature sea vortex. It is said that the largest sea vortex covers an area of 10,000 miles. Anyone within 30,000 miles will be affected by the strong suction force. If you don't escape in time, you will die." "Okay, I understand. So I have to quickly set up the formation," Hu Xin said seriously. Bed Spirit Jusheng smiled bitterly and said, "Hubby, what I mean is that if we are unlucky and encounter a large sea whirlpool, it will be very dangerous. It is said that even a divine emperor would surely die if he entered a sea vortex of the potential level." Seeing that everyone was anxious, Hu Xin smiled mysteriously and said, "I am very confident in my formation." Disappeared from everyone's sight in an instant. Seeing that Hu Xin refused to listen, everyone could only look bitter. Dfei turned around and said without worry, "Don't worry. I have been with my husband for so long, have you ever seen him do something he is not sure of?" After hearing this, everyone suddenly realized. Yes, I and others are really worried and confused. But the support of chaos level formation skills, Hu Xin deployed several superimposed fusion defense formations. They are Vari Invincible Defense Formation, Pressure Conversion Anti-Pressure Formation, Water Defense Invincible Formation, and other 9 formations. Different formations have different defensive characteristics. The fusion of hardness and softness makes these already invincible formations exert even more powerful defensive power. At the same time, the energy that drives the formation also uses a rare divine crystal stone, which was obtained from the magic pit although it is very old. The energy of the divine crystal stone is not even 1/10,000th of what it was back then. But it is a divine crystal stone after all, and the energy it releases far exceeds that of high-end energy stones like the Demon Crystal King. After everything was ready, Hu Xin firmly believed that even if he encountered a sea vortex of 1,000 miles, the formation would be able to defend against it. Back on deck, I found the old lieutenant. He was holding a telescopic device and looking around. Hu Xin asked, "Are there any progress in finding the sea vortex?" The old deputy general shook his head and said, "Everywhere around is calm. There are no waves in the sky or on the sea. There are no sea whirlpools within a radius of 100 miles. In other words, finding the sea whirlpool depends entirely on luck." Hu Xin asked dissatisfiedly. The old deputy general said, "No, based on my experience, the sea vortex can be in the southwest, but this will deviate from the direction of the real continent. I am afraid." Before he could finish, Hu Xin shouted to a soldier, "Notify the pilot of the spacecraft to change the direction to the southwest." The old general hurriedly said bitterly, "Sir, I am afraid that I will make a wrong judgment, which will delay us even more." Hu Xin said, "Isn't the direction of the sea vortex correct? We can reach the real continent in a few hours, right? And find the sea vortex for me if one day doesn't work. Then 2 days will do, you will find it eventually." The spacecraft then changed its route and headed southwest. Except for the heroines around Hu Xin, everyone else felt uneasy. However, Hu Xin was very powerful, and the terrifying mutant dragon Python died easily in his hands. These people dared to be angry but not to speak out. One is after success. Suddenly, a strong wind blew up on the sea, and the waves rolled. Everyone shuddered physically and mentally and had a bad feeling. The old deputy commander quickly looked into the distance, and then said excitedly, "Sir, we are so lucky it has only been more than an hour. We should have encountered a sea whirlpool." Hu Xin looked into the distance and saw no sign of a sea whirlpool except for the waves and strong winds. The old deputy general hurriedly explained, "The whirlpool is definitely still far away from us. Based on my experience of escaping death from 2 whirlpools, the current situation is caused by the whirlpool." Hu Xin nodded and said, "And move forward at full speed. The spacecraft is extremely fast and can travel thousands of miles in an hour. Or even faster." After nearly 2 hours, the waves were surging. The wind was howling, and the sky and the earth were covered with dark clouds, giving people a sense of fear that the end of the world was coming. At this time, the speed of the spacecraft suddenly increased. Beep! Alarm! Alarm! The spacecraft is being pulled by an unknown suction force. Please be aware of the flight route change. The spacecraft actually sounded the alarm. Everyone became extremely panicked, as they had entered the range of a sea vortex. Only Hu Xin was extremely excited. I was even more curious about the sea vortex. Come to the edge of the deck and look out to sea. The sea water was actually rotating. Because it is not strong enough, it is not very obvious and you can't see it at all without careful observation. Huaxian was very curious and flew out of the spaceship directly. This scene scared the others even more. I thought, isn't this a bit too bold? That is a terrifying sea whirlpool. When he came outside the protective shield of the spacecraft, Huaxian suddenly felt that the wind was swirling, like a big hand trying to take him away by force. Of course, since we have just entered the range of the sea vortex, a wind force is not very strong. Desperate to see the sea vortex, Huaxian accelerated and flew forward alone, and soon left the spaceship behind. Chapter 617, Saving Marine Life. Roar, roar, roar. In the ocean far away, densely packed marine creatures cried out in fear and fled for their lives into the distance. Humans, save us! Huaxian, who was looking around curiously, suddenly heard a cry for help and looked over curiously. There were actually 3 dolphins, the largest of which seemed to be injured. Under the impact of countless madly fleeing marine creatures, the situation was not optimistic. Seeing the human flying high in the sky, the pink and white dolphin actually asked Huaxian for help. Boom! Suddenly, a huge wave appeared behind them, and an extremely huge marine creature rushed towards them. Very fast. Not to mention the 3 dolphins, even the other marine creatures around them fell into despair when they looked back and saw the scene. Dead? I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. The little pink dolphin closed its eyes and muttered in despair. Huaxian waved towards them, and an invisible force enveloped them and instantly lifted them into the air. The 3 dolphins felt the heaviness of their bodies and suddenly opened their eyes, only to find that they were flying towards humans. Soon he came in front of Huaxian. Huaxian asked curiously, "You should be able to fly. Why don't you choose to fly?" The pink dolphin transformed into a cute and charming little girl, which was so adorable. She said bitterly, "Once we leave the ocean, we can only transform into human form, and our flying speed is far less than our swimming speed in the ocean." The other 2 dolphins also transformed into a middle-aged man and a middle-aged woman. A middle-aged man said to Huaxian gratefully, "Thank you for saving us." Roar! A sea beast roared and leapt out from the ocean. The huge body was probably about 30 meters in size. It opened its bloody mouth and bit Huaxian and the others fiercely. The expressions of the 3 members of the family changed drastically and they were filled with despair. Huaxian frowned, pointed out with one finger. The extremely cold ice attribute is exerted. Magnetic. The seawater molecules in the air instantly froze and fell. The huge sea beast was hit by the extreme freezing ice attribute and was instantly frozen, turning into a large ice sculpture and falling towards the sea. This scene shocked countless marine creatures, and they no longer dared to have any improper thoughts. Seeing this, Huaxian suddenly had a crazy idea. He wondered if his extremely cold ice property could freeze the sea whirlpool. At this time, the spaceship behind arrives. When the 3 dolphin family saw the spaceship flying towards the sea whirlpool, they were all confused and nervous. Fearing danger, they all hid behind Huaxian, simply because marine life is naturally wary of land and air life. Of course, dolphins are a surprise to humans. Huaxian smiled and said, "Don't worry, that's my spaceship." "Your spaceship? What do you want?" asked the middle-aged dolphin. Huaxian smiled and said, "You guessed right, we are going to use the sea vortex to travel." "That's too dangerous, you don't know. Sea whirlpools are very scary. They swallow and destroy everything," the pink dolphin said worriedly. Huaxian was attracted by her cute and adorable appearance, and couldn't help but pinch her face and said, "Don't worry. You won't be in danger with me here." The pink dolphin's face turned red instantly and it felt extremely shy. A middle-aged dolphin and the woman dolphin looked at each other in bewilderment when they saw this scene. "I was relieved to see that my daughter didn't seem to mind." The spacecraft has slowed down and opened the entrance to the spacecraft. Huaxian said, "Let's get into the spaceship first." Pulling the pink dolphin, the family of 3 now had no choice but to fly towards the spaceship. Because the suction force is getting stronger and stronger, it means that the sea vortex has expanded or moved over. No matter which one it is not something they can escape from now. Back on the spaceship, the Indeed and the others immediately surrounded them. I was speechless when I saw the pink dolphins. "Husband, where did you go to kidnap such a beautiful little wife?" Hearing this, the pink dolphin became even more shy. After a while, she introduced herself. "Hello, beautiful sisters. My name is Dolphin Shuya, you can just call me Little Dolphin. This is my father, Dolphin Hongyi, and my mother, Dolphin Lanyu." The cute and adorable side of the little dolphin immediately attracted everyone's love. "Little Dolphin, how old are you?" Ziyuan still couldn't help asking. "I thought to myself, she looks like a little loli, how could my husband have the heart to do that to her?" A little dolphin replied sweetly, "Sister, I am exactly 3,000 years old this year." "You are 3,000 years old? I thought you were only 12 years old." Huaxian said, The little dolphin pouted and said, 1,000 years of ours is equivalent to 10 years of yours. 3,000 years of my age is equivalent to 30 years of yours. Is that so? Then I can definitely do something to you? Huaxian said with a deliberately lewd look. The little dolphin said shyly. Didn't you already do that to me? What? When did I attack you? Huaxian looked confused. The little dolphin laughed and said. Who just grabbed my face and squeezed it? This is how we deep-sea dolphins express our love. You confessed to me and I didn't reject you, so we are a successful match. Huaxian was stunned, and then asked incredulously, does that mean you are already my wife? The little dolphin nodded and said seriously, of course. What else do you think? Huaxian said with a lingering fear. Luckily I pinched your face. If I pinched an ugly one, I would be in trouble. The whole audience rolled their eyes. At this time, the old deputy general arrived and said, Sir, we are getting closer and closer to the sea vortex. The impact and pressure of the sea vortex are extremely terrifying. We must be prepared. Huaxian said confidently, don't worry, I have arranged 9 super formations on the spaceship. Ordinary sea whirlpools can't do anything to us. Help! Save us! For those marine creatures that were sucked into the whirlpool and struggled in vain. Seeing a spaceship was like seeing hope. Countless marine creatures turned to Huaxian and his team for help. Everyone looked at the scene outside, and then their eyes fell on Huaxian. A little dolphin felt sorry for them. After all, marine creatures were all their own. She said to Huaxian in a pleading tone, hubby, please save them. Huaxian nodded and said, open the entrance and let them board the spacecraft. The general arrived and said, Sir, this is not possible. Our spaceship is already fully loaded. If we force more creatures to be accepted, it will seriously affect the speed of the spaceship. The little dolphin hurriedly said, hubby, it doesn't matter. As long as it's safe, we will return to the sea. Huaxian nodded and said, follow my orders, open the entrance to the defense shield. Lower the flight altitude, and let them land on the spacecraft. There was no choice but for the guards to follow orders. Chapter 618, The Terrifying Sea Vortex. The spaceship opened the entrance. Immediately, a powerful suction force swept in, and those who were close to the deck were sucked towards the entrance. This shows how terrifying the power of the vortex is now. Because multiple entrances were opened, the spacecraft was affected by the suction force and was shaking violently. Seeing a chance to survive, countless marine creatures rushed towards the entrance of the spacecraft regardless of everything. The sea whirlpool seemed to have intelligence and was angered. The suction force suddenly increased dramatically, and many marine creatures flew up and were sucked away in an instant. I don't want to die, I really don't want to die, save me. Countless marine creatures are in extreme despair. Seeing this, Huaxian leapt out and let the suction force pull him over. Unleashing all the power of the God Emperor, he formed a huge hand seal with both hands and deployed the formation to the extreme. What is he doing? All the creatures on the spacecraft were shocked. He seems to be setting up a formation. Countless array materials fell down, and a super strong barrier was immediately formed within a radius of hundreds of miles. Immediately, the marine creatures that were affected by the suction force returned to the sea and breathed a sigh of relief. Looking back, I saw that the super strong barrier array set up by Huaxian was twisted and deformed by the extremely terrifying suction force. Huaxian shouted, don't be stunned, get on the spaceship quickly. These marine creatures finally reacted and rushed towards the spaceship. One by one, they came to the entrance of the spaceship and changed into human form, which did not take up much space. Looking at the horrific scene outside the defensive barrier at Huaxian's position, he was still frightened and extremely terrified. On the left and right, there were countless marine creatures trying to escape, rushing towards this side. They come in all shapes and sizes, and are found in all races. Click. The sound was so slight that the creatures who were watching the barrier maintained by Huaxian could hear half of it. They saw that huge cracks appeared in the barrier, and it was obvious that it could not hold up. Huaxian made a big hand seal with his hands, and desperately poured precious materials into the energy supply point of the formation, once again strengthening the formation. What did I see just now? Is that the Chaos Wind Stone? Its value is inestimable. My lord, you actually used it directly to save this group of unrelated sea creatures? An old man muttered in shock. What do you mean by that? I also saw the adults use the space stone. I think I saw. Some people recognized a lot of precious materials and were extremely shocked. That's because any one of them is inestimable in value. The sea creatures also saw it and heard the discussions of these people, looking at the thin figure who was trying to save them at all costs, regardless of danger. I feel extremely grateful. Ding! Congratulations to the host, you have obtained the almighty faith points from the sea tribe. And you are getting them infinitely. Huaxian was overjoyed when he heard this reminder. The materials seemed extremely precious to others. But they were just a drop in the bucket for him. It was a big profit if he could obtain the almighty faith points. It's worth it. Everyone, get into the spaceship quickly. A barrier can't hold on any longer, Huaxian shouted again. Just because the formation barrier was arranged in the void near the sea. At this moment, it was also being moved by the enormous suction force. The closer you are to the sea vortex, the more terrifying the suction force is. Some people saw that the creatures outside the barrier were torn into pieces in an instant, and realized the possibility of survival. Click. A huge crack appeared in the barrier again. It looked like it was about to break. In all directions, many sea creatures rushed towards the spaceship desperately. They were also keeping an eye on the situation on Huaxian's side, and were extremely horrified when they saw this scene. He even used all his strength to escape. For them, that spaceship was a chance to survive. Extremely cold ice attribute. Huaxian had no choice but to take a desperate attempt and use the extreme ice property to freeze the broken gaps in the barrier. See if we can strengthen our defenses, hold out a little longer, then save more marine life. The blue light quickly spread to the entire huge barrier. The seawater freezes instantly when it comes into contact with the extremely cold ice. Click, click. Everyone heard and saw that the frozen sea water on the other side of the barrier was constantly being destroyed by the terrifying suction force of the whirlpool. Huaxian was also extremely shocked that the extremely cold ice attribute could not spread. But he also discovered the weakness of the sea vortex. After the sea surface was frozen a little, the suction force weakened. In other words, all the suction and pulling forces are generated by the high-speed rotation of seawater. The marine creatures floating on the sea finally have the opportunity to board the spacecraft. Click. However, the situation became worse as they got closer to the sea vortex. Everyone saw that the defense barrier strengthened by ice actually broke into countless cracks along the sea surface. Obviously, as they got closer and closer to the sea vortex, the barrier was no longer able to stop them. Almost all the marine life within 100 miles has landed on the spacecraft. And now only a few are left. Ubby, hurry up, get back to the spaceship. When the last few marine creatures boarded the spaceship, the undead Zhusheng shouted worriedly. Everyone is praying for Huaxian. Huaxian took a deep breath and gave up maintaining the defensive barrier. Boom! The entire barrier collapsed in an instant. The extremely terrifying suction force instantly enveloped Huaxian, and the power was so great that even Huaxian felt terrified. The people on the spacecraft had to quickly close all the entrances. Just because the suction force is too terrifying. Passing into the spacecraft through a narrow entrance also puts a huge burden on the spacecraft. Husband. Grown-ups. My benefactor. All the creatures on the spacecraft cried out in worry. Step into the air. Huaxian's whole body was blessed with lightning and thunder. He burst out at an extreme speed and finally went against the wind. The spaceship flew past him quickly. To be precise, the power of the spacecraft is now turned off, and the moving speed is entirely brought about by the vortex. Huaxian came to the rear of the spacecraft. The vortex suction force is greatly reduced. The spacecraft's defense shield opened a small hole and Huaxian rushed in. A protective shield was then fully opened. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief when they saw Huaxian return to the spaceship. It is noteworthy that the spacecraft gave up resistance and seemed to be less damaged by the suction force of the vortex. The spaceship formation was not affected by much destructive force. Boom boom boom. More than 1.5 million marine creatures on the spaceship all knelt down towards Huaxian. Thank you for saving my life, sir, they shouted in unison. The sound was deafening. Huaxian quickly said, "What are you doing? It's just a small favor, everyone get up quickly." Huaxian said it simply. It's just a piece of cake. Everyone felt heavy-hearted when listening to it, subconsciously looking at the scene of destruction. Just a piece of cake? How many people would like to raise their hands at this time? I'm afraid it will be too late to escape. Thank you, husband. Little Dolphin came to Huaxian, kissed him on the face, and said with great emotion. Huaxian hugged her in his arms and said, "Why thank you, this is what I should do." Okay, everyone, don't be so reserved next, let's go and see how terrifying this sea whirlpool is. This, an old man from the sea tribe asked, "Sir, are you here for the sea whirlpool?" Chapter 619, The Power of Nature. That's right. We are here to pass through the sea vortex, Huaxian nodded and said. Borrowing the road? All the sea creatures were extremely shocked. Using a horrific sea whirlpool that could destroy the world as a tool to get around? This is the first time I have encountered such a thing in my entire life. No, it should be that everyone finds it ridiculous when they hear it. But the facts are before us. Sir, can this spaceship hold up? Asked the sea girl. Huaxian took a look and exclaimed that she had a good figure. It was the first time he saw those long legs in short. They were stunningly beautiful. Of course we can withstand it. You know, there is a 9-layer fusion defense formation arranged by me personally, Huaxian said confidently. Everyone has witnessed his strength in the area of formations and has no doubts about it. Although I am still a little worried, there is nothing I can do now except to fight against the whirlpool. We can only pray that Huaxian's formation can withstand the sea vortex. Next to the long-legged sea creature, there was an old woman with the same long legs. She saw through Huaxian's thoughts. Pulling the girl to Huaxian, he smiled charitably and said, "Sir, to thank you for saving my life, I am willing to sacrifice my daughter to you." Huaxian looked at the sea girl and his heart was moved. "But I clearly feel that the points of faith and omnipotence have decreased." He immediately said, "Auntie, love between a man and a woman should be based on mutual consent. Sacrifice is too much. I really like your daughter. If we are destined to be together, we will be together." After saying that, he turned and left, looking angry about the sacrifice. Sure enough, the almighty faith points increased, and there were more of them, and the girl looked at him differently. I feel that Huaxian is a very straightforward man. He likes what he likes without beating around the bush or being pretentious. Boom boom. Not long after, a deafening sound like a super tsunami was heard. Everyone looked into the distance, and an extremely huge sea vortex appeared in sight. The extremely fast rotation of the sea vortex caused a rotating vortex to appear above the sea surface, like a tornado, which was extremely terrifying. At this time, the spacecraft followed the suction force of the super tornado and rotated, getting closer and closer to the sea vortex, and forcibly dragged into the ocean. The pressure of the sea water plus the pressure of the sea vortex made the spacecraft's defense flash with colorful light at this time. Everyone was extremely worried, fearing that the protective shield would not be able to defend. Fortunately, as the whirlpool went deeper into the ocean, the terrifying pressure became greater and greater. Although the formation reacted strongly, there was no sign of it breaking. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief and was shocked to the extreme at Huaxian's formation strength. Not only is his cultivation level powerful, but his other secondary professions are also so terrifying. This can no longer be described as a genius. After everyone reacted, they realized that this human race was truly a monster. Huaxian came to the deck of the spacecraft. Looking up, this is the real underwater world. However, the whirlpool was so terrifying that every rotating stream of seawater had the power to destroy everything. Looking around, apart from their spaceship, there was nothing else that could exist in the vortex. Huaxian was curious about the current power of the vortex. How would it affect Xuan Huang? When he reached the edge of the deck, everyone's wooden instruments almost moved with him. Out of curiosity, Huaxian reached his hand outside the protective shield. Everyone was shocked when they saw this. Someone said, "My benefactor, you can't do that." Huaxian said calmly, "Don't worry." Frustrated, he extended a finger through the shield. Booming magnet. The terrifying suction force almost tore Huaxian's fingers off in an instant, and his entire arm was pulled out. Fortunately, he was at the level of Divine Emperor and was able to take it back quickly. I have a new understanding of the power of sea whirlpools. At this time, the old deputy general arrived and said, "Sir, this sea vortex is not very big, only 50 miles in radius. It can be considered a primary sea vortex." Huaxian nodded, understanding what the old deputy general meant. If a primary sea vortex with a range of 50 miles is so terrifying, what would happen if it were a sea vortex with a range of 100 miles, 1,000 miles, or even 10,000 miles? That horrific scene is simply unimaginable. Does anyone know how this sea vortex was formed? Huaxian asked suddenly. Everyone was stunned. Someone immediately said, "It must have formed naturally. There was no sign, it just appeared as it was supposed to." Is this the power of nature? Huaxian muttered, but he always felt that the emergence of the sea vortex was not that simple. Boom boom. An extremely terrifying sound came from below. Everyone subconsciously came to the edge of the spaceship deck and looked down. An extremely terrifying vortex, rotating at a speed that cannot be seen by the naked eye. The old deputy general took a deep breath and said, "General, our current speed is equivalent to 3 times the speed of the spacecraft at full speed. That's the real sea vortex. Once you enter it, your speed will reach an immeasurable level. It depends on where we randomly arrive. If we are heading to the real continent, we will reach our destination in a few hours. It's just that this defensive formation." The old deputy general was very worried about this and couldn't help but bring it up. The eyes of the people around him also fell on Huaxian. Huaxian said confidently, "Don't worry, this is a super formation formed by the fusion of 9 top-notch defensive formations. It complements each other now. The formation has not yet exerted its strongest defense." Everyone breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this. Huaxian's formation strength shocked him once again. It was truly terrifying. In everyone's anxious waiting, when the spacecraft shook violently and the light of the defensive formation flashed extremely brightly. Everyone knew that they had entered the center of the sea whirlpool. Roar, roar, roar. The terrifying swirling ocean currents, like sea dragons, were spinning at super speeds and crashing into the spacecraft, making strange roaring sounds. It destroys people's hope of survival. Finally, we entered the center of the sea vortex. The world was spinning. The spacecraft seemed to be spinning at the speed of a sea vortex. The speed was as fast as light and shadow, and no one could see the surrounding situation clearly. It was as if a spaceship was shuttling through the still sea water. If it weren't for the piercing sound and dizzy feeling, everyone would have thought that nothing was wrong. What reassured everyone was that Huaxian's defensive formation withstood the destructive power of the sea vortex. They successfully navigated through the whirlpool of the sea. Boom! With a loud bang, their spaceship flew out. The defensive formation also burst out with extreme light at this time. What's going on? Everyone was shocked. Huaxian said in a deep voice. There are creatures in the sea vortex, and we are under attack. Oh my god, what kind of creature is that? How can it survive in such a terrifying sea whirlpool and knock us out? Everyone was so shocked. Fortunately, Huaxian's defensive formation was really strong. It not only resisted the sea whirlpool, but also resisted the attack of the mysterious creature. But what kind of creature is that? Chapter 620, Mysterious Creature Attack. Many people's eyes fell on the old deputy general. The latter smiled bitterly and said, "Don't look at me. Although I have experienced sea whirlpools twice, I escaped from them both times. This is my first time entering a sea whirlpool. It should be said that we are the first group of people who entered the sea vortex and are still alive." Everyone was excited when this was mentioned. Yes, I am the one who formed the first team to enter the sea vortex and are still alive. If I really get out of this alive, I can brag about it for the rest of my life. His eyes subconsciously fell on Huaxian. I thought to myself, this human race is definitely not simple. The creature was so fast that Huaxian didn't have time to react. System, can you capture that creature? Ding, the host's request exceeds the current level of authority, and is not authorized to know. Huaxian smiled bitterly. At this time, the long-legged sea girl came to Huaxian. Ziyuan on the side was tactful enough to make way for him. The sea girl nodded gratefully and stood next to Huaxian. She looked at him and said, "I think our fate has come. What do you think? Such powerful and mysterious humans are unable to do anything about the sea whirlpools and the mysterious creatures within them. There is no reason not to be moved by such an outstanding opposite sex. This is a world where martial arts are respected. Which woman doesn't want her man to be the best?" Huaxian smiled and said, "I think so too." He held her in his arms, his eyes subconsciously looking at her long legs. The girl from the sea tribe noticed it and said with a smile, "If you like it, it will be yours from now on." She is also very confident about her beauty and temperament. Huaxian nodded. Suddenly looked outside the spaceship. Lightning strike. Pointed out with one finger. The lightning in the sea outside was actually carried away by the whirlpool. Although it was taken away, the attack power is still there. Booming magnet. It hit something, and everyone saw a creature that was almost the same color as the seawater disappearing with the lightning that Huaxian attacked. It is not very huge, but it is extremely fast and is not affected by the sea vortex. Or it makes full use of the sea vortex. After reacting, someone said in shock, "Am I seeing things? My benefactor used the ice attribute before, and now he has used the extremely powerful lightning attribute. It seems to be true. How many attributes does benefactor have?" Everyone feels that Huaxian is becoming more and more mysterious. As Huaxian's women, Death Spirit and Jusheng are all extremely proud. This outstanding man is their husband. Countless sea girls surrounded Huaxian. Boldly confess, "My benefactor, I like you. Please accept my confession. My benefactor, I was deeply fascinated the first time I saw you. Please don't reject me. My benefactor, I am very obedient. Please accept me." More and more sea creatures surrounded Huaxian and expressed their love to him. Huaxian looked back and saw that each of them looked good and had good temperament. Except that there were too many of them. "You are all excellent and will definitely find your true love." Boom boom boom. At this time, the spacecraft's protective shield encountered intensive collisions. Huaxian discovered that they were all those strange creatures. There was only one before, but now they came in groups. Under the constant impact of these creatures, the protective shield of the spacecraft flashed with increasingly stronger light. The stronger the light, the more it proves that the upper limit of defense is constantly increasing, and everyone is becoming extremely worried. Huaxian suddenly thought of his pet. Coffee Cat come out. The demonized Cafe Feel instantly appeared on his shoulder. Also appearing is the spouse, the Void Cat. The two cats are together and they are very loving. Everyone looked at it curiously. "I don't understand. What's the purpose of Huaxian summoning the cute cats? Without waiting for Huaxian's order, both Coffee Cat and Void Cat discovered the strange creature outside the spaceship. The Void Cat instantly disappeared from Huaxian's shoulder and rushed out of the spaceship as a trail of afterimage. Everyone was shocked when they saw this scene. Now they are inside a super scary sea vortex. If this cat rushes out, it will be dead. Completely ignoring the cat's speed. The next moment, the Void Cat actually ignored the defense outside the shield and rushed in. Hanging from its mouth was a strange fish that was about 1 meter long and had a sharp beak like a sword, and looked like a tuna. Each of the 4 cats held one in its paws. He came to Cafe Cat and showed his courtesy. Cafe Cat ate 4 fishes without any hesitation. Boom boom boom. His originally low cultivation level actually made breakthroughs one after another, and his size began to expand. Everyone was stunned. Only then did I realize that the black cat had actually rushed into the sea vortex and caught the strange creature. One can imagine how powerful the creatures that can live in sea whirlpools are. Huaxian said, speechless lie, you didn't even leave me one? Coffee said, I want some too. The Void Cat rushed into the vortex again. Everyone looked on in silence. At the same time, he was extremely shocked. He didn't expect that Huaxian had such a terrifying pet. Without sufficient strength, how dare you move freely in the whirlpool of the sea? I am also more curious about Huaxian's mysterious identity. Not long, Void Cat came back again and handed a storage ring to Coffee Cat, saying, there are 10,000 in total, all in here. Coffee Cat was extremely excited. He handed the storage ring to Huaxian and said, Master, this is for you. The Void Cat said, sorry, I caught it for you. Why are you giving it to him? Everyone could hear that the tone was one of contempt for Huaxian. Athayama said, without my people, there would be no me. Master, accept it. Huaxian accepted it awkwardly, took out a few of the special fish, handed the storage ring to Kefima and said, you can improve your cultivation by eating it, so eat more. The Void Cat said, anyone who eats this kind of fish can improve their cultivation. Upon hearing this, Huaxian snatched the ring back and said, in that case, I'll take some. The Void Cat stretched out its paws, slapped its mouth, and cursed itself for being too talkative. Huaxian took out dozens of them and handed them to the dead spirit Yusheng beside him, saying, wife, give each of your good sisters one. And he took out another 100 fish and handed them to the evil spirit Yizu, saying, wife, use these 100 fish to make a fish pond. There are more than 2 million people on the spaceship. Then everyone should get a share. Hearing this, the other creatures on the spaceship were extremely excited. This is a creature from the sea vortex. Even if you just drink a little bit of it, it will bring you many benefits. Thank you, benefactor. Thank you, sir. Each one is extremely grateful. Huaxian then handed the ring to Coffee Cat and said, the rest is yours. Thank you, master. The Void Cat said, why thank you, I caught them all. Huaxian smiled and asked him, have you caught all of them? The Void Cat rolled his eyes and said, how could I possibly exterminate them at noon? I only captured the old ones, and left some adults and cubs alone. Besides, the effect is definitely best for the elderly. Chapter 621. Sir, please accept me. Hubby, then we'll go to retreat and eat fish. The heroines got the strange fish from the whirlpool, and they were so excited that they went into seclusion to eat the fish and break through. I saw that all the women around Huaxian had left. A group of beautiful sea creatures surrounded them. Sir, please accept me. They all showed an extremely seductive side, trying to seduce Huaxian into accepting them. Those seamen wished they could become women immediately. Huaxian said bitterly, okay, fate is something you can't force. Let's talk about it when there's a chance. After saying that, he walked into the room. A few hours later, the evil spirit Yizu prepared the fish soup and arranged for it to be distributed. Those who received the fish soup couldn't wait to drink it. Oh no, this is such a strong nutritional supplement. I'm about to break through. I am about to break through. 2. Any creature that drinks the fish soup, no matter if it is a sea creature or something else, will immediately break through. Only then did everyone understand how terrifying the effect of the strange fish in the whirlpool was. Just drinking a sip of soup can make their cultivation level soar. Huaxian, who had originally not taken the deep sea monster fish seriously, finally began to take it seriously. He came to a room and took out his strange fish. Human, please let me go. If you let me go, I will give you. Huaxian didn't listen to his nonsense. His head turned into a dragon's head and he swallowed it in one gulp. I thought the strange fish was difficult to digest. Who would have thought that the entrance would transform into pure genetic power? The cultivation levels of all departments suddenly began to increase dramatically. In just a few minutes, all the genetic rounds that were mastered soared to the peak of Super God level 100. Due to system reasons, there was no barrier breaking pill to use, so Hu Xian's cultivation was unable to break through to the Divine King level. However, that excess energy tempered his body madly. Although his realm did not improve, his body became stronger and stronger. A full 3 hours. The tempering is finally over. Hu Xian felt his body, which was only at the peak of Super God level 100. He was clearly not at the level of God King, but he felt that an ordinary God King could be killed with just one punch from him. Such a huge harvest, just because of a strange fish. Hu Xian was extremely excited. Asked Cafe Cat, "Do you have any more fish?" At this moment, Cafe Cat had grown several times bigger, and he was chubby and cute. He replied, "Master, I've eaten it all." Hu Xian felt a little regretful. Walk out of the room. Feel the breath of breakthrough. With a bitter smile. He never expected that this trip to the sea vortex would bring such a great opportunity to everyone. Another 2 hours passed, and the power of the sea vortex began to weaken. Many people have achieved breakthroughs. Someone shouted excitedly, "I have broken through 3 realms. The joy cannot be concealed. I have broken through 5 realms. I have broken through 4 realms. I have broken through a great realm. I am now at the super god level." Hu Xian was also shocked when he heard the excited roars. Unexpectedly, just by drinking a sip of fish soup, the worst one of them broke through 3 small realms, and a breakthrough to a higher realm is even more rare. In short, everyone got a great opportunity. After calming down, they were even more grateful to Hu Xian. If Hu Xian didn't give them this opportunity, they would be helpless. But Hu Xian did not do that. Everyone got a share, which made everyone extremely grateful. Ding, congratulations to the host, you have gained the second-class omnipotent faith of some people. And continue to gain. Hu Xian was stunned. Is there actually a hierarchy of belief in omnipotence? A careful observation revealed that the second-class omnipotent faith only increased the amount obtained. If the first class was 1 point, then the second class would be 3 points. To show favor and receive gratitude is faith. Hu Xian suddenly felt that the cost of catching the 100 strange fish was worth it. The old deputy general also broke through 3 levels. He came to Hu Xian excitedly and said, "Sir, our spaceship has already rushed out of the whirlpool and will reach there soon. Only the heroines are still in seclusion. After all, they swallowed a whole strange fish, and they didn't have the physique to trust each other. So the refining process was a little slower. After about 2 hours, the spaceship broke out of the sea and soared into the sky. Looking around, there is ocean in all directions and no land in sight." The old lieutenant quickly took out the instrument to determine the location. About a quarter of an hour later, he excitedly said to Hu Xian, "Sir, although we did not appear directly in the waters near the true continent, we are not too far away from the true continent. At the speed of our spacecraft, he can reach the nearest port on the true continent in 5 days at most." Hearing this, Hu Xian nodded with satisfaction and said, "In that case, let's go." "My lord, these sea creatures?" After getting the benefit, the general was in a good mood and came to Hu Xian and asked. These sea creatures were also looking at Hu Xian. To be honest, they didn't want to go back to the sea and wanted to follow Hu Xian. Seeing Hu Xian looking at them, they all became very panicked. Hu Xian said, "You are the sea people, and the ocean is your home. How about this? If you are willing to follow me, you will become my army. Practice well in this sea area, and obey my orders in the future. If you don't want to follow me, you can make your own arrangements. We are willing to follow the benefactor." Countless sea girls were the first to speak, thinking, "One day we will become your women." Other sea creatures also expressed their opinions. Everyone is willing to follow him, Hu Xian. Hu Xian nodded, took out a token and threw it to the strongest sea creature, saying, "Then I'll leave this army to you to train. I hope you won't let me down. I promise I won't let you down. I promise I won't let you down." More than 1.5 million sea creatures, led by the strongest sea creature, made the promise in unison. Hu Xian nodded and said, "In that case, let's go and see which sea clan is in charge of this sea area. After all, it is an unfamiliar sea area, and the arrival of this group of sea creatures constitutes an invasion. This problem needs to be solved." So the spaceship flew into the ocean again and soon encountered a patrolling ocean team. The captain in charge quickly notified the higher-ups and shouted to stop them. "Spacecraft from the outside world, leave the ocean as soon as possible." Hu Xian took the lead, and the strongest marine creature and the general of the escort team followed on both sides, heading towards them. This is a group of small fry, but they are quite powerful. "Who is in power here?" Hu Xian asked. "Human race, what do you want to do?" Recognizing Hu Xian's identity, the other party asked contemptuously. "It's just because the human race does not have a high status in this continent. Whether it is on Red Moon Island or on the real continent, even in the hearts of marine creatures, Of course, the human race in the true continent is relatively better than that in Red Moon Island. Roar. Huaxian roared and instantly turned into a dragon. The huge body of the dragon shocked the entire audience. This sea area, covering an area of 100,000 miles in radius, was shrouded in the might of the dragon, and all marine creatures were extremely shocked. Chapter 622, The Dragon Clan. Dragon Shenlong. The captain stammered. The dragon has an extraordinary status, whether on land or in the sea. The dragon's might suppresses all living things. Huaxian turned into a human form and said coldly, "Forget it this time, but if it happens again, you will be food on my table." The other person was so scared that he almost peed. "Lead the way to your headquarters." Huaxian said this inferently and returned to the spaceship. The sea creatures and other tribes on the spaceship looked at Huaxian in shock. "I always thought he was a human, but I didn't expect he was a dragon. And a divine dragon at that." So, everyone thought that Huaxian was a member of the Dragon Clan. The dragon disguised as a human. I just want to say that he is really low-key. After all, even if humans can disguise themselves as dragons, they cannot transform into dragons. "You are actually a dragon master?" A sea dragon came up to Huaxian excitedly and asked. After all, the Sea Dragon Clan also has dragon blood, and is considered a close relative of the Dragon Clan. Huaxian nodded and said, "Yes, I am from the Dragon Clan. The identity of the human king has to be hidden. Everyone thinks they are part of the Dragon Clan. So they are the Dragon Clan." He pointed a finger at the sea dragon's forehead. "System, use the human king points to raise his cultivation to the 30th level of the divine king for me." In the eyes of outsiders, this sea dragon was promoted by Huaxian and his cultivation level continued to rise. Everyone was shocked to the extreme. The realm of the God King can be improved, just like eating and drinking water? What is even more terrifying is that Shenlong Huaxian was able to do this. Doesn't he mean that he can make anyone he wants to improve? Is this the ability of the Dragon Clan? How come you haven't heard of it? Since no one could figure it out, they stopped thinking about it too much. Now they just wanted Huaxian to give them a finger and their cultivation would soar to the sky. Ding! Congratulations to the host for consuming the human king points to upgrade a sea dragon to super god level 30. The sea dragon was so shocked that it was numb. "It took me a long time to recover." Huaxian gave the order, "From now on, you are the deputy commander of this army. Cooperate with the commander-in-chief to train this army well for me." The sea dragon finally reacted and was extremely excited. "I obey your orders. I kneel to thank you for your promotion. Sir, we swear to be loyal to you until death." Seeing that the old man from the Sea Dragon Clan received such a huge promotion just because he was close to Huaxian, other sea clansmen knelt down to show their loyalty. Huaxian said calmly, "I will reward you based on your achievements in the future." A spaceship followed the patrolling team of sea soldiers and quickly headed to the headquarters of the Sea Tribe in the sea area. Seeing such a huge warship and team coming, the Sea Clan headquarters was very frightened. The army was immediately on full alert. Neptune even ordered the surrounding troops to gather together. A patrol captain quickly ran to the side of the Sea King. "King, that human is a dragon, or a divine dragon." "What? Could it be that the dragon might just now belong to Xiaocheng?" "That's right." Huaxian jumped down and walked towards them without any airs. The Indeed followed closely behind. "Are you from the Dragon Clan?" asked the Sea King in a deep voice. Huaxian nodded and said, "That's right. I don't know what are you doing in my southeastern sea area?" Huaxian smiled and said, "We came through the sea vortex. And I saved them along the way." "What, sea vortex?" The surrounding sea creatures were extremely shocked. They knew there had indeed been a sea whirlpool recently. So they were even more shocked. As high-ranking members of the Sea Clan, they are almost all aware of the horror of sea whirlpools. The Sea King reacted and asked in a deep voice, "So, you want to place these sea creatures in my territory?" Huaxian shook his head and said, "No, I want you to submit to me. So that everything here will belong to me." The faces of Aquaman and his subordinates suddenly turned gloomy. A general with a big claw shouted angrily, "Even if you are from the Shenlong clan, you can't go too far. The Shenlong clan and our Sea Clan won't interfere with each other. But we are not easy to mess with." Buzz. The space trembled. And Huaxian transformed into a dragon. He looked at the other party majestically and asked, "And I want to see if you are really not easy to mess with." In the giant dragon state, his combat power soared directly to the level of God Emperor. The terrifying pressure made the sea water seem to be still. Not to mention him, a mere general, even Aquaman was terrified. Huaxian's eyes fell on Che Wang and asked, "Now, give me an answer." Aquaman was very unwilling, but facing absolute strength, he dared not disobey. Ding dong. He knelt before Huaxian and said, "The king of the Southeast Sea pays respect to the Lord. Direct surrender." Huaxian nodded and changed back to human form, saying, A man who knows the current situation is a hero. I will not treat you unfairly as my subordinate. But the finger pointed at him. The Sea King's realm of the 35th level of God King suddenly advanced by leaps and bounds, and only stopped at the 40th level of God King. Feeling the improvement of the Sea King, all the sea people were shocked. Aquaman himself has long been numb. I never dreamed that my cultivation could be improved in this way, Uxian said to the sea dragon and the strongest sea creature. The two of them hurried over. Uxian ordered, from now on, you must train the strongest army for me. I'm putting this on hold. Whoever has the best trained army will be guaranteed to break through to the Divine Emperor realm. The whole audience took a deep breath. This is the realm of the Divine Emperor. Still guarantee a breakthrough. If it were them, it would be a question whether they could make a breakthrough in this lifetime. The rest of the personnel will also be rewarded based on their progress. After saying that, he turned around and returned to the spaceship. He said to the sea creatures who had not yet gone down, "What are you standing there for? This will be your home from now on." The sea creatures reluctantly got off the spaceship one by one. Especially those sea girls, they really wanted Uxian to keep them. And Uxian had already walked into the room. He said to the general of the escort team, after they get off the spaceship, rush to the true continent at full speed. Yes, sir. Hubby, can our parents stay? Little Dolphin and Long-Legged Octopus now came to Uxian with their parents and family and said. Uxian smiled and said, if you want to stay, then stay. Yeah, thanks hubby. The two men held Uxian's arms, one on each side, and were very excited. Uxian looked around and was actually staring at places the two people shouldn't be looking at. This made the two of them extremely shy. After a while, he asked, my two darlings, who will sleep with you? Little Dolphin hesitated for a long time but couldn't say anything. Uxian interrupted, then you. I'm scared, let Sister Una sleep with me. After saying that, she struggled to break free from Uxian's embrace and wanted to run away. Uxian pulled her over and said, I already told you it was you. You still want to escape? Dream on. Una, just wait. You're next. Octopus Na was extremely shy and turned around and trotted away. The remaining two parents looked at each other with smiles on their faces. And they were obviously very satisfied with a son-in-law like Uxian. Chapter 623. Wow, so many beauties. The spaceship took off, left the deep sea, and flew towards the real continent. Everyone on the spaceship became excited. He completely forgot that he was a slave. And he had an immense yearning for the real continent, and was full of fantasies about the future. 5 days later. In the distance, vast mountains and rivers came into everyone's sight. The dead spirits and the dead souls stood beside Uxian. The lowest one had the cultivation level of an initial God King. And the highest one was already at the 30th level of a God King. This is the benefit of eating the strange fish in the sea vortex. They looked at the strange real continent without any fear, but were full of fantasy and expectation. It's about to land. Dead Spirit Jusheng took the lead and said, husband, our strength is not with now, we want to venture into the true continent on our own. Is that okay? The others also looked at Uxian. Uxian looked at everyone and asked, are you sure you want to go out on your own? The evil spirit Yizu said, husband, we all know that you have an extraordinary future. You are gathering talents everywhere and training the army. As your women, we should work harder. That's right. We are going to go out and train our own forces so that we can lead the army and fight alongside you. My husband, in the future. The others said in unison. Uxian was very moved when he heard this and said with a smile, well, you are worthy of being my people, Uxian's wife. I believe in you and you will be my strongest support in the future. Audie, does this mean you agree? Gefei asked. Yes, I agree. Master, I also want to go out on my own, okay? Suiyu also said quickly. You are still young. Suiyu interrupted. I know, so I will go with Master Wang. Uxian nodded and said. If that's the case, then okay. System, bind all the heroines and apprentices for me. Ding, congratulations to the host, you have bound 31 heroines and 1 apprentice. System, help me lock on and monitor every female master and apprentice. And notify me if there is any danger. Ding, congratulations to the host. You have successfully supervised every female protagonist and apprentice. Unlimited strengthening points without consumption. This is a special ship heading to Reed Moon Island. How come you are here? The military personnel asked loudly as they approached the mainland port. The general walked to the edge of the deck and answered. We experienced a whirlpool and were diverted here. Sea vortex? Is your crappy spaceship capable withstanding the tearing of the sea whirlpool? The other party said with disdain. The general said angrily. Even with your most advanced weapons, we may not be able to break through the defense of the spaceship. The other party was stunned. Then he smiled disapprovingly and said. Good one, our most advanced weapons may not be able to break through the defense. And I'd like to give it a try. Wave. The troops at the base saw it. The attack was launched immediately. Dense energy particle shells fired towards the spacecraft. Each one is comparable to the attack of a high-priced super god-level powerhouse. Even a god king would not dare to underestimate such intensive attacks. People in the distance were very curious when they saw this scene. I don't understand why they suddenly started fighting. Those horrific particle shells completely surrounded the spacecraft. A military officer said disapprovingly, "I'm afraid there won't be anything left of this spaceship. However, it is a spaceship of the Dongyu military after all. Will there be any accidents?" The leading military officer said disapprovingly, "Dongyu is just a medium-sized country that is close to the sea and a little wealthy. What's the harm in destroying their spaceship?" That's right. Almost all the people on the spaceship were transported here from Red Moon Island. It's not a big deal if they are killed. When the particle cannon attack dissipated, the entire port staff was stunned. Just because the spaceship they looked down upon was floating there intact. No, the spacecraft has already started flying towards the landing point. Damn it, how could this happen? The leading military officer was furious and felt his face burning, as if he had been severely beaten. He angrily ordered, "Attack with your strongest weapons. Destroy this spaceship at all costs." Yes. Immediately, various attacks came towards the spacecraft. The flames of war were raging, and those who didn't know would think that a powerful enemy was attacking from somewhere. After learning about it, everyone was surprised that an ordinary transport spaceship from Dongyu country could actually cause all the advanced weapons in the southwest harbor to launch an attack. In the distance, countless people stood at the highest point and looked at this side curiously. In urban areas, except for military and special department personnel, no one else is allowed to fly without permission. After the smoke cleared, the military personnel were shocked to see that Dongyu Kingdom's transport spacecraft was still intact. A monitoring soldier trotted over and said, "Sir, we found that the defense of the Dongyu Kingdom's life-saving spacecraft is very strong. I'm afraid that even our ultimate weapons can defend against it." The leading officer muttered upon hearing this, "So, it is possible that they really came from the sea vortex?" Thinking of this, his body trembled and he took a deep breath in shock. Sea whirlpool. Even the smallest one is incredibly destructive. When did Dongyu Kingdom's transport spacecraft become so powerful? Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the spacecraft landed at the landing site. Everyone on the spaceship focused their attention on Huixin. A general said, "Sir, these efforts can be sold directly to the West Wind National Military and handed over to them for disposal." After hearing this, these people realized that they were just slaves transported from Red Moon Island. Huixin looked at these people and said, "Although you are slaves now, you have all been baptized and are already extraordinary. Old will always shine. Your future life depends on your own destiny and performance." Everyone was disappointed to hear this. It turned out that the masters of the Dragon Clan looked down on them. A young man summoned up his courage and said, "Sir, when we become strong in the future, can we become your subordinates?" Those who had such thoughts looked at Huixin expectantly. Huixin smiled and said, "Of course there is a chance. Hubby, let's leave first," said the dead spirit Jusheng and the others. "Okay, go ahead and be safe. Take care, husband." "Take care, master." Everybody left. "Stop, you can't just leave the important military base of the southwest harbor of the West Wind Nation whenever you want." But they were surrounded by military troops. There are more troops coming in the distance. Wow, there are so many beauties. A slovenly dressed young man with girls on both sides walked over with evil eyes staring at the dead spirits and Jusheng. On the way he left the two girls around him who were still okay, quickened his pace and walked towards the dead spirits and Jusheng and the others. Faced with this scene, everyone on the spaceship looked at Huixin. Huixin smiled and watched bravely, seemingly not intending to take action. The young man came in front of the leader of the Enid Souls. Jusheng, a smile bloomed on his face, his eyes were full of evil. And he reached out to touch the face of the Enid Soul. Chapter 624, How Do You Want to Die? Phew. The dagger appeared in the hand of the dead spirit Jusheng at some point. And he cut off the young man's wrist with one blow. "Master Yun Can." The soldiers around him screamed in fear. The young master was not very angry, he just looked at the indeed Jusheng coldly. And he smiled cruelly, licked his tongue, stretched out his other hand to the dead soul, and said, "You are the most unique woman I have ever played with. I hope you have the courage to cut off my hand as well." Phew. The dead soul did not fulfill his wish by cutting off his other wrist, but instead split his hand into two. The two halves of the arm were hanging there, covered in blood, and it was a bloody and scary sight. Head spirit Jusheng suddenly asked with a smile, "Guess if I dare to split your head into as well?" The people around them only reacted at this time, and said in shock, "These women in front of us don't seem to be easy to mess with." Master Yun Can. The generals of the surrounding armies were very worried when they saw what happened to the young master. However, because of young Master Tian Ken's own rules, when he is doing things, no one is allowed to disturb him without orders. So even though I saw him injured, I didn't dare to take action. Young Master Tian Ken looked at dead Sol Jusheng with great indifference, and said murderously, "How happy you are now, how miserable you will be in a moment. Catch them all and put them in jail, waiting for me to deal with them. Yes. Take them down." Tiu. The army was about to take action. The dead spirit Jusheng cut the young Master Tian Ken in half with one strike of his sword. Moreover, the extremely destructive power of the Indeed forces caused his genes to lose their self-healing ability. "Oh my god, please save young Master Tian Ken." The followers who reacted were terrified to the extreme. He rushed over regardless of everything. "Kill." The Indeed Jusheng roared coldly and rushed out to kill. The evil spirit Yizu and the others attacked together and killed them. They each fought their way out of a bloody path and fled in different directions. This is their first step towards independence. Those arrogant armies only realized at this time that none of these women were easy to mess with. Each one is bloody and cruel, like a god of death. Even the seemingly harmless little girl was extremely cruel. I didn't dare to stop them from leaving. At this time, Huaxian got off the spaceship and said to the generals who followed him, "The spaceship will take off and take them to Dongyu country." Yes. Everyone on the spaceship breathed a sigh of relief. The people who entered the southwest harbor of Shifeng country were deeply offended by Huaxian's wives. If they went down as well, they would be in danger of death. The only way out is to leave here. The spaceship took off and left. And the heroines also fought their way out, leaving the only one left at the scene, the harmless-looking Huaxian. With a kind smile on his face, Huaxian walked step by step towards the spacecraft landing site amid the tense encirclement of these soldiers. It's so peaceful. This scene frightened the soldiers and they dared not stop Huaxian. The soldiers who were blocking the road also trembled and made way. Finally, I watched Huaxian walk out of the spacecraft landing base. Outside the base, the area surrounding the base near the bay is also a bustling area. Countless passers-by of all races gathered to watch. They were all stunned when they saw that it was a human man who came out. Looking inside the gate of the spacecraft landing base, the soldiers all looked panicked. "Big brother, are you human?" A little human boy, about 7 or 8 years old, with a sweaty face, should be a scavenger. He mustered up the courage to come up to Huaxian and asked. Huaxian smiled and replied, "If you say am, then I am. Why, do you want to talk to me about something?" A little boy looked around cautiously and whispered to Huaxian, "Big brother, can you squat down so I can whisper to you?" Huaxian was curious about what the little boy was going to do. So he squatted down. A little boy whispered in his ear, "Brother, I have no status in the Southwest Bay, I am only slightly better than those slaves." He was stunned for a moment, then said excitedly, "No. Big brother, you don't have an icon, are you also a slave?" "What is an icon?" Huaxian asked curiously. "Brother, in the true continent, people of different levels have corresponding level icons. Those without icons are slaves. Of course, slaves also have icons. Those without icons are just the lowest level slaves." As the little boy spoke, he had already moved away from Huaxian. Huaxian frowned and thought that even if he was a slave, he couldn't be so terrifying, right? He shook his head and walked away. At this time, a large number of troops arrived. Moreover, they were wearing advanced armor, and their equipment and strength were more than one level higher than the army at the spacecraft landing point. The key is that the general of this army is a strong man. The army directly surrounded Huaxian. "Take down this inferior warrior," a deputy general ordered angrily. He was full of murderous intent, as if he was ready to kill anyone who resisted. 2 soldiers walked towards Huaxian. They were as powerful as dragons and did not take any enemies seriously. Someone in the crowd muttered, as expected of the elite troops of the general's mansion, "They are so strong." The 2 soldiers locked the handcuffs on Huaxian. Huaxian said coldly, "You'd better not touch me, otherwise you won't be able to afford the price." The 2 soldiers ignored it and continued their attack. Huaxian attacked casually, throwing 2 punches in succession. The speed was so fast that no one could see clearly. There were 2 loud bangs and 2 figures flew out. Knock knock. There were 2 more muffled sounds. Ouch. Ouch. The large area was knocked down, and a series of wailing sounds were heard at the scene. The crowd watching was stunned. I didn't expect this human to be so powerful. The general's already gloomy expression became even colder. Crackling. With his fists clenched, he rushed towards Huaxian and punched him hard on the head. Huaxian had a calm expression and casually reached out to catch the opponent's fist. The general was stunned. He looked at Huaxian in disbelief. How could his powerful punch be taken so easily? The people watching around were even more stunned. Just because they know the general's strength. Unexpectedly. He couldn't kill this human instantly. Huaxian said coldly. You want to deal with me for no reason? Do you really think I have no temper? What are you going to do? The general asked angrily. Click. His fist was ruthlessly crushed by Huaxian. The extreme pain distorted the general's ferocious face. He's a tough guy and didn't make any noise. With the other hand, holding a sharp dagger, he stabbed Huaxian's heart fiercely. Huaxian's attention was distracted by the destruction of his right fist. So he thought that this unexpected sneak attack would definitely be successful. Unexpectedly, my wrist suddenly tightened and a strong force hit me. Click. The wrist was crushed. Ding dong. The dagger in his hand fell to the ground. Completely crushed, the general finally realized the gap between himself and Huaxian. Cold sweat broke out. Huaxian asked coldly, how do you want to die? Chapter 625 Self-Harm. Young man, don't be too arrogant. Even if you have some strength to deal with me, you should know that I am only at the bottom of the West Wind Nation. If you let me go now and kneel down and beg me to spare you, you may still have a chance to survive. Huaxian let go of his hand, quickly pinched his neck and said, I didn't hear what you just said clearly. Please say it again. At the same time, a pure force burst out from Huaxian's hands and spread to his whole body. The general was shocked to the extreme. Who was the other party? How could he possess such a terrifying power and control it so powerfully? This is definitely not something a human race can do. Who is this guy? In order to survive, he had to put away his arrogance, changed his usual behavior, and said with an ugly smile, Sir, please calm down. I just didn't recognize the great man. Huaxian suddenly threw him high into the air. Under everyone's puzzled gaze. Boom! The general exploded with a loud bang, turning into a blood mist that filled the sky. Everyone was shocked. Huaxian continued to move forward. The elite soldiers who blocked his way were so frightened that they kept dodging. When Huaxian walked away, the scene went into an uproar. Who on earth is that guy? He doesn't have any identity card and is clearly just an inferior slave. But he has the power to easily kill the undefeated general. He should have come from the slave-transporting spaceship of Dongyu country. The slave production area of Dongyu country seems to be Hongyu Island. Which means this powerful guy is from Hongyu Island. Not only him, there was also a group of women who came out to kill him and fled in all directions. They were all very powerful. Huaxian left here and walked into a luxurious and technologically advanced hotel. Whose inferior slave are you? This is not a place for you to spend money. The receptionist said inferently. The other party's attitude was not good. And Huaxian also asked inferently, can't inferior slaves eat? A receptionist said disdainfully, inferior slaves only eat pig food. How can they be qualified to spend money in a 10-star hotel? Why don't you get out of here right away? I thought, if I knew who your master was, I would have chased you away long ago. Huaxian said even more inferently, I have to go in and spend money. Security, security, there is an inferior slave causing trouble here. The beautiful receptionist called the security guard directly and looked at Huaxian with even more disgust. Soon, two security guards with strength of about level 60 rushed over. He stared at Huaxian viciously and found that he was indeed an inferior slave without any mark. He immediately rolled up his sleeves and was ready to take action. At this time, a high-tech luxury flying car stopped at the hotel entrance. It immediately caught everyone's attention. Seeing this, the two security guards acted quickly, grabbed Huaxian's arms and tried to drag him away violently. But Huaxian didn't move at all and stood blocking the door. 3 people got out of the car. The beautiful girls. One looks very fairy-like in a white long dress, and the other looks very wild in a tights. The other one was a middle-aged man wearing a specially made suit. And he looked like an upper-class celebrity. The 3 of them got out of the car. All with smiles on their faces, looking like they were in a good mood. Looking towards the hotel, I found an unmarked inferior slave blocking the door. The middle-aged man immediately frowned and asked angrily, what's wrong with him? Why would you allow an inferior slave to be in front of the door of a 10-star hotel? The receptionist quickly apologized, the 5th young master of the 7th generation of the Tiger Clan. This inferior slave came here by himself and has some strength. But our security guards were unable to drag him away. A security guard hurriedly said, Master Wu, the 7th generation of the Tiger Clan. I'm really sorry, this guy is very strong, we can't pull him. And we are sorry for affecting you. How strong can an inferior slave human be? Tiger Crown Insect said disdainfully, and said to the 2 beauties beside him, Miss Yunqiu Xie and Yunqiu Meyer, wait a moment. I will deal with this guy first. The 2 women nodded gently and then looked at Huaxian. Tiger Crown Insect strode up to Huaxian and said coldly, boy, do you want to solve it yourself, or do you want me to solve it for you? His extremely arrogant tone made people around him admire him very much. Some girls even became crazy about it. As expected of the fifth young master of the seventh generation of the Tiger Clan. So domineering and handsome. I like him so much. Me too. I like him very much and I really want to give birth to a child for him. Hearing this, Tiger Crown Insect was even more proud. Thinking that he was indeed very handsome and could attract all kinds of beauties. Huaxian said coldly, before I get angry, it's still not too late for the two beauties to get out of here. Because it was so quiet, everyone around heard what Huaxian said and was stunned. After a long time, the Tiger Crown Worm finally reacted and smiled coldly. Okay, very good, then let me see how capable you are. Seeing that the Tiger Crown Beetle was about to attack, the two security guards who were still holding Huaxian quickly let go and retreated far away. The Tiger Crown Worm suddenly exploded, and its tiger claws grabbed Huaxian's head fiercely. Huaxian burst out with powerful strength and manipulated invisibly. The Tiger Crown Worm suddenly felt its body enveloped by a powerful force. There was no time to doubt, I was terrified to death. His tiger claws were actually blessed by that strange and powerful force. And they grabbed at his heart fiercely. The people around were shocked when they saw this scene. What's going on? An inferior human slave, why is he hurting himself? Q. A Tiger Crown Beetle's claws dug deeply into his heart. A stream of blood spurted out of his mouth instantly. What's going on? Why would the fifth young master of the seventh generation of the Tiger Clan want to hurt himself? I subconsciously looked at Huaxian and saw that he had a calm expression and did not make any movements. So I did not suspect him at all. The Tiger Crown Beetle was extremely frightened. He stared at Huaxian and wanted to speak. But he was suppressed by that powerful force and couldn't speak at all. At this time Huaxian grinned. The Tiger Crown Worm was controlled by the invisible force, which grabbed its heart and pulled it out fiercely. Bloody and cruel. Vomit. Some people who watched it vomited. More people were stunned, feeling that this scene was too weird. At this time, the Tiger Crown Worm had placed its hands on its head. Everyone understood this gesture. Extremely shocking. Is the Tiger Crown Worm trying to twist its head off? It's unbelievable. What's wrong with you, Tiger Crown Worm? Tian Qixia couldn't help but ask loudly, but there was no response. Barry Birdmeyer, who was standing by, looked at the smiling Huaxian and said in a deep voice, I'm afraid all this is related to this inferior slave. Click. The Tiger Crown Worm cruelly twisted its head off. The blood splattered and the horrifying scene made the onlookers at the scene turn pale and very scared. Chapter 626, Drink it quickly. The extremely strong genetic power means that the Tiger Crown Worm does not die easily. I was clutching my heart with one hand and holding my head with the other, feeling extremely painful. Just when Huaxian was about to take a further step, the space shook and a powerful pressure came pressing down. For other people, this pressure is devastating, but in Huaxian's eyes, they are all small characters. How dare you touch my tiger people? As soon as the voice fell, a figure appeared in front of Huaxian. Less than 1 meter away, with eyes fixed on Huaxian. The terrifying pressure had already completely enveloped Huaxian. If the people around him had not seen that the space around Huaxian was distorted, they would not have been able to tell what he had endured. My eyes subconsciously fell on Huaxian's face, and I found that he was always smiling and didn't show any discomfort. Huaxian then asked, do you want to be like him? When the visitors saw that the other party completely ignored his pressure, his heart trembled violently and he was shocked to the extreme. Understand whether you are a match for the other party. He took a look at the Tiger Crown Beetle whose genetic power was becoming increasingly weak, and thought that saving people was the most important thing. He quickly put away his intimidation and said with a smile, "My friend, it's serious, it has all a misunderstanding. Tiger Crown Bug offended you. I brought him to apologize to you. I hope you can forgive him this time." Huaxian nodded and said, "That's more like it, I won't do it again." Only then did he take back his strength. The people around were stunned again. I thought that when the strong tiger came, he would directly crush this inferior slave, but I didn't expect him to apologize and admit his mistake. It's incredible. The strong man of the tiger tribe quickly left here with the Tiger Crown Worm. Jian Qmei and Tian Qixia were both preparing to get in the car and leave. Huaxian called out, "Since you two are here, why are you in such a hurry to leave? Why don't you have a meal together?" The two men shuddered and wanted to refuse. But they could see that the two generations of the Tiger Clan were no match for this guy, and they were afraid that they would gain no benefit if they offended him now. Leaving was obviously impossible. The two looked at each other and reached a tacit understanding. At the same time, he looked at Huaxian. Barry Birdmeyer said, "It's okay to eat, but we don't have the demon crystal with us." Huaxian smiled and said, "If I invite you to dinner, it's naturally my treat, let us go." After saying that, he walked in. The security guard, receptionist, and other people in the hotel did not dare to stop them. After all, This was the man who had been strangely repelled by 2 generations of the Tiger Clan. Jianqiu Mei and Jianqiu Xia looked at each other again. And this time they followed in together. When we got inside, there weren't many customers. The onlookers also returned to their seats, still looking at Huaxian curiously. Huaxian randomly chose an empty seat and walked over to sit down. The service staff didn't dare to approach. After Ferrybird Meyer and Skybird Kaya came over and sat down, Huaxian asked loudly, "Why, no one is coming to serve me? A low-ranking slave?" The manager at the site said to a new waiter, "Yi Feng Mei, go and serve this gentleman." Yi Feng Mei's body trembled, and she had to walk to Huaxian trembling Lai, handed him the high-tech Jin menu stone and asked, "My lord, what food do you need?" Her voice was trembling, showing how scared she was. Huaxian held the black stone and asked, "How do I use this?" Everyone present was puzzled, wondering, could this guy be an inferior slave who just came to the true continent from outside? How could he not know how to use the menu stone? A waiter explained, trembling Lai, "Sir, you only need to pinch the menu stone to obtain the menu memory of our restaurant. And then just order the dishes you like." Huaxian threw down the menu and said, "That's too much trouble, bring me 1 portion of your best dishes." "Sir, our signature dish here costs at least 1 trillion demon crystals at the cheapest." "Are you sure?" Huaxian interrupted, "Just serve me the dishes according to my request. Oh, and bring me the best wine first. I want to have a drink with these 2 beauties." Okay. A termite Feng Mei left trembling when I came to the back to get the wine. But the manager stopped her, opened the wine, took out a transparent bottle, and dropped a drop of yellow liquid into the wine. Yi Feng Mei asked in shock, "Manager, what is this? A lethal poison? Isn't this inferior slave very crazy? Let's see how crazy he becomes after he drinks this poison." "But manager, I always feel that he is very unusual. What if he finds out?" "What are you thinking? This lethal poison is colorless, odorless, and has no genetic program. It is impossible for him to discover it. Bring it up quickly." Yi Feng Mei walked towards Huaxian's table with the wine in her hand. Trembling. She was trembling and afraid from the beginning. And in the manager's opinion, there was no way this inferior slave could be seen to be abnormal. Putting down the wine, Yi Feng Mei turned around and was about to leave. A manager who was peeking at him from a distance angrily cursed him for being stupid and not knowing how to pour him some wine. Huaxian picked up the wine jug himself, poured a glass for Jianqiu Mei first, and poured a glass for Jianqiu Xia, and then poured his own glass. He picked up the wine glass and raised it to the 2 of them, saying, "Come on, 2 beauties, let's have a drink." The 2 had no choice but to pick up their glasses. Just drink it all in 1 gulp. The manager was horrified when he saw this. He was so focused on dealing with this inferior slave that he forgot about the 2 people from the Fairy Bird clan and the Sky Bird clan. What to do? Just go for it. He quickly went out and shouted, "Jianqiu Meyer, aren't you allergic to alcohol and can't drink?" Being interrupted, Jianqiu Meyer looked at the manager in confusion. The same is true for Jianqiu Xia. As a good sister, he knew very well about Jianqiu Meyer's drinking capacity. After thinking about it, they both understood. "I'm afraid there's something wrong with this wine." Jianqiu Meyer quickly put down her wine glass and said to Huaxian, "Sir, I am indeed allergic to alcohol, so..." Huaxian grinned and said, "Since you are allergic to alcohol, Miss Meyer, let this manager drink your glass of wine for you." The manager's body trembled violently and he was very frightened. Huaxian had already taken Jianqiu Meyer's glass of wine and handed it to him. The manager's body suddenly began to tremble, and he didn't dare to take the glass of wine. Huaxian asked coldly, "Why don't you dare drink this glass of wine? Is there something wrong with this glass of wine?" No, there will be absolutely no problem," the manager argued. Huaxian sneered, "Since there is no problem, then this precious wine is on my table, and you drink it all." Huaxian interrupted, "What do you mean? Drink it quickly." The manager was in an extremely difficult situation and deeply regretted having poisoned the wine on his own initiative. Huaxian stuffed the entire wine jug into his hands and said murderously, "Drink it quickly." Ding dong. There was no other way. The manager knelt on the ground in fear and apologized quickly. "Sir, I'm sorry for my confusion. I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. Please forgive me." Chapter 627, Give me a reason not to kill you. "When you wanted to kill me, did you ever think of sparing me?" Huaxian asked coldly. "My lord, I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. I really won't dare to do it again. Please forgive me." The manager was so scared that he begged bitterly. At this time, a large group of people rushed in from outside. He was wearing the tiger-shaped armor unique to the Tiger tribe. "Oh my god, the 3rd generation king of the Tiger tribe. Tiger Roar, is here too. It is said that 100 years ago, He was a terrifying existence at the 10th level of the Divine King. Someone in the crowd exclaimed. Seeing Hu Xiaozhen in the lead, the manager was overjoyed, as if he had grabbed a life-saving straw, and rushed over quickly. Third generation Heavenly King of the Tiger Tribe. You are finally here. This inferior slave is too difficult to deal with. He saw through my lethal poison and forced me to drink the poison wine. Hu Xiaozhen looked at Hu Xian with a cold gaze, as if he didn't even look at him, and strode towards him. Tianqiu Mei and Tianqiu Xie quickly walked to the side in unison. Everyone's eyes were on Hu Xian, wanting to see if he would be afraid. What I saw was that calm expression. It was as if he was not the one who was about to get into trouble. You lowly slave, how dare you touch my tiger people? Hu Xiaozhen asked contemptuously. Some people were puzzled. This doesn't seem like the character of Tiger Clan's third generation king. Tiger Roar, why didn't he just take action? Nonsense. The experiences of the Tiger Crown worms must have been told to the third generation of Heavenly King Tiger Roaring Town. So he became more cautious. Besides, look at this lowly slave. He looks calm and doesn't seem to be afraid at all. Hu Xian smiled coldly and said, You Tiger Tribe are really haunting. I let one group go, but another group comes. Do you think I'm kind and that you can leave safely every time you come? Buzz. The space trembled, and a burst of pure power burst out, enveloping the Tiger Roar town in an instant, visible to the naked eye. Click. The floor beneath Tiger Roar's feet exploded instantly. This shows how terrifying the power he is bearing now is. It's jaw-dropping. As the entire audience stared in amazement, Hu Xiaozhen's body shook more and more violently, and his legs began to bend, with the arc becoming increasingly larger. Beads of sweat kept rolling down his face, and he was about to kneel down. Hu Xiao's calm expression was filled with shock. He couldn't understand why an inferior slave human race could possess such terrifying pure power. This time, everyone understood what Hu Xian said and realized that he was the one who caused the Tiger Crown Beetle's self-mutilation behavior before. Weird and powerful. Such enemies are the most terrifying. Ding dong. Hu Xiaozhen arrived so powerfully that he didn't even have a chance to attack. At this moment, he knelt in front of Hu Xian in embarrassment. This scene shocked the whole audience. Looking at Hu Xian, his idea that inferior slaves were waste finally changed. Hu Xian said coldly, Kneel here and confess your sins to me. If you perform to my satisfaction, I may let you leave alive. At this moment, when Hu Xian said this, no one dared to doubt it at all. Just because it was too terrifying, the 3 generations of kings of the Tiger Tribe were suppressed without any ability to fight back. This is no longer something that can be described as ordinary powerful. Hu Xian looked at the manager and said, You, please spare my life. Sir, I kowtow to you, please spare me. Hu Xian said coldly. If you want to live, you can keep kowtow to me until I finish my lunch. If you don't kowtow once, it will be your death. Don't. Please spare my life, sir. Don't, please spare my life. Sir. The manager dared not to do as he was asked. Only then did Hu Xian stop mentioning the matter of drinking the poison wine. Looking at Bae Feng Mei, he said, Isn't my meal ready yet? Bae Feng Mei's body trembled violently. My lord, I will blow it right away. After a while, all the signature dishes, fine wines and delicious food that Hu Xian needed were served. Sir, your dishes are all here, please enjoy. Bae Feng Mei said with great fear. After all, it was she who brought up the poison wine. Hu Xian nodded and looked at Tianqiu Mei and Tianqiu Xie and said, Why are you standing so far away? Do you think I am not qualified to treat you to a meal? The 2 men's bodies trembled violently and they hurried over. My lord, you have misunderstood. Let me offer you a toast. Tianqiu Mei took the initiative to pour wine for Hu Xian. Hu Xian drank it all in one gulp and looked at the other person. Tianqiu Mei quickly drank a glass herself while she continued to pour the wine. Hu Xian grabbed her wrist and pulled her into his arms. Fairy Bird Mare was so scared that she screamed subconsciously. He struggled hard and hid far away. Hu Xian frowned. When the people around saw this scene, they all became nervous for Tianqiu Mei. After a while, Hu Xian poured himself a glass of wine and said, You can leave now. Tianqiu Mei and Tianqiu Xie were both stunned. Some couldn't believe their ears. Why, you don't want to leave? Hearing this, the 2 of them ran away as fast as they could, fearing that Hu Xian would go back on his word. After the 2 men left, Hu Xian continued to drink and eat. After a while, he looked at Bae Feng Mei and said, Do you dare to drink with me? Bae Feng Mei said, trembling, Lie. I'm just a waiter. I don't dare to violate the rules. Hu Xian shook his head. After half an hour, Hu Xian was full and satisfied. Looking at the manager, his face was covered in blood. His forehead was broken, and the white bones were clearly visible. Fortunately, he was a genetic practitioner, so he didn't die from this. Okay, you can go now. Thank you. "Sir, thank you, sir." A manager was released as if he was acquitted and retreated, expressing his gratitude continuously. Everyone's eyes were on Hu Xin and Hu Xiaozhendi, who was kneeling beside him. The ground beneath the ladder was soaked with the sweat that kept rolling down. "Find a reason why he shouldn't kill you," Hu Xin asked. After gathering a bit of his strength, Hu Xiaozhendi was finally able to speak. He said in horror, "You are definitely not a human. What are you?" Hu Xin said coldly, "I'll give you one more chance. Give me a reason not to kill you?" Hu Xiaozhen could feel the murderous intent in Hu Xin's tone. Although it was only a slight feeling, it penetrated deep into his bones, making him so frightened that he had no desire to resist. After thinking for a moment, he looked at the table full of delicious food that Hu Xin was eating, and said with a stiff upper lip, "I'll pay for you." Hu Xin nodded and said, "This is a reasonable reason. You are lucky." After saying that, he rose and left. I just took a few steps. A little girl ran over and said, "My lord, wait a minute." Hu Xin looked around, then pointed at himself and asked, "Call me?" "Yes, sir, our boss wants to see you." "Your boss?" "Yes, that's right, our boss wants to see you." Hu Xin smiled and asked, "Then let me ask you, is your boss a man or a woman?" "Our boss is a woman." "Is she a beauty?" "Our boss is one of the top 10 beauties in Southwest Harbor," the girl said confidently. Chapter 628, Then I'll ask you to stop. One of the 10 most beautiful women. "Well, take me to see your boss." The girl saw something and warned, "Let me tell you, there are many talented people pursuing our boss. You probably don't stand a chance." Hu Xin smiled and said, "Maybe your boss took the initiative to pursue me." "Impossible. Absolutely impossible." The girl denied it immediately. "Nothing is impossible if he doesn't like me. Why would your boss want to see me?" The girl didn't know how to explain, so she said loudly, "Our boss will never like you anyway, so just give up on this idea." After saying that, he strode away. Hu Xin followed behind with a smile on his face, thinking that the girl was interesting. Following the girl all the way towards the depths of the hotel, Hu Xin thought it was a luxurious high-rise building, but unexpectedly he arrived at an independent courtyard. This courtyard is surrounded by high-rise buildings. It is located in the middle and looks ordinary, just like an ordinary person's residence. Such a scene made Hu Xin somewhat confused. What kind of person is he? In such a prosperous technological city, he actually built an ordinary rural house to live in a big city. Boom boom boom. The girl knocked on the door. The rules cannot be broken. Not even by the maids. This made Hu Xin realize that the other party was a person who attached great importance to rules. "Come in." An ordinary female voice was heard, making Hu Xin even more curious. "You have to know that he is the boss of this 10-star hotel." The girl then opened the door and walked in. When I walked in the door, I didn't expect to have to change my shoes. The girl smiled and said, "There are no men's shoes here if you don't bring shoes. You will have to go barefoot." I thought, let's see if you can make a fool of yourself. Hu Xin frowned. The first impression he had of the other person was that he was ordinary and simple. I didn't expect that I would have to change my shoes when I walked on a floor made entirely of mud. However, the floor made of compressed soil is also in a hurry. Exchange a pair of ordinary slippers from the system and take them out. The girl was stunned. I couldn't help but ask curiously, "Why do you carry such ordinary slippers with you?" Hu Xin replied with a smile, "I come from such a rural family. I carry my old slippers mainly for nostalgia." "Do you miss your hometown too?" the girl said subconsciously. "Don't talk nonsense." The woman's voice came from the room. The girl stuck out her tongue, realizing that she had said something. Hu Xin was a little curious judging from what the girl said. The other party was obviously not from this world. It should be from another world, just like me. After changing his shoes, he followed the girl into the yard. Arriving under an old locust tree, the girl said, "Wait here. This is where our boss meets guests." Hu Xin didn't care and sat down casually under the old locust tree, looking around curiously. This wait took a long time. An hour passed. Neither the girl nor the boss showed up. Hu Xin frowned. Don't understand what the other party means. Take a deep breath and wait patiently again. Another hour passed, and the other party still did not appear. In the room, the master and servant were drinking tea and eating snacks by the window while looking at Hu Xin outside. "Boss, you said this guy has been waiting for 2 hours. He looks a little impatient. Will he leave in anger? You'll know when you see it." The boss was eating a bunch of grapes and enjoying it very much. Hu Xin waited for another hour, a full 3 hours, but still no one showed up. "Get up and leave." After taking a few steps, the world in front of me changed and the yard disappeared. As a master of chaos-level formations, Hu Xin could tell at a glance that this was an illusion formation. With a cold smile, "Do you still want to test yourself?" He simply looked around and walked in one direction. Seeing the direction Huaxian was walking, the girl was shocked. This guy seems to be very familiar with the magic array. He actually walked directly towards the center of the array. The boss, who was wearing a simple plaid shirt, was also surprised, but didn't say anything. Huaxian walked to the center of the formation and stepped down hard. In an instant, the formation was broken and the illusion disappeared. Huaxian did not leave directly this time. Look around and see everything at a glance. A little surprised. There are more than 10 formations in this small courtyard. When combined together, they have very strong defensive power. It also restricts people from entering and leaving. But in front of this chaos-level formation strength, these formations seemed a bit inferior. Walk to the center of the formation and kick it. A formation was broken. Then move on to the next formation. Inside the room, the boss and the maid were extremely shocked when they saw this scene. After reacting, he immediately realized that the opponent's formation was extremely powerful. In order to prevent the formation from being completely destroyed by the opponent, the boss could no longer sit still. He stood up, opened the door and shouted, "Stop!" Boom! Huaxian did not stop and continued to crush the center of the formation and destroy the formation and destroy the formation. Then move on to the next formation. The boss was furious. He came to Huaxian in an instant and shouted at him from a close distance. "I told you to stop, don't you understand?" Huaxian said inferently. "My hands have not moved." After saying that, he shook his feet. The boss was speechless. "Then I'll ask you to stop." Huaxian smiled and said, "That's right." Outside, a young man with extraordinary bearing walked quickly towards them, holding flowers in hands, face full of joy. But when he saw the goddess he lived inside the gate of the yard, she opened her arms and stopped a man, as if she didn't want him to leave. Ding dong! The flowers in her hand fell, her smile gradually disappeared, and her face became increasingly gloomy. "Quicken your pace and walk towards the yard." When the girl saw the young man, her expression changed drastically. And she quickly said, "The boss, the playboy Huaqian-kun, is here." "What?" The boss trembled and turned around suddenly to look. Sure enough, Huaqian-kun strode over with a gloomy face. When he arrived at the gate of the yard, he walked straight in without even changing his shoes. He came up to her and asked angrily, "Huaqian-kun, what do you mean by stopping him? Also, who is he? Why is he in your yard? Didn't you tell me that only one man can come into your yard? And that man is me?" After saying that, he glared at Huaxian. Seeing this, Huaxian smiled and said, "Don't get me wrong. I'm just a diner boss. Huaqian invited me to be her guest. I was ready to leave, but she wouldn't let me. I don't know what's going on." Come to think of it, it was Huaqian who really didn't let Huaxian leave. Huaqian asked angrily, "Huaqian, won't you explain?" Huaqian took a deep breath and said, "It was indeed me who asked him to come to my yard. And it was also me who did not let him leave. That's because." "Okay, Huaqian, I didn't expect you to be such a shameless woman." I, Huaqian, was blind. He interrupted Huaqian's words, cursed her, and turned away. Chapter 629, Are you from Blue Planet? Huaqian, you misunderstood our boss, the girl explained quickly. I even wanted to catch up and explain. Huaqian stopped him and said, "Forget it. If he understood me, he wouldn't be angry with me. If he doesn't understand me, he's not suitable for me." After saying that, he looked at Huaxian and said, "Are you satisfied now?" Huaxian looked at Huaqian, who was dressed simply but still couldn't hide her beauty and figure, and said with a smile, "Of course I am satisfied." "You bastard." The girl cursed angrily. "I think Huaxian is gloating." Huaxian continued, "If he hadn't been pissed off, would I have had a chance?" Reached out and grabbed Huaqian's hand. Huaqian dodged cleverly and asked, "Are you from Blue Star?" "Blue Star? What place is that?" Huaxian looked confused. Huaqian also frowned. "You don't know Lanxing?" Huaxian nodded and said, "I really don't know." "So where are you from?" "I'm from Earth." "Earth? What does the Earth look like?" Huaqian asked with a frown. Huaxian exchanged for a model of the Earth and took it out, saying, "It grows." Before he could finish his words, Huaqian, who saw the Earth model, interrupted excitedly, "This is the Blue Planet." "Earth?" Huaxian looked at the blue planet covered with seawater and thought it was reasonable to call it a blue planet. Surprised, "So you are from Earth too?" "That's right. 10,000 years ago, I was struck by lightning for no apparent reason, and ended up in this world." "A time traveler?" "Yes. I traveled here from Blue Star. What about you, aren't you?" Huaxian smiled and said, "Of course not. I called you." "Call me? Then what is your current level of cultivation?" "Be conservative, God Emperor." "Is." Huaqian took a deep breath and looked at Huaxian in disbelief. After a while, he asked. Huaxian nodded and smiled. In his 20s. Yu Qianqian took another deep breath, somewhat unconvinced. He grabbed Huaxian's arm. Huaxian's bone age was examined using the power of genes. Then I was stunned. He stared at Huaxian in disbelief and muttered. He's really in his 20s, how could it be possible? Huaxian smiled and grabbed her hand, saying, Don't worry, I won't mind your age. Yu Qianqian reacted and said in a good mood. Then I thank you. He took Huaxian and left. The girl stood there in a daze. The two words Huaxian answered kept echoing in my mind. Divine Emperor. Straight into the room, into the boudoir. Just like the rooms of ordinary people on Earth. From this we can see that Yu Qianqian misses the Earth very much. Sitting on the bed, Yu Qianqian stared at Huaxian and asked seriously, Can you take me back to Blue Star? Huaxian nodded and said, Okay, but the Blue Star now is not the Blue Star of 10,000 years ago. It doesn't matter, as long as I can go back, that's my home. This is your home too, Huaxian said, holding her in his arms. Yu Qianqian did not resist, she snuggled in Huaxian's arms and enjoyed it. This is the breath from her fellow countrymen, which makes her lonely heart no longer lonely. Yu Qianqian, get out here? From outside, an angry voice was heard. Yu Qianqian frowned and said to Huaxian, People from the Huagu tribe have arrived. Hua Qiankan must have called in a master from the tribe. Huaxian couldn't help but kiss Yu Qianqian's forehead before answering. Who cares what she is? She's my woman, I'll take care of her. And no one can bully her. The overbearing words made Yu Qianqian feel unprecedented happiness. It has been 10,000 years, and although she has achieved something in this world, she is a nostalgic person. She always misses her hometown and wants to go back all the time. Huaxian pulled her out of the room. The girl stood at the door in panic. And only breathed a sigh of relief when she saw the two people coming out. There were not many people from the Huagu tribe, only Hua Qiankan and two old men. Hua Qiankan became even angrier when he saw Yu Qianqian and Huaxian holding hands and looking so affectionate. Yu Qianqian, you bitch, my clan elders said that I must have misunderstood you. After he finished speaking, he turned to the two elders and said, Grand Master, you have seen the facts, have I misunderstood her? An old man frowned and looked at Yu Qianqian and asked, Yu Qianqian, you have an engagement with a descendant of my clan. Have you forgotten? Yu Qianqian glanced at Huaxian, and saw that he was full of confidence and not panicked at all, so she was no longer worried. He said what he had not dared to refuse back then. Huagu clan, you threatened me to make this engagement. I don't have any feelings for Hua Qiankan at all. So you are determined to turn against us, the Huagu tribe? Another old man from the Huagu tribe said coldly. Immediately a pressure from a 15th level god king spread out. The frightened girl quickly hid behind Yu Qianqian. She was just an ordinary maid. Snort. Huaxian snorted angrily. The pressure from the old man of the Huagu tribe disappeared in an instant. He himself was seriously injured and vomited blood. Huaxian said coldly, You bullied my woman, do you think I'm nothing? He stretched out his hand, and the three people from the Huagu tribe, including Hua Qiankan, all floated up. This moment, the expressions of the three of them changed drastically and they were extremely terrified. Only then did Yu Qianqian truly believe in Huaxian's strength. Ingmaya is worried about suppressing the three god kings of the Huagu clan, one of whom is a god king of level 16, who else can do it except those at the god emperor level? And he is not only her man, but also her fellow villager. Yu Qianqian suddenly felt that God had finally favored her. Huaxian waved his hand and three people floated towards him. It stopped at about 3 meters. Huaxian asked coldly, How should I deal with you? Hua Qiankan roared, You are just a lowly human slave. So what if you have some strength? A truly strong man will kill you in an instant. Shut up. It was an old man from the Huagu tribe who roared at him. Then he said to Huaxian, Sir, Hua Qiankan is solely responsible for the mistakes he made. It has nothing to do with my Huagu clan as the ancestor of the Huagu clan. I declare that he will be expelled from the family. What? Hua Qiankan was shocked and desperate. He asked in disbelief. Grandmaster, I am the most outstanding genius among the 8th generation of the Flower Drum clan. How dare you expel me from the clan just because of this inferior human slave? He really couldn't understand why this happened. After all, a Huagu tribe has countless strong men, so there is no need to be afraid of an inferior human slave. From this moment on, you are no longer a member of my Huagu tribe. And my Huagu tribe does not want anyone like you to survive. No, I can't understand why you treat me like this. Hua Qiankan roared angrily. Chapter 630, Treating Money Like Dirt. Hua Qiankan. You are so stupid they can easily subdue us. How can their strength be weak? I am afraid they are either a divine emperor or a divine king at the peak. My Huagu tribe cannot easily offend such a person. Do you think it is possible for me to offend such a strong man for you? Another Huagu tribe ancestor couldn't help but speak. And he said to Huaxian, Hua Qiankun is no longer a member of my Huagu tribe. Sir, you can punish him as you like, and my Huagu tribe will never cause trouble to you again. I hope you can let us go, sir. Huaxian said coldly. I sound like I'm afraid that you, the Huagu tribe, will cause trouble for me. Believe it or not, I will kill you, the Huagu tribe, and have you removed from Southwest Harbor. These ordinary words frightened the two Huagu tribe ancestors terrified. Only then did I realize that I had muttered to the other person. He lowered his posture again and said, Sir, we have handed the perpetrator over to you. We are willing to give you 100 million Eman crystals as compensation for disturbing you. Yes. But the girl next to her took a deep breath when she heard the words, 100 million demon crystal marrows. In her opinion, this was a huge sum of money. Huaxian said coldly, 100 million demon crystals, are you sending away beggars? This. Everyone was shocked. After all, that is the devil's crystal marrow. An billion demon crystals? The old man said with great pain. Huaxian then nodded and said, this is quite decent. Girl, give him your demon card, and I'll give you these 1 billion Eman crystals as a reward. The girl was stunned with shock, totally unable to believe it. Little girl, why don't you accept the reward given by your uncle? Only after Yu Qianqian spoke did Xiaoya react. She took out her devil card in disbelief and handed it to Huaxian. Huaxian then let go of the two ancestors of the Huagu clan and threw the demon card over. The two looked at each other, didn't dare to play tricks, and quickly transferred the money. Then he respectfully handed the devil card to Xiaoya. When Xiaoya received the notification that the money had arrived, she was shocked again. 1 billion demon crystals, they have really arrived. Sir, can we leave now? Asked an old ancestor of the Huagu tribe. If you don't leave, do you want to stay for dinner? Thank you, sir. After thanking him, the two left quickly. Seeing this, Hua Qiankun was extremely frightened and shouted loudly, Ancestor, please don't leave me, don't abandon me. But he ignored him. Huaxian stared at him and asked coldly, tell me, how do you want to die? Hua Qiankun was extremely frightened, and he begged. Please spare my life, I beg you to spare me, I will give you all the demon crystals and demon crystal marrows I have. Huaxian said disdainfully, do you think I'm short of these garbage things like demon crystals and demon crystal essence? Yu Qianqian and Xiaoya were speechless. Is this the legendary thing about treating money as dirt? Since you don't choose how to die, I will choose for you. Seeing that Huaxian was full of murderous intent, he really wanted to kill him. Hua Qiankun was extremely terrified and begged Yu Qianqian. Ian Basu, please, for all the help I have given you over the years, please plead for me and spare my life. Now he just wants to save his life. The space around him began to compress, the pressure was increasing, and his body began to twist and deform. If this continues, he will explode and die. Yu Qianqian, I have helped you a lot over thousands of years. Are you really so heartless? Hua Qiankun roared in despair. Yu Qianqian finally softened her heart and said to Huaxian, forget it, let him go this time. Huaxian waved his hand. Ding dong. Hua Qiankun fell to the ground. Phew. Although he was seriously injured, he managed to save his life. He climbed up with difficulty and ran away as quickly as possible despite his injuries. All the hatred was hidden in my heart, and I swore that I would make sure that this couple would die a miserable death. Thank you, Yu Qianqian said gratefully. Huaxian smiled bitterly and said, don't you want to call me husband? Yu Qianqian was stunned, and said shyly, you haven't even married me yet. Huaxian picked her up and rushed into the room. Yu Qianqian was so scared that she screamed and struggled. Huaxian was extremely domineering and took off all the clothes in a few seconds. And let's get to the point. 2 hours later, he hugged the panting Yu Qianqian and asked, do you want to call me husband now? No, I won't. You won't scream, right? Then I'll just have to continue punishing you. Turn over and, oh, husband, spare me. Yu Qianqian screamed for mercy. Outside, Xiaoya was really curious and looked around secretly through the window. When I saw the scenes inside, I blushed instantly and felt extremely shy. After a while of tenderness, Huaxian pulled Yu Qianqian out of the room. The little girl secretly looked over from a distance. And when she thought of the scene she had just seen, her face turned red and she was still very shy. Little girl. Come here, Yu Qianqian shouted. Boss. The little girl came over shyly. Xiaoya, I'll leave this restaurant to you from now on. If there's anything you can't handle, just contact me. Boss, are you going to abandon Xiaoya? Xiaoya was so worried that she was about to cry. That's abandonment, you. The grown up, and I found my love. So naturally I have to stay with my lover. It's a pity. Boss, Xiaoya was raised by you since she was a child. You are Xiaoya's only relative. Xiaoya doesn't want to leave you. Please, boss, don't abandon Xiaoya, please. The little girl knelt on the ground and begged bitterly. Yu Qianqian smiled bitterly and said, the boss has not abandoned you. I will come back to see you often in the future, so I hope you can take good care of the restaurant for me. Understand? I have to put it another way. Really? Did the boss really not abandon Xiaoya? Real. Yeah. Thank you, boss. Xiaoya will definitely take good care of the restaurant. Xian took Yu Qianqian out of the yard and walked out of the restaurant. As soon as they stepped out, they were surrounded by military troops. Several strong men fell from the sky. Each of them exudes the pressure of a god king above level 20. Xian frowned, and at the same time a hint of murderous intent emanated from him. These people kept causing trouble like mosquitoes, which made him very impatient. This time, there will definitely be a river of blood. The leader of the strong men smiled and said, young man, our general wants to see you. Although Xian did not have any identity icon and was recognized as an inferior slave in the true continent, his strength was there, and although the other party was of noble status, he had to respectfully address him as young hero. Xian refused without hesitation. No, I don't have time. A whole audience was stunned. I didn't expect that he would not give face to the general's mansion. The strong man suspected that he had heard it wrong, and asked again, young man, the general's mansion invites you to be a guest. Before he could finish, Xian said boldly, it's because it's the general's mansion that I don't have time to go there. If you dare to bother me again, I will kill you without mercy. Chapter 631, Hongmen Banquet. The murderous aura made the other party dare not say another word. Xian took Yu Qianqian and left. People who are blocking the road have to quickly move out of the way. The feeling given to everyone present was that he was extremely crazy. After they walked away, Yu Qianqian said worriedly, husband, you should still give face to the general's mansion. It is said that there are also powerful divine emperors in the general's mansion. Xian smiled and said, I killed the undefeated general of the general's mansion and destroyed their eldest son Tian Kan. What kind of banquet do you think I am going to? Hongmen Banquet. That's it. Since I know it's a Hongmen Banquet, why should I cooperate with them? Yu Qianqian smiled bitterly and said, husband, you have offended 2 of the 10 major forces in Southwest Harbor. Xian said disapprovingly, if I've offended you, then I've offended you. How can I be afraid of that? So what are you going to do next, husband? What else can I do? Of course, I'll take my wife and I to hang out and have fun. He hugged Yu Qianqian's waist and enjoyed it very much. Yu Qianqian rolled her eyes and said, since you are so free, why not take me back to Earth? I have to go back to Earth for sure. My family is on Earth, but not now. Hey, miss, look. Isn't that Yu Qianqian, the owner of the Mocha Eye Hotel? She's actually flirting with a strange man. No, a low-class slave. A voice came from a distance. Xian and Yu Qianqian both looked over. Lo Fengjun. Recognizing the other person, Yu Qianqian cried out in surprise. Yu Qianqian is really you, how could you? He didn't say anything else and looked at Xian. Let me introduce you, this is my husband, Xian. This inferior slave is your husband. Fengjun's maid cried out in surprise. Yu Qianqian smiled and said, yes, he is my husband. Fengjun pulled Yu Qianqian to the side and asked, Qianqian, what's wrong with you? Isn't your fiancé a Qiankun from the Flower Drum clan? Why are you calling an inferior human slave your husband? Yu Qianqian said seriously, Fengjun, we have a good relationship. But I don't allow you to belittle my husband. To tell you the truth, my husband and I are from the same place, and I love him very much. But this is the real continent ruled by demons. You will. Lo Fengjun, if you are afraid of being implicated by me, then I will draw you clear line now. After saying that, he walked away. Fengjun stood there in a daze. Honey, let's go. Yu Qianqian took Xian's arm and walked away. Xian asked curiously, is it worth it to fall out with your best friend because of me? Of course it's worth it. You are my husband, you are the one who lives with me. And you are the one who loves me. What, as a best friend? Yu Qianqian said bluntly. Xian smiled and said, since you said that your husband loves you, how can I bear to watch you and your best friend separate? Husband, what are you going to do? Xian turned around with a smile and walked towards Lo Fengjun, who had not yet reacted. He came up to her and politely extended his hand, saying, hello, Miss Lo Fengjun, I hope to marry you. What? Everyone present was dumbfounded. Even if you like someone, even if you want to confess your feelings, you can't be so direct, right? Yu Qianqian was speechless and said dissatisfied lie. Husband, are you crazy? Isn't it enough to have me? You actually want to hit on my best friend? Xian smiled and said, I know you two are close friends and I don't want you to separate. so if you both become my wives, this difficult problem can be solved. You're dreaming our young lady won't be attracted to you," the other maid said viciously. Huaxian smiled and said, "If you dare to be mean to me again, I will take you in too." "You." The maid was stunned. She didn't expect the other party to be so shameless. Luo Fangjun said coldly to Yu Qianqian, "I didn't expect the man you liked was so philandering and shameless. I really don't know what you liked about him." After saying that, he turned and left. Huaxian smiled and said, "If you leave now, I will go to your camel tribe to propose marriage." Luo Fangjun's body trembled violently and stopped. He turned around and glared at Huaxian and shouted, "What are you going to do?" Huaxian smiled and said, "I don't have high requirements. I just wanna marry you." "You are shameless." After cursing, he said to Yu Qianqian, "Don't you want to take care of him?" Yu Qianqian said to Huaxian in a deep voice, "Hubby, don't do this, it will make me very embarrassed." Huaxian grabbed her hand and said seriously, "Wife, I only have one hobby, which is to like beautiful women. Your best IE is so beautiful, it's better for me to let her get away with it than for others to let her get away with it." Yu Qianqian was so angry that she reached out to hit Huaxian. But Huaxian did not dodge or avoid. Finally she softened her heart and said to Luo Fangjun, "You should leave quickly, my husband will not go to your camel tribe to propose marriage." But Luo Fangjun trotted away. Huaxian is also pestering her. He picked up Yu Qianqian and said, "Believe it or not, she will fall in love with me." "I don't believe it. As long as you don't use despicable means, she will never fall in love with you." "Then we'll wait and see." We soon arrived at a roadside stall, which was just an ordinary stall selling fried rice. It is worth noting that the stall owner is a boy of about 12 or 13 years old. There were quite a few people eating at the stall, which showed that the little boy was a good cook. "You too. Would you like some fried rice?" the little boy asked enthusiastically when he saw Huaxian and the others coming over. "Okay, give us 2 servings of fried rice, the best kind," said Huaxian, as the little boy skillfully fried the rice. He confidently said, "All my fried rice is delicious. It depends on what ingredients you want to eat. That's the best ingredient." "Okay, you two, please sit down and wait for a moment." Huaxian and Yu Qianqian found a seat and sat down. Waiting. Many people passed by, but not many of them had strong cultivation. People at the extraordinary G level are completely equivalent to ordinary people without any cultivation here. Belongs to the bottom layer. Damn inferior slave. Blind and ignorant, kill her. Such a figure was heard from a shop not far away. Huaxian was curious and appeared at the door of the shop in an instant. Just because he is also a level slave without an identity icon in the hearts of the people here. I saw an old woman who was kicked to the ground, trembling and covered with scars. A middle-aged man, although not a slave, is just at the bottom of the society. I don't know what caused the old woman to anger him, but he was about to kill her with one knife. "Stop!" Huaxian shouted. Everyone looked over there. Seeing that it was a person without any identity icon, they were all disdainful. Someone asked, "Whose inferior slave is this? How dare he come out and meddle in other people's business?" Huaxian was about to walk in, but was stopped by the waiter, who said, "You are an inferior slave, and you are not allowed to enter the store without your master." Yu Qianqian also came over and pulled Huaxian in. Seeing that it was a beautiful woman dressed simply, everyone looked at her unfriendly. Apparently, Yu Qianqian rarely shows up, and not many people know that she is the owner of Mocha Eye Hotel. Chapter 632, How about this deal? Coming up to the old woman, the middle-aged man angrily asked, "Why are you meddling in other people's business?" The look he gave Yu Qianqian was full of greed. This made Yu Qianqian frown. "Let her go," Huaxian said coldly. "You said you would let her go? I used my life savings and a demon crystal to buy her. Sir, save me, please save me, please save me." The old woman saw hope and hugged Huaxian's legs for help. Huaxian looked down at her and saw the scene he shouldn't have seen. Unexpectedly, she was also covered with scars. It can be said that there is no intact part of his body. Although it is a world where martial arts are respected and fists are everything, Huaxian also feels that it is too cruel. Suddenly I realized that any world needs a strong person to make the rules. Only just rules can allow all living things to survive in harmony. As the king of men, should I be the one to make the rules? All things evolve, all are human. Nature is ruled by human kings. Huaxian seemed to have suddenly found the direction and customized the rules so that the creatures in countless universes and countless planets could survive in peace. However, it is easier said than done. One universe is incredibly huge, let alone countless universes. What is outside the universe? Huaxian took out 2 demon crystal marrow fragments and threw them over, saying, "Take them and go quickly." The latter was extremely excited after catching the demon crystal marrow. This old woman was originally his purchased wife. He had been with her for several years and had had enough fun with her. Now, not only did he get his money back for free, but he also earned a demon crystal marrow. So he was naturally very excited. Okay, get up, Huaxian said softly. The old woman stood up and said with great gratitude. Thank you, sir, for saving me. Thank you for saving me. Huaxian saw that there was nothing to worry about. So he walked out of the store. Yu Qian followed closely behind. Back to the stall. I didn't expect the old woman to follow me. Huaxian frowned and asked, why don't you leave? My lord. I am just an ordinary slave, I have nowhere to go. You too. Your food is here, enjoy it. The little boy said as he brought over 2 plates of food. The old lady drooled at the sight. Huaxian said to the little boy. Make another copy by the way, do you need any help? The little boy glanced at the old woman and understood what Huaxian meant. He smiled bitterly and shook his head. Sir, I am a small business. There is really nothing I can do. Huaxian took out 10 demon crystals and placed them on the table, saying, take him with you and let him help you treat her well. And these 10 demon crystals will be yours. The little boy's eyes lit up. He looked around quickly and took the 10 demon crystals. A young man rushed over, grabbed 10 demon crystals, and said proudly, I'm so lucky to have picked up 10 demon crystals. Although the main currency in the true continent is demon crystal marrow, the main currency at the bottom level is still demon crystal. Therefore, the demon crystal marrow is extremely precious and rare. And the exchange rate of 1 demon crystal marrow for 1 demon crystal stone is 100 million. These 10 demon crystal marrows are equivalent to 1 billion demon crystals, which is enough to make many people excited. A stall owner said inferently, I advise you to put down these 10 demon crystals. They belong to this boss. Just him, the boss? He's just an inferior slave with no status. And he produced so many demon essences? As he said this, he was about to put the demon crystal marrow into his bag. Huaxian said coldly, you'd better listen to the advice and return the demon crystal marrow. Hey, what if I don't let go? The young man didn't take Huaxian seriously at all. After saying that, he turned and left. If you take another step, you will die. Huaxian's cold voice rang out. The young man ignored it completely and strode away. Click. As soon as this step was taken, the foot was broken by the inexplicable pressure. And that foot is still being compressed. Boom. Finally, it couldn't bear the huge pressure and exploded. The young man just reacted at this time and was terrified to the extreme. Beads of sweat kept dripping and my heart was beating like thunder. I have never been so scared at this moment. Huaxian said coldly, since you have taken that step, please spare my life. Sir, I know I was wrong. I will return the demon crystal to you right now. No, I will give you all the property I have. If you don't have clean hands and feet and you don't seize the opportunity you were given, then you will die. Boom. As the word death fell, the guy's body exploded. It instantly turned into a bloody mist. The people around were all frightened when they saw this scene. But the wave of Huaxian's hand, the demon crystals in the blood mist returned to the table. All eyes were on him. Huaxian said calmly, why are you all looking at me? Just do what you need to do. The people who were still watching him at the scene trembled violently and quickly went about their own business. Huaxian's gaze returned to the little boy and asked, how about this deal? The little boy smiled and said, sir, there is no need for the devil's marrow, this stall is not safe either. If you are willing to help those in need, I hope you can protect me. Elder brother. At this moment, 7 or 8 children came running over from a distance. The oldest was about 15 or 16 years old, and the youngest was about 4 or 5 years old. The one who called him was the little girl who was about 5 years old. They all carried baskets of wild vegetables in their hands. One of the children was being supported by the people and appeared to be injured. What's wrong with Dahi? The stall owner boy asked in a reproachful tone. Brother, we encountered a wild beast, and it was Big Black who desperately beat the beast away. Look, we got a lot of wild vegetables today. The little girl said innocently and kindly. The smile seeking credit on the dirty face was so sincere. How many times have I told you not to go to those dangerous places? What if you get hurt? Doesn't treatment require demon coins? The smile on the little girl's face disappeared instantly. She lowered her head, looking like she had done something wrong and was very nervous. The other kids were pretty much the same. I'm sorry. Brother. The little girl said weakly. Hey, don't go to that dangerous place anymore. Okay? No. A group of children answered loudly. Huaxian then asked, did you take them all in? The stall owner smiled bitterly and said to Huaxian, I opened this stall because I mastered the cooking skill before my family was wiped out. They are all my friends, so it can't be considered as sheltering them. Huaxian nodded. You just said that you would take her in so that I could protect you, right? Yes. Okay, I agree. He reached out and handed a token carrying the host's arrival teleportation array to the street vendor boy and said, "If there is anything, you can use this token to notify me." Then he gave the remaining demon crystals to the stall owner boy and said, "Let them practice when they have a chance." Ding! Congratulations to the host, you have consumed 100 demon crystals within 15 days and received 10 primary lottery opportunity fragments. Ding! New mission. Complete the consumption of 10 times 1.0 demon crystals within 15 days if the mission fails. The host will be killed if the mission is completed. 10 primary lottery opportunity fragments will be awarded. Chapter 633, Beauty, are you serious? Ding dong. The stall owner. The little boy put away the devil's crystal marrow and knelt in front of Huxian. He looked at the other children and said, "What are you standing there for? Kneel down and thank the adults." Boom boom boom. One by one. They knelt heavily in front of Huxian. "What are you doing? Get up quickly," Huxian said. "Hey, are you acknowledging me as your big brother? Right, this month's booth fee is 100 demon crystals." A few burly men walked over with a ferocious look and said. The boy's expression changed drastically, and he said in a deep voice, "Didn't I just pay a demon crystal fragment 3 days ago? Why are you here to collect the money again, and this time the price has increased 100 times? The other party said inferently, "What I collected 3 days ago was just interest. As for the fact that it has increased 100 times, this is the arrangement from above if you can't afford it. You can give up this stall." The street vendor boy's expression suddenly became extremely ugly. He had worked very hard to run this stall, so he was reluctant to give it up. "Hurry up, either hand over the demon crystal or get out." The other party was extremely arrogant, looking as if he had won the battle. Huxian couldn't bear it any longer and asked, "Which department do you belong to?" The other party took a look at Huxian, and seeing that he was just an inferior slave with no status, he immediately became furious. "A lowly slave dares to act so arrogantly in front of me. I think you are tired of living." He punched Huxian. "I thought, I'll use you to establish my authority." The people around looked at this side in shock. The look in his eyes when he looked at this bastard was full of pity. "Brother, isn't that guy from the Savage Gang? Why are you looking at him so strangely when dealing with an inferior slave?" The passerby who didn't know what had happened before saw the strange expressions of the people around him and couldn't help but ask out of curiosity. "TSK, you don't know this, right? That human who looks like an inferior slave is not simple. He is extremely powerful, you will know it after watching him." Just when Huxian was about to be hit by a punch, space solidifies. This member of the barbarian gang suddenly stood there like a statue. Huxian didn't do anything to him, he picked up the spoon and started eating the fried rice. Seeing this, Yukion started eating as well. Huxian ate 2 bites before saying to the stall owner, "Go get busy?" "Thank you, sir." The little boy who owned the stall thanked him excitedly before walking away. The other 3 members of the Savage Gang looked at their boss posing motionless lie, feeling extremely confused. He came over and asked, "Boss, what's wrong with you?" No response was received. Another guy yelled, "Boss." Still no response. The remaining guy patted their boss on the shoulder. Boom! Their boss exploded instantly at this moment, leaving no blood mist behind, and disappeared in smoke. This scene shocked the whole audience. Even Yukion who was beside Huxian was shocked. Even an ordinary god emperor couldn't do this, right? In the attic in the distance, a girl in a white dress and a veil looked around bored lie. I happened to see this scene and was shocked to the extreme. He jumped out of the window and flew towards Huxian. An angry roar followed from the attic. "Cat Ui, our engagement is not decided by either you or me. You can't escape it." A young man also jumped out of the window and chased after him. The girl landed steadily next to Huxian and the others. Looked around and asked, "What happened to that guy just now?" Everyone's eyes fell on Huxian. The girl immediately looked at Huxian. "Did you cause this?" I was even more curious to find out that Huxian was a human being without any identification marks. Huxian asked in confusion, "What did I cause?" The girl frowned and said, "Just now, this person disappeared instantly after being hit by him. Not even a trace of blood mist was left behind." Before Huxian could answer, the young man who had chased after him said angrily, "Mao Yui, what do you mean by that? You are chatting with an inferior slave and ignoring me." Mao Yui frowned and looked at the other party, saying unhappily, "Shut up, you also said that our engagement is not decided by us. So you are not worthy of me at all." The young man was furious. "Mao Yui, even if I am not worthy of you, you are destined to be in my grasp for the rest of your life. You have no choice but to marry me." Mao Yui smiled coldly and said, "Who said that? I can marry him." Pointed at Huxian. Huxian blinked and said, "Beauty, Are you serious? Mao Yui smiled and said. Yes, I am serious. I want to marry you. Do you dare to marry me? Huaxian smiled confidently and said. There is no reason for me not to accept a beautiful lady who throws herself at me. Sit next to me, and you will be mine from now on. Hearing this, the young man became even more furious. Inferior human slave. Do you know who I am? How dare you set your sights on my fiancée? Huaxian said disaffectedly. I don't care who you are. This beautiful woman wants to marry me now, so you have no chance. In order to piss the young man off, Ma Yui had already sat next to Huaxian. Huaxian put his arm around her waist. Mao Yui's body trembled violently, and a murderous aura burst out. But it was fleeting, and only Huaxian felt it. Then he smiled gently and pried Huaxian's hand away, saying, Sir, don't be impatient. Relationships need to be cultivated step by step. I cursed in my heart. It turns out that no matter what race men are, none of them are good. Huaxian smiled and said, That's true. The young man was so angry at Huaxian's actions that he went berserk. Damn inferior slave, die? A punch was thrown at Huaxian. An extremely powerful ray burst out and hit Huaxian. Oh my god, it's the destruction ray of the elephant tribe. Who is this guy from the elephant tribe? The whole audience was shocked. This is because the elephant tribe is one of the 3 major tribes in the entire Southwest Harbor and is extremely powerful. Seeing this, Ma Yui looked at Huaxian curiously, wanting to know how he would respond. However, Huaxian looked indifferent, and was eating fried rice from a street stall. It was clear that he was completely ignoring Xiangyamai Hongsheng. And the horrific scene just now must have been caused by him. How could this guy, a human, be so terrifying? Could it be that they are the human race from that place? Where did the human race come out? How could the demons not take action? The next moment, the destructive ray stopped at the position of a palm in front of Huaxian. Shocked the whole audience. It was clearly a terrifying energy ray. But it was frozen. What kind of terrifying power is needed to achieve this? It's unimaginable. But the facts are there. Many people rubbed their eyes and pinched themselves, just to prove whether what they saw was real. Xianyamai Hongsheng was also stunned. After realizing what was happening, he muttered in disbelief. How is it possible? How could an inferior human like you achieve this? It must be fake. Chapter 634, Punishment for Being Mean. Boom. Xianyamai Hongsheng could not accept this fact. He exploded without reservation and threw an even more ferocious punch at Huaxian. The terrifying aura shot the area within a radius of hundreds of miles. Countless people looked over here, not understanding what could have happened to make such a strong man so angry. At this moment, Huaxian raised his head and looked over. It was this look that made Xianyamai Hongsheng find himself unable to move. An extremely terrifying force locked onto him, spreading throughout his body, filling every cell. If you dare to move, you will be destroyed in an instant. I was shocked to the extreme. He was obviously terrified. But he didn't even dare to change his expression. Because the cells on the face are also filled with that terrifying power. The slightest movement would trigger a chain reaction, resulting in certain death. How can it be so strong? Huaxian lowered his head and continued eating. The people around were completely stunned. And the fear in their hearts was no less than that of Xianyamai Hongsheng. Just because of Xianyamai Hongsheng's second attack, a terrifying ray of destruction was frozen on his fist. Mao Yui looked at Huaxian and asked in a trembling voice. Who are you? Huaxian smiled and looked at her and replied. Your people. Mao Yui was stunned for a moment, then smiled bitterly and said. I seem to have offended someone I shouldn't have offended. Where is that? Huaxian said as he hugged her in his arms. This time, Mao Yui did not refuse. Because she knew that given the other party's strength, if he really wanted to get her, there was no point in struggling. In a quarter of an hour, Huaxian finished the fried rice. The people around had already reacted, and everyone looked at Huaxian with fear in their eyes. Huaxian got up and left. My lord, walk slowly. The stall boy shouted excitedly. With the protection of such a strong person in the future, I finally have someone to rely on. Boss, that's him. A rough voice came from a distance. Everybody looked over. It turned out to be the members of the barbaric gang who had left before, who came with a group of people. The leader was at least 3 meters tall and exuded a wild aura. They came directly to Huaxian and surrounded him. Boy, are you the one who killed my brother? The tall barbarian asked murderously. Huaxian smiled faintly and said, God King level 30. Are you sure you want to show off in front of me? The other person's body trembled, and a look of horror appeared in his eyes as he looked at Huaxian. It was only because he was carrying a magical weapon that concealed his cultivation aura. So ordinary people could not see through his cultivation at all. And this inferior human slave without any identity mark actually spoke it out. Which is enough to prove his extraordinariness. After staring at Hu Xian for a while, he still couldn't see through Hu Xian's true colors. For safety reasons, Savage Wudi said with a smile, I'm not showing off. I just learned that my subordinate who did so many evil things was killed. I came all the way here to thank you and clean up the mess for me. This scum deserves to be killed. The members of the Savage Gang were stunned when they heard their leader say such words. When you came here, you were saying what you wanted to do. But now you're so cowardly. The key point is, why are you scared when the fight hasn't even started yet? This is totally against the rules of the Savage Gang. Hu Xian was also amused by this guy's cowardice. You are the most appreciative person I have ever met. How about this? I won't make it difficult for you, this stall is mine. And they are all my people. You are from the Savage Gang, right? Take good care of them. If they make the slightest mistake, I will destroy your Savage Gang. These last words burst out with a terrifying murderous aura that spread throughout the air. The temperature dropped suddenly and the whole place felt like it was trapped in an ice cave. Everyone has fear in their heart. Hu Xian's eyes fell on Xianyamai Hongsheng and asked, how do you want to die? Xianyamai Hongsheng felt his body lighten. The strength in his face lessened, and he could speak again. He said in horror, human, even if you are very strong, you are only one person, and my elephant tribe has 100 people, and there are countless strong ones. If you dare to touch me, you will die. Hu Xian smiled coldly, threatening me? No one should have told you that the grass on the graves of those who threaten me is 3 feet high. And you are no exception. The destructive power filled his whole body again. Hu Xian walked towards one end of the street. Yu Qianqian followed closely behind. Mao Yui hesitated for a while, but still took out the communication to send a message to the elephant tribe, and emphasized in particular that Xianyamai Hongsheng must not be touched. And he said to his subordinates in the crowd, show me how to destroy Hongsheng. Don't let anyone touch it. After making the arrangements, they chased after Hu Xian to see where he came from. Honey, what are you going to do next? Yu Qianqian asked. Hu Xian said in a bored tone, just wander around and see if there's anything fun to do. I thought the consumption lasts for 15 days. So there is no pressure at all. Boring, so boring. Ding. The host is detected to be too bored. Mission, within 3 days. Take the most beautiful woman in Southwest Harbor as your wife. If the mission fails, the host's highest genetic realm will be deducted by 50 levels. There is no reward for boring missions. But Hu Xian was dumbfounded. Isn't it just complaining about being bored? Why would you take on such a useless task? The key is that failure will result in a deduction of 50 levels from the highest genetic realm. Is this the punishment for being mean? He took a deep breath, suppressed his depressed mood, and asked Yu Qianqian, wife, do you know who is the most beautiful woman in Southwest Harbor? Yu Qianqian rolled her eyes and said speechless lie. Hubby, are you just bored and want to pick up girls? Hu Xian quickly explained, wife, don't say anything nonsense. I don't want to pick up girls just because I'm bored. I would also want to pick up girls even if I wasn't bored. Yu Qianqian was speechless. Just ignore Hu Xian. But the cat Yi behind him said, I know who is the most beautiful woman in Southwest Bay. But it's unlikely that you can seduce her. Hu Xian looked at her curiously and asked, why do you say that? Mao Yui laughed and said, because Maran Gran doesn't like men. And she also got the second most beautiful woman, Niucc. And the two of them call themselves husband and wife. Do you think you can pick up Maran Gran? Hu Xian smiled and said, so, if I can seduce Maran Gran, wouldn't that mean I have both the first and second most beautiful women in my pocket? Mao Yui was stunned. She didn't expect that Hu Xian not only had no pressure, but also had such an idea. Speechless lie, if you have the ability to pick them up, it should be possible. I don't believe that Hu Xian can seduce Maran Gran at all. Hu Xian said confidently, since you know them, you should also know where they are. Take me to find them. Okay, follow me. I thought to myself, let's see how you run into this obstacle. Yu Qianqian said speechless lie. Hubby, Maran Gran and Niucc are famous for being impossible to pursue. Countless talented men have tried to do so, but they all ended up in failure. I think you should just give up. Chapter 635. Not dead yet. Hu Xian smiled and said, I am a person who likes to challenge difficulties. The more difficult it is, the more interested I am. After saying that, he followed Mao Yui. Yu Qianqian said speechless lie. I think you are just lustful. I wondered why all outstanding men are like this. That's too much. Following Mao Yui all the way, we actually walked out of the city. Walk along the path. But it becomes more beautiful as you walk along. The scenery here is beautiful with flowers blooming, birds singing and fragrance. Hu Xian couldn't help but ask, how can there be such a beautiful place in such a wilderness? Won't the wild animals destroy it? Mao Yui said, This is the place where Maran Grong and Niucc were nurtured. Who dares to destroy it? Anyone who enters here will be discovered. If you dare to mess around, you will die without knowing how. So, Maran Grong and Niucc are both super powerful, and we are being monitored by them now, Huaxian said in surprise. The main thing is, with his strength, he didn't even notice that he was being monitored. Of course, if you dare to destroy this place, you will definitely be attacked. Huaxian wanted to give it a try, but then he thought that he was here to pick up girls and he couldn't leave a bad impression on people from the beginning. So he gave up the idea. As we go deeper, the environment becomes better and more beautiful. The whole air is filled with the scent of various flowers, which mixed together not only do not make people feel uncomfortable, but instead make people feel refreshed. Huaxian couldn't help but stop and look around carefully. Yukian Qin and Mao Yui both stopped curiously. He looked at Huaxian curiously without saying anything. After a while, Huaxian said, "Great, the combination of the formation and the sea of flowers is ingenious." Huaxian said a lot of things in succession. The sound of applause came from a distance. Everyone looked over subconsciously. I saw two beautiful figures walking towards me. It seemed slow, but each step covered a distance of dozens of meters. After a few steps, they arrived in front of Huaxian and the others. Huaxian was already stunned by what he saw. Just because they are both so beautiful. She is worthy of being the first and second most beautiful woman in Southwest Harbor. She is in no way inferior to the beauties on Paradise Island's god list. The two looked at Huaxian curiously, and one of them said, "Huan, you are very unusual." Huaxian quickly replied, "You two are also very unusual. What are you doing here?" asked another person. Mao Yui smiled and said, "This human gentleman, having heard of your beauty, swore to capture you. Take it? Or us?" Maran Grong asked in disbelief. His eyes fell on Huaxian. "Who gave you the confidence?" Huaxian said confidently, "Confidence comes from strength." "Strength? And let me see how strong you are." The kick looked like Huaxian. What made Huaxian unhappy was that Maran Grong actually wanted to destroy him. That's too much. I feel a little angry when someone treats me like this. Which is where my happiness comes from. Grabbing Maran Grong's ankle, a tremendous force burst out, making Huaxian's sleeves rustle. Maran Grong was stunned. I never expected that this guy could take my attack. Niucc, who was standing by, felt heartbroken when she saw Maran Grong being taken advantage of, and she kicked her as well. Huaxian stretched out his other hand and grabbed her ankle in the same nonchalant manner. While the two men were not fighting back, he grabbed their ankles and threw them away. The dress was fluttering, and the scene that shouldn't be seen caught Huaxian's eyes. After seeing it clearly, Huaxian was stunned. My nose felt sweet and I started bleeding from the nose. It was unbelievable that the two of them left the country during their free time. "Rogue, I'll kill you." Maran Grong reacted first, and when she saw Huaxian's condition she knew what was going on. He summoned a spiritual sword and slashed Huaxian with murderous intent. The strike was a fatal blow. "Damned human, I will cut you into pieces." Niucc also reacted and summoned a spiritual weapon to kill Huaxian. The two of them, one on the left and one on the right, formed an siege. Mao Yui and Yukian Qin had already retreated far away. "This guy took advantage. It seems he will suffer a great loss," Mao Yui said with a smile. Yukian Qin said angrily, "It's what he deserves. Who told him to be so lustful?" Mao Yui said, "It's useless for you to be jealous. A man like this will definitely be surrounded by a mountain of women. He is so outstanding that even if he doesn't take the initiative, there will be countless women who want to follow him. And do you think he can take down these two people?" Yukian Qin asked subconsciously. Mao Yui looked at the scene, thought for a moment and said, "It's hard to say." Facing the attacks from the two, Huaxian smiled slightly and responded calmly. But the tricky move. He strangely grabbed the wrists of the two men holding the swords and squeezed them hard. Knock knock. Both weapons fell at the same time. Huaxian threw it back off quickly. Although the two men were very powerful, they were unable to control their bodies and bumped into Huaxian, who was retreating. To outsiders, it seemed more like the two of them took the initiative to pounce on Huaxian. Huaxian took the opportunity to hold them in his arms. Took a deep breath and said intoxicated lie, "It smells good. You bastard, I will kill you." Maran Grong was extremely angry. A palm slapped Huaxian on the head. Huaxian's head tilted forward. Maran Grong's palm missed because the force was too great, and as it missed the target, her hand landed on Huaxian's face. "It looks like that," she held Huaxian's head and thought. Niucc didn't say a word, but holding a dagger, she stabbed Huaxian's heart hard. "I thought, you are not dead yet." Huaxian suddenly pushed her out and shouted, "You two grown girls, it's not appropriate for you to molest a man like this. You." Maran Gron was so angry that she couldn't speak. Lift your legs. The high leg raise carries a powerful force and hits like Huaxian. Huaxian grinned and hugged her thighs in a weird posture. Maran Gron felt a cool breeze blowing in, and her cultivation was even more incredible. I regretted so much that I didn't wear any underwear. Seeing this, Niucc became even more furious. Evil human. You bully my wife, die now? He rushed towards Huaxian regardless of everything. And the dagger he set emitted a 3-meter-long stream of light, which slashed Huaxian fiercely. Huaxian slightly turned sideways and actually blocked Maran Gron in front of him. If this stream of light did not stop, it would directly cut Maran Gron. Niucc was furious, despicable. Had to stop. Huaxian smiled and picked up Maran Gron's other foot. Losing her balance, Maran Gron subconsciously hugged Huaxian's shoulders with both hands. I noticed his posture was weird and his expression changed drastically. So I quickly let go. Suddenly his waist leaned back. Yu Qianquan and the others were stunned by what they saw. Those who know think that they are fighting, while those who don't think that they are doing something immoral. Damn human, you irritate me. Buzz. A terrifying blue light burst out from Maran Gron's Dantian. A seal was released, and a terrifying aura instantly spread out. Chapter 636, If you don't leave, we will leave. The sudden change made Huaxian unable to hug her and was shocked away. The aura of Maran Gron became more and more terrifying. And a group of people moved without wind. Boom! It even exploded directly. Maran Gron appeared naked in front of everyone. Ron Gron. Niucc rushed over with heartache and took out a dress, wanting to put it on her. Phew! But before he got close, he was oppressed by the powerful aura and vomited blood. He was directly blown away. Maran Gron's originally unsealed strength became increasingly abnormal. And even demonic energy appeared. Huaxian frowned. This was a sign of being possessed. However, the figure is really good. My eyes couldn't help but fall on the place where I shouldn't look. The more I watch, the more excited I am. Ron Gron. Niucc got up again with a heartache and rushed over regardless of everything. Huaxian grabbed her and said, "You want to die, don't you? Let me go. It's all your fault if anything happens to Ron Gron. I will fight you to the death," he said while struggling. Huaxian suppressed her and said, "You can't even get close to him. What can you do?" After saying that, he rushed towards Maran Gron. Because the aura on his body was completely demonic. As they got closer, the pressure became more and more terrifying. I'm afraid it's no lower than the 70th level of God King. And it is still constantly improving. Huaxian was at the Divine Emperor level. So naturally he couldn't be impressed and came to Maran Gron. Reach out and place your hand on his Dantian. The powerful force of the Divine Emperor level exploded. He forcefully suppressed the increasingly demonic power. Huaxian was shocked to find that Maran Gron's seal was only slightly opened. But it was so powerful, what would happen if it was completely opened? Immediately use both hands to make hand seals to repair and strengthen the seal. The violent momentum gradually stabilized. Ron Gron. Niucc rushed over and hugged Maran Gron with tears streaming down her face. Maran Gron stared at Huaxian and asked coldly, "Who are you?" Niucc quickly put clothes on her and yelled at Huaxian, "You are not allowed to look." Huaxian smiled and said, "I touched it all, let's see what's wrong. As for my identity, if you all become my women, I will tell you." You're dreaming. Niucc roared angrily. "If I hadn't known that I couldn't win, I would have taken action long ago." Maran Gron also said in a deep voice, "I don't want to know who you are, leave now, you are not welcome here." Huaxian smiled and said, "I can't do that, because I came here just for you. I won't leave until I take you down." You're dreaming. He would never follow you even if we die, we don't like men. Away. Niucc still roared angrily. Huaxian said more seriously, "Nothing is absolute, and everything can be changed. So you should also try to accept men. Of course, I mean accept me. Give up on this idea, even if we like men, we will never like you." Ron Gron. Let's go and ignore him. He took Maran Gron and left. Huaxian hurriedly followed behind. After Niucc sensed it, she turned around and glared at Huaxian and cursed, "Can you please stop following us like a tail?" Huaxian laughed shamelessly, "If being a follower can get you, then I am willing." Mao Yui and Yu Qianquan behind him were speechless when they heard this. I thought to myself, I've seen shameless people, but I've never seen anyone so shameless. I was more shocked by Huaxian's abilities. Not only is his realm powerful, he also masters powerful sealing techniques, which is truly terrifying. I became even more curious about Huaxian's identity. Maran Gron and Niucc arrived at their residence quickly. An extremely huge tree, probably about 30 meters in size. But the trunk is not very high, about 50 meters in height. It is covered with leaves and red fruits. Many tree trunks have been artificially modified and look extremely beautiful. Maran Grong and Den, Iucc walked directly into the tree hole. A beam of energy flashed by, and Huxian, who wanted to follow in, was blocked outside. This ordinary isolation formation was no problem for Huxian. Easily cracked and walked in. Unexpectedly, Liu Cixi was changing clothes and was furious when she saw Huxian coming in. Fortunately, only half of it was taken off. But I can't beat him. Maran Grong asked angrily. What do you want me to do to make you leave? Huxian said sincerely, if you want me to lead Ji and An, as promised to be my woman. You're dreaming. And Iucc objected subconsciously, and stood in front of Maran Grong. Huxian walked to a stool and sat down, saying, you can't beat me, so what else can I do if you don't agree? Maran Grong said angrily, if you don't leave, follow us. Cixi, let's pack up and leave. Huxian said quickly. You guys go, I can follow you anyway, you can't escape from my grasp. So you might as well just obey me. The two men had gloomy faces and tacitly ignored Huxian. They packed up their things quickly and put them into the nano-space device, and left hand in hand. Huxian stood up and followed the two of them. The two of them didn't care and thought, just follow me. They will always find a way to deal with you. Mao Yui couldn't help but ask Huxian, are you really going to keep pestering me? Huxian said depressed lie. Besides disposing of it, do I have any other options? Mao Yui couldn't help but said, with your strength, why don't you take them down by force? Maran Grong and Niucc trembled violently when they heard this. This was what they were most worried about. He secretly resented Mao Yui for meddling in other people's business and became nervous. Huxian said, I like them, not because of their bodies, but because of everything about them. I really want to marry them. So, I can't do this kind of thing by force. Hearing this, Maran Grong and Niucc both breathed a sigh of relief. I thought to myself, you hypocritical guy, I wonder how long you can keep acting. If you really dare to force us, we will die in front of you. We were soon back in the city. Seeing the two fairies coming, everyone around was excited. Oh my god, isn't that Maran Grong, the most beautiful girl in Southwest Harbor? And the second most beautiful girl. And Niucc, aren't they settling in the Wild Peach Garden? Why are they back? Hey, they look really bad, and there's an inferior slave following them. Those two beauties are pretty good. Could they be Maran Grong and her servants? Bullshit, I know that beauty, she is Yu Qian Qin, the boss of the 10-star Mocha Eye Hotel. The other one also looks familiar, it seems to be. Oh, that's right, the 7th-generation daughter of the Cat Clan. Mao Yui? Amid the discussions of countless people along the way, Maran Grong and Niucc went straight to the general's mansion. Huxian and his group naturally followed closely behind. Look, that guy is coming. The people in the general's mansion saw Huxian as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Chapter 637, What do you want me to do? This scene made Maran Grong and Niucc look confused and they didn't understand what was going on. Why are you so afraid of him? And Niucc couldn't help but ask loudly. A soldier trembled and said, our undefeated general was killed by him. And young Master Tian Can was also seriously injured by him. The higher-ups have ordered us not to provoke this man. Even the undefeated general was killed by him. Maran Grong frowned and muttered. He glanced at Huxian and wondered what kind of strength this guy had to be able to suppress the seal in his body. Niucc asked at this time, isn't your general here? Why didn't he come out to deal with this guy? The soldier glanced at Huxian and said bitterly. Did our general go out to look for a miracle doctor? Looking for a miracle doctor? What happened in the general's mansion? Maran Grong asked curiously. Our eldest daughter Chan Kanyur has contracted a strange disease. She is now extremely skinny and has sought medical treatment numerous times but has not gotten better. That is why the general has gone out to seek medical treatment. Why did you get a strange disease? Maran Grong said this and rushed into the general's mansion. Their identities were obviously not simple, so they were not troubled. Huxian followed in, and because of his strength, the soldiers wanted to stop him. But they did not have the strength to do so. Still following Maran Grong and the others. Soon they arrived at the backyard of the general's mansion. Our peach blossoms were in full bloom and it was like spring all year round. It was obviously a special formation arranged here. From this we can see how much the general doted on his daughter. Miss, Sister Ron Grong and Sister Cixi are here to see you. A maid who was about to go out saw Maran Grong and the others arriving and returned to the yard excitedly shouting, Liuer, help me welcome them. An extremely weak voice was heard. Liuer, there's no need to welcome us. How could you not tell us that you were so seriously ill? Walking into the yard and seeing the girl lying on a recliner. Unable to move, Maran Grong said with concern. The girl was skinny and haggard. But she still managed to smile and said, I'm fine, and I don't want you sisters to worry. You guys take a seat. Yor, why are you like this? We are good sisters. I'm angry because you didn't tell us about anything. Anayusisi said, grabbing her hand. I just felt that my palms were made of bones and were very brittle. As if they would be crushed if I applied the slightest force? He was immediately frightened and asked in shock, Yor, what kind of strange disease do you have? Why has your body become like this? Yor still smiled with difficulty. I don't know. It just happened suddenly. Huaxian said at this time. She doesn't have a strange disease, but has been cursed by someone. What? Everyone at the scene was shocked and looked at Huaxian in disbelief. The maid Liuer said in surprise, you know the young lady's problem. Can you save her? The others also looked at Huaxian, waiting for his reply. Huaxian smiled and said, I do have the ability to save her. But she and I have no relationship, and you and I have no relationship either. So why should I save her? Liuer hurriedly said, we in the general's mansion are very rich. We will give you a lot of demon crystals now. We will give you a lot of demon crystal marrows. Huaxian shook his head and said, Devil's crystal marrow is the thing I have the most. Then what do you want in exchange for saving the young lady? Liuer asked anxiously. It is not difficult to see from this that Liuer really cares about Tianqinyuer. Huaxian pretended to think deeply, then looked at Maran Grong and Niucc and said, if you want me to save her, it's not completely impossible. What method? Liuer was overjoyed. Maran Grong and Niucc had already guessed the answer. Huaxian said, as long as the two of them become my women, I will save your young lady. Liuer was shocked. Just because she knew their relationship. Tianqinyuer said angrily, forget about you not saving me, but don't try to threaten my good sister with my affairs. Huaxian said calmly, to tell you the truth, your bones and meridians have become very brittle. According to your current condition, the curse has begun to erode your soul. That is to say, within 3 days, your body will be completely shattered. And your soul will not be able to escape within half a month. Your soul will be annihilated and completely disappear. And you won't even be able to reincarnate. Are you trying to scare us? Niucc asked angrily. I also think that he just wants to take advantage of someone's misfortune. Huaxian smiled and said, if it's your fault, just ask Tianqinyuer. As a victim, she feels it most intimately. Yuer, tell us honestly whether it is what he said. Then, worried that Yuer might be lying, Maran Grong emphasized. Yuer, if you still regard us as good sisters, don't lie to us. Yuer smiled bitterly, but she was very touched in her heart. Having such a good sister was enough for her life. After hesitating for a while, he still didn't want to lie to them, so he said truthfully, I don't know if I am in the situation he said, but I do feel that my body is about to be destroyed. And my soul is also being eroded by some force. The two men trembled and looked at Huaxian. It is already known that he did not lie. After a while, Maran Grong stared at Huaxian and asked, tell me, can you really cure Yuer? Huaxian said confidently, it's impossible to cure her directly. But I can alleviate her current pain and prevent her from being killed by the curse for a while. After the situation is stabilized, we can use the curse aura on her body to find the person who cast the curse. Only after the curse is broken can she fully recover. And hurry up, as long as you can cure Yuer, I will agree to your request. Maran Grong said in a risk-taking tone to save Yuer. Huaxian said, you can see her situation it's very bad. Even if I want to help her stabilize, it won't be an easy task. So, if you're not sincere, forget it. What do you want me to do to show my sincerity? Maran Grong asked angrily. I think Huaxian is too inhumane. Tianqinyuer used all her strength to say, Ron Grong. Ignore him. I'm not afraid of death, you can't lose your happiness because of me. Maran Grong smiled bitterly, stared at him and said, you are not afraid of death for me, can't I sacrifice myself for you? And he looked at Huaxian and said, tell me, what do you want me to do? Ron Grong. Niucc called out reluctantly. Cici. And you watch Yuer being murdered and remain indifferent? Niucc had nothing to say. Huaxian smiled and said, it's simple, you become my woman now after we're done. I'll immediately make a move to make sure Tianqinyuer is fine. Maran Grong looked at Tianqinyuer and saw her with tears streaming down her face. The more this happened, the more I felt sorry for her. Yuer, don't be afraid, you will get better soon. She said to Huaxian. Come on, from now on I, Maran Grong, am your woman. Chapter 638. How dare you trick people into my general's mansion? Huaxian smiled brightly and said. This is not something that can be solved by just talking about it. Let's go to the room and talk. After saying that, he walked straight towards Tianqinyuer's room. Niucc asked loudly, unwillingly, if you dare to lie to us, I will curse you, a death curse. Huaxian turned around and looked at her and said, no problem. Walked into the room. Maran Grong took a deep breath and followed. Niucc also followed behind. When they reached the door, Maran Grong said to her, Cece, go and accompany your. Anayu Cece turned around unwillingly. Maran Grong walked in. Clang. Huaxian closed the door. Go to the inner room. This should be Yan Ken Yuer's boudoir, decorated in a very girlish style. Huaxian sat on the edge of the bed and waved to Maran Grong, who came in with a smile. The latter walked over with a trembling body. Huaxian smiled and ordered, come sit in my arms. Maran Grong clenched her fists. Very angry. It is believed that Huaxian took advantage of someone's misfortune. Huaxian smiled and said, Tian Ken Yuer's condition is very bad. Every second you delay, she will be in more danger. Hearing this, Maran Grong's body trembled violently. No matter how unwilling she was, she had to give in for the sake of Tian Ken Yuer. She walked over and sat trembling in Huaxian's arms. Huaxian couldn't wait to hug her, the feeling was so exciting. The other hand was even more dishonest, touching up and down. Then, men's and women's clothes fell to the ground in a mixture. When a layer of barriers was broken, Huaxian's body shuddered and he became extremely excited. The war broke out. Maran Grong seemed to be venting her dissatisfaction in a very crazy way. And Huaxian was a little overwhelmed. The battle was over in less than 2 hours. Maran Grong stood up and said coldly, I am your woman now. You can save Yuer now. Seeing that the mission was not completed, Huaxian shook his head and said, although you gave me your body, you are not sincere to me. Look at you, you are so resentful towards me. You look like you want to kill me. What I want is for you to be my woman, not my enemy. What I want is for you to love me forever. Not to hate me, and not to get your body, but your heart. Come on, love me with all your heart, accept me, and I promise to cure Tian Ken Yuer. Maran Grong felt so cruel. He angrily scolded Huaxian for being greedy and not being satisfied even after getting what he wanted. After taking several deep breaths, I suppressed the anger in my heart and gradually calmed down. Then he forced a smile and said, I love you, I like you. And I really want to be with you. Huaxian shook his head and said, but you still hate me in your heart. This won't do. General. Liuer's excited voice came from outside. Well, how is Yuer? Asked a heavy voice. General. A lady's condition is very bad. She can no longer walk or move. As he spoke he started to cry. Godly doctor, please treat my daughter immediately. Hearing this figure, Maran's body trembled violently and she rushed out quickly. Huaxian followed closely behind. I saw an old man with a white beard taking Tian Ken Yuer's pulse. He looks like a miracle doctor with superb medical skills. The general couldn't help but ask, Godly doctor, how about it? Can you save my daughter? The doctor withdrew his hand, stroked his beard and said, osteoporosis and softening of the mirror surface. This is a rare disease. Can that miracle doctor save him? The general asked excitedly. The miracle doctor thought for a while but said nothing. The general understood what he meant, and quickly took out a nanospace device and handed it over, saying, this is a small gift from the genius doctor. If you can cure my daughter, you will be rewarded handsomely. The old man looked at the items in the nanospace device, nodded with satisfaction and said, okay, it's actually not difficult to save my daughter. Give me half a month and it will be done easily. Okay. You are worthy of being a miracle doctor. If you have any needs, tell me. My entire general's mansion will definitely meet all your requirements. The general said excitedly when he saw Hope. When Maran Grong heard this, her face turned pale. He glanced at Huaxian with murderous intent, rushed to the doctor and asked, Doctor, can you tell me in detail what disease Yuer has? The old man's eyes lit up when he saw Maran Grong's peerless beauty. I thought, how could I miss such a stunning beauty in the general's mansion? He subconsciously looked at Niu Cece, Mao Yui and the others, and thought, these guys are not bad either, I will take them all down. Stroking his beard, he pretended to be profound and said, although it is a rare fusion of hundreds of diseases, it cannot stop this genius doctor. The old man seemed very confident and didn't seem like a liar. Maran Grong looked at Huaxian fiercely and roared with murderous intent. You liar, in order to get me, you lied to me that Yuer was cursed. I will kill you. He rushed towards Huaxian regardless of everything and was determined to fight to the death. Huaxian easily subdued her, hugged her and said, do you really believe what this old man said? The old man felt so distressed when he saw Huaxian hugging the beautiful girl he had chosen. He shouted angrily, where did you come from, a lowly slave? To dare to question this divine doctor? Dissatisfied, Dao Chao said to the general, Your Highness, there are still people who look down on me so much. I will leave now. Please calm down, divine doctor. I don't know where this inferior slave came from. After calming the old man down, he turned around and glared at Huaxian, asking, Who are you? Why are you in my general's mansion? He is a liar. He lied to us that he could cure Yuer and asked us to become his women. Huan Grong was killed by him in order to save Yuer. And Iucc burst into tears as she spoke. Maran Gran was also in tears and felt extremely regretful. How dare you to deceive people even to my general's mansion? The general was furious and took direct action. Huaxian looked calm and said disapprovingly, "Are you sure this old man can cure your daughter's illness? You should know that countless people have vowed to cure her." But what was the result? Hearing this, the general's furious anger was instantly suppressed. He stopped not far from Huaxian and stared at him intently. Indeed, all the miracle doctors we found claimed to be extraordinary. At the beginning, they all guaranteed that they could cure the disease. But in the end they all failed. How dare you? I am a peerless doctor who lives in seclusion in the mountains. How can I be compared with those ugly people? The old doctor shouted angrily. Huaxian looked at him with a sneer and asked, "Since you are such a skilled doctor, and Tian Kenyuer's condition is so bad now, why don't you use some means to relieve her pain first?" Everyone's eyes fell on the old doctor. Although Tian Kenyuer didn't say how much pain he was in, it was clear from her condition that she was definitely enduring a lot. The general looked at the old man and said, "I think what he said makes sense. Please, old doctor, take action to relieve my daughter's pain." Chapter 639, Where is the sincerity? This is not difficult. Since everyone wants to see my abilities, I will show you my skills. The old doctor was full of confidence. He walked to Tian Kenyuer, took out a pill, handed it to Liuer beside him and said, "Feed it to your young lady, and she will get better immediately." Liuer was extremely excited and was about to feed the pill to Tian Kenyuer. Others also watched expectantly. Huaxian said coldly, "Feed her the elixir here, you probably want her body to completely collapse. By then, even gods will be powerless to restore her. You little yellow-haired brat whose hair hasn't even grown out yet. What do you know? This is a peerless precious medicine that I have refined using hundreds of magical medicines. It can relieve pain from any disease, improve immunity, and speed up recovery." After scolding Huaxian, he said to Liuer, "Hurry up and give it to your young lady." Liuer couldn't wait. "Miss, you will get better after taking this magic medicine." Tian Kenyuer swallowed it without hesitation. The next moment, a scream of extreme pain, the body was visibly aged. With the aging of the skin being particularly noticeable, it's shocking to watch. The skeleton that was originally able to support the body began to break, and the entire body lying on the chair was shattered. A hair fell off and the head was shattered. A whole person turned into ashes at this moment. The body was completely destroyed. The whole audience was stunned. The generals all had a look of horror on their faces. The old doctor was also frightened and muttered in disbelief. How could this happen? Isn't she just running out of nutrients? How could she become like this? The general turned around suddenly, grabbed him by the neck, and shouted murderously, "Aye!" How would the old doctor know what was going on? Maran Grom looked at Huaxian suddenly and asked, "What you said is true? Hurry up and save your..." Huaxian said coldly, "I just said that giving her this pill would destroy her body. Did any of you listen to me? Her body has become like this now, and her soul has been completely eroded by the curse. It will only take 2 days for her soul to be annihilated. Not only did you kill her, you also made it impossible for her to be reincarnated." Everyone shuddered. The general looked at Huaxian suddenly. "Can you really save my daughter?" Huaxian said confidently. "It was possible. I also said that as long as Maran Grong sincerely wants to be my woman, I will save Tian Kenyuer. But now, she has been harmed by you, and there is nothing I can do. Why didn't you stop it just now?" the general asked with murderous intent. Huaxian said disapprovingly, "You all don't believe me. Did you listen to what I said? Now you blame me for not stopping you?" Everyone trembled. "Indeed, we don't believe what he said." The general had no place to vent his anger. Click. He crushed the old doctor's ear and said, "You dare to harm my daughter. Today is the day you die. Idiot, your daughter is fucking cursed. You asked me to heal her, and now you want to kill me. Do you think you can kill me?" Boom. He actually blew up his own body, and the shadow sped away. There was nothing a great general could do to stop the soul from escaping. Crackling, I clenched my fists in anger and felt extremely regretful. He suddenly looked at Huaxian. Ding dong. He actually knelt heavily in front of Huaxian. This scene shocked everyone present. "Sir, since you can see through my daughter's symptoms, there must be a way to cure her, right? Please save her. As long as you save my daughter, you can ask for anything. And I, Tian Kenyos, will definitely do my best to satisfy you." Huaxian shook his head and said, "I was able to cure Tian Kenyuer before. My request is very simple. All I want is for Maran Grant to follow me sincerely. But you all have seen the current situation, and there is nothing I can do." Ding dong. The general collapsed to the ground, filled with regret. Maran Grant walked up to Huaxian and said, "If I truly become your woman, can you cure Yuer?" Huaxian shook his head and said, That was before it. That's not possible now. Niucc also came over and said, as long as you can save your, Niucc will sincerely be your woman. Oxin shook his head and said, who do you think I am? I'm not an omnipotent god, besides, you are the ones who don't trust me. Bing dong. Liuer also knelt in front of Huaxian. Save the young lady as long as you can save the young lady. You can ask Liuer to do anything. Because they were kneeling. Huaxian looked at Xiang Liuer. The white scene was so tempting. Furthermore, although Liuer is a maid, her appearance and figure are comparable to the beauties on the Paradise Islands Earth list, which is quite outstanding. Huaxian smiled coldly and said, you just say you are sincere, but where is your sincerity? I thought to myself, I haven't even completed the mission yet. And I'm still being sincere. Everyone was stunned. Then he reacted and was overjoyed. So, you can really cure Liuer? The general, feeling desperate and self-blaming, suddenly looked up at Huaxian, waiting for his reply. Huaxian said calmly, where is the sincerity? Marangrong and the others looked at Tian Liuer, whose body had turned into ashes, leaving only a human figure lying on a chair. Marangrong kept convincing herself in her heart, you have been slept with by him. So just be his woman, what is there to be afraid of? Niucc thought, Rongrong has been slept with by him. And now he has to save Liuer, sooner or later she will be his. What else can you do except follow him? It is impossible to separate from Rongrong. About a quarter of an hour. Marangrong finally overcame herself and said to Huaxian sincerely, husband, as long as you can cure Liuer, I, Marangrong, will be your woman for the rest of my life. Liuer followed closely, me too. Liuer, ding, congratulations to the host, you have completed the task of taking the most beautiful woman in Southwest Harbor as your wife. There is no reward for boring tasks. Ding, congratulations to the host. You have completed the boring task in excess and received 5 pieces of intermediate lottery opportunity fragments as an excess reward. The unexpected surprise made Huaxian smile involuntarily. From outsiders' perspective, Huaxian was very excited because Marangrong and the others had compromised. Yuqian was extremely dissatisfied and glared at Huaxian fiercely, thinking that he was such a playboy. Seeing this, Marangrong grabbed Huaxian's hand and said, husband, can you help treat Liuer now? Hubby, let me tell you. Liuer is also a great beauty. If you save her, Liuer will be grateful to you and will definitely marry you. Then you will make a profit again. Since she accepted Huaxian, Marangrong let go. Husband, please save Liuer quickly. Niucc also said quickly. She considered herself to be Huaxian's woman and was not polite to anyone. Chapter 640, that's not necessary, I only have one request. Huaxian said seriously, it's not impossible to save Tian Liuer. But it's more difficult now. Everyone was extremely excited when they heard that it was possible. The general asked impatiently, sir, no matter how difficult it is, I beg you to save my daughter. If you have any requests, just let me know. Huaxian shook his head and said, every item used to treat the genius Liuer is extremely precious. And you can't take out even a single one. Sir, no matter how precious the item is, I will definitely get it even if I have to travel all over the world. The general was eager to save his daughter. Huaxian smiled and said, Shengjing grass, nourishing flesh and bones, 9-layer tower. Endless blood Keon Bio Allen and other materials, which one can you take out? Everyone listened carefully and found that they had never heard of many of them. And those that they had heard of, they could not recall any of them. Honey, you are not kidding, there are so many precious treasures. Marangrong asked. Huaxian sneered, look at what's happening to Tian Liuer. You're simply asking me to rebuild her body, a body that can withstand a cursed soul. Do you think ordinary body reconstruction can work? Everyone understood. I can no longer doubt Huaxian. The general said in despair, so my daughter won't be able to survive until I collect all these rare treasures. Does that mean she is hopeless? Upon hearing this, Marangrong immediately said to Huaxian, husband, you said that as long as we sincerely follow you, you can save Liuer. Husband, how could you lie to us? Niucc accused. Liuer also said, husband, you? Huaxian interrupted. Okay, you can't get the herbs I mentioned, but I have them. What? They were all extremely shocked. Every medicinal ingredient is at the level of a diluted treasure. Huaxian actually said casually that he could take it out. They couldn't believe it. After a while, Marangrong asked, husband, are you serious? Huaxian rolled his eyes and said, why don't you trust me at all? I'm sorry, husband. I'm just as shocked because the herbs you mentioned are so precious. The general reacted and excitedly grabbed Huaxian's hand and said, sir, as long as you save my daughter, I am willing to give you the general's mansion. Huaxian refused, that's not necessary, I only have one request. Whatever you want, please tell me, sir. Be kind to all living things in the world and provide them with an environment where they can coexist peacefully. Everyone was shocked. Especially Maran Grong and others. I didn't expect Hu Xin to be such a person. I thought he was a lecherous bad guy. I didn't expect that he cares about all people in the world. Okay, I promise you, Tianqin Aosi agreed immediately. Hu Xin nodded, and under everyone's gaze, he first took out a huge table. Then he took out each piece of extremely precious material and placed them on the table in order. Everyone was shocked when seeing each of those extremely precious medicines. Maran Grong muttered in shock, husband must be from that place. No one except the humans from there is so outstanding. And it is even more impossible for him to carry so many diluted treasures with him. Niucc said, no wonder my husband cares about the people of the world. He must be from that place. The general asked in confusion. Are you talking about Shenggu? Both of them nodded. Hu Xin arranged the necessary medicinal materials, took away a portion and started mashing it. It was not shattered directly by force. Instead, special containers and special utensils are used to crush it bit by bit. Everyone held their breath and watched patiently. Although he was not a doctor, he knew that Tianqin Yuer's condition was very bad and there was no way she could be resurrected. But Hu Xin can do it. As you can imagine, this is not an easy task. It took 3 full hours to crush the required medicine. And he exchanged it for a large cauldron that looked like an alchemy furnace. He was tall, 1 meter wide, and carried a powerful presence. This shows that it is extraordinary. The system uses the Super God Breaking Barrier Pill to strengthen my fire attribute realm to the God King level. And then uses the Almighty Faith Points to strengthen my fire attribute Gene realm. Ding, congratulations to the host, you have used the Super God Breaking Barrier Pill to raise the fire attribute Gene realm to the God King level. Ding, congratulations to the host, you have used the Almighty Faith Point to strengthen the fire attribute Gene realm to the 61st level of the God King. The constantly accumulated Almighty Faith Points instantly fell to the bottom. But the improved fire attribute Gene realm is also very terrifying. Hu Xin only felt that all the fire genes in his body were activated instantly and took control of his body. In the eyes of outsiders, there was a flame flickering in Hu Xin's eyes. When the flame level was reached, Hu Xin waved his hand and a genetic flame hit the special alchemy furnace. The raging fire immediately completely enveloped the alchemy furnace. Everyone watched patiently and nervously. After the temperature reaches the required level, Hu Xin adds various materials in order. Every piece of extremely precious material that enters the special alchemy furnace will cause the power of the alchemy furnace to surge. When the 10th piece, everyone who was watching from a close distance could not bear the tremendous pressure and had to retreat. Everyone then deeply realized that saving Tianqin Yuer was really not an easy task. It is clearly understood that saving Tianqin Yuer is going against the will of heaven. The pressure became more and more terrifying, and soon reached the limit of Liuer, who had the highest cultivation level, and he had to leave the yard. Next came Yu Qianqun, and then Ma Yui. After that, Niucc, Maran Grong and others didn't hold on for long either. They all left the yard. The general was no exception in the end. Standing at the gate of the yard, the terrifying pressure seemed to be under control. How horrible. I now understand how difficult it is to save Yuer. This guy must be far beyond the realm of the God King. Maran Grong said. A general said bitterly, it seems that I will never be able to repay the favor I owe to Hu Xin in this lifetime. Niucc said, our husband likes beautiful women. Yuer is so beautiful, he must like her. You can marry Yuer to him. He is now saving his wife, so he is not being grateful. The general's eyes lit up and he said, Cici, you are right. The son-in-law is trying to save his wife. Maran Grong said. After Yuer is resurrected, it will be very difficult. Right? You know, it takes hundreds of extremely precious materials to rebuild his body. Yes, I'm hearing a lot of this material for the first time. In the yard. When the time was almost up, Hu Xin used a special method to collect the ashes of Tianqin Yuer and put them into a special alchemy furnace. And he kept making hand seals with both hands. One after another strange and powerful hand seals were made into the special alchemy furnace, causing the alchemy furnace to emit a strange and terrifying pressure. Chapter 641, Dragon Fusion. The pressure was so terrifying that even Hu Xin seemed unable to suppress it. A little bit of the information leaked out, causing the generals and others outside to feel terrified. I just feel that if this trace of power attacks me, it can kill me instantly. I can't believe how terrifying the pressure in the yard is now. Looking at Hu Xin in the yard, he was still casting all kinds of strange rune marks, not affected by the pressure at all. Only then was he shocked by Hu Xin's strength. Do you know how strong he is? The general couldn't help but ask Ma Yui and Yu Qianqun. Ma Yui shook his head and looked at Yu Qianqun. Yu Qianqun said, he told me that he is the divine emperor. God Emperor. Everyone was shocked. Maron Grong said after a while. But I feel that the pressure in the courtyard right now has probably surpassed that of the Divine Emperor. After all, that is the power of more than 100 extremely precious treasures fused together. Surpassing the God Emperor. Doesn't that mean he is the God Emperor? The general muttered. Is. Everyone took a deep breath. It was so shocking. 9 hours passed. Buzz. The special alchemy furnace suddenly trembled, making a harsh sound, and the pressure became stronger and stronger. Fortunately, they were all suppressed in the yard, otherwise, the entire southwest harbor would have fallen into panic. At this time, the lid of the alchemy furnace was opened. Just when everyone was curious, Huaxian jumped up and jumped in. Boom! The lid of the alchemy furnace was closed heavily. Everyone is curious, what is Huaxian doing? However, the pressure in the yard was so terrifying that they didn't dare to get close. I could only look at the alchemy furnace from afar and wait anxiously. In the alchemy furnace, a jade body emitting golden light has taken shape. The whole place exudes a terrifying aura of oppression. Huaxian said to the divine body, Yuer, are you there? I'm here, thank you. Yuer's excited voice came. Huaxian said, Yuer, next I will use my blood as a primer to guide your soul into this body. At that time, your soul and mine may merge together for a short time. Then in order to achieve a 100 fusion effect between your soul and this body, I will merge with this body that has absorbed my blood. So, Tianqin Yuer interrupted, brother, come on, you saved Yuer's life. And you gave her body. Yuer will be yours from now on. Huaxian nodded and said, as long as you accept it. We will begin. After saying this, a drop of blood fell on his body. Buzz. After absorbing Huaxian's essence and blood, the alchemy furnace burst out with devastating power. It spread out in an instant, and millions of miles were covered by this terrifying divine power. The alchemy furnace soared into the sky at an extremely fast speed. No matter what realm the being was in, only an afterimage was seen. And it was impossible to tell clearly what was rushing into the sky and disappearing. However, the increasingly powerful and terrifying pressure did not disappear. Maron Grong and the others were shocked to the extreme. Their feelings were indescribable. It's unbelievable what Huaxian did. The pressure is too terrifying. In the alchemy furnace, after absorbing Huaxian's dragon essence and blood, Tianqin Yuer's original body actually transformed into a dragon body, which was actually a golden dragon. The terrifying pressure emanating from it made Huaxian feel terrified. The body, which was completely made of more than 100 kinds of super materials, transformed and rose to several levels after absorbing the essence and blood of the dragon. The souls of Huaxian and Tianqin Yuer also completely merged together. During this process, Tianqin Yuer's soul also gradually changed. At this time, some of the medicinal herbs in the alchemy furnace played an extremely terrifying role. This provides enough power for the transformation of Tianqin Yuer's soul. This process is very long. A terrifying pressure that shook the heavens and the earth was getting stronger and stronger. All living creatures within the range knelt on the ground in fear. What's going on? What kind of terrifying existence is that? And it emits such a terrifying pressure? Who is this powerful person? Could it be that the God Emperor has arrived? Every living being has countless speculations in his mind. 49 hours just ended. Roar. A dragon roar shook the sky and the earth. A terrifying pressure disappeared in an instant. In the alchemy furnace, Tianqin Yuer has completely merged with the body of the golden dragon. The terrifying power also returned to the body at this moment. Tianqin Yuer put away her dragon body and turned back into human form. She was extremely excited and threw herself into Huaxian's arms and hugged him tight. Thank you, husband. Huaxian felt Tianqin Yuer, and the feeling of blood connection was so strong that it seemed as if he and her could become one. This feeling is so mysterious. Holding Tianqin Yuer, he said, Yuer, let's hug each other and transform into dragon form and give it a try. Tianqin Yuer believes in Huaxian unconditionally. The two of them connected their minds and transformed into dragons together. Roar. At the same time, he roared and rushed into the void. The pressure that had been suffocating all living beings disappeared, and countless living beings breathed a sigh of relief. In nothingness, the bodies of the two dragons gradually merged. They understand each other's minds, have no guard at all, and their bodies and minds are connected and integrated. Finally they merged into one. Because Tianqin Yuer took the initiative to give up the dominant position. His appearance after the fusion is still Huaxian's. A terrifying pressure disappeared at this moment, but he felt that his body possessed inexhaustible power. A power that far exceeded the level of the God Emperor. Above the God Emperor is the realm of God Lord. Then, the fusion of himself and Yuer has made his strength absolutely reach the level of God. Huaxian was shocked by such a terrifying improvement. Ding, congratulations to the host, you have achieved the Divine Dragon Fusion and received a special reward. All attribute realms have been raised to Divine Emperor level 1. Huaxian was stunned. I didn't expect that this time. I helped save Tian Kenyuer and gained such incredible benefits. The realm of all attributes. Even the genetic realms of those that he had not comprehended had reached the level of the Divine Emperor. In other words, as long as he has the attribute realm, he is now at the level of Divine Emperor. Unexpectedly, the opportunity came so suddenly. Viewer, let's return to our human form. Okay, husband? The two of them regained their human form together, and the dragon fusion state was automatically lifted. Tian Kenyuer snuggled in Huaxian's arms and said, hubby, I feel the curse in my soul is still there. Even though she has become a god emperor, the curse still remains, which shows how vicious the curse is. Huaxian nodded and said, until you find the person who cast the curse and break the curse in your body will remain forever. However, with your current strength, you can completely suppress this curse. So don't worry for now. Well, thank you, husband. Husband, I have already felt the source of the curse through the curse in my body. Will you accompany me there? Chapter 642, One Condition. Huaxian nodded and said, okay, your husband will accompany you there. However, everyone is still waiting down there, so we should go down first to let them know that we are safe. And then we can go find the source of the curse? Wow, Ewer listens to your husband. The two held hands and disappeared into the void in an instant. One is at the level of all-system Divine Emperor, and the other is at the level of Divine Emperor. In the Red Moon Star Continent, the two are definitely at the pinnacle. He appeared directly beside everyone. Father, Ron groaned. Cici Lior, Tian Kenyuer shouted excitedly. Miss, it's really you. It was Ewer who reacted first. She turned around, looked at the familiar face, and rushed over. Because her body has become a spiritual body. Tian Kenyuer can control her body to change at will. And naturally it still looks the same as before. Ewer, it's really you, are you okay? Maran Grong and Niucc both rushed over. Extremely excited. Yes, it was me, my husband saved me. Husband? Yes, Brother Xian saved me, so he is now my husband. Ewer said excitedly. She is related to Huaxian by blood, so she gets very excited when Huaxian is mentioned. Maran Grong smiled bitterly and said, I knew that my husband is so lustful. You are so beautiful. How could he let you go? Sister Ron Grong, no, I followed my husband voluntarily. At this time, Tian Kenyuer asked, daughter, is your illness cured? Ewer stared at him and said, Dad, not yet, my daughter is not sick. It's a curse. Not yet. Well, will you? I didn't dare to say anything more. Dad, don't worry, my husband and I already know where the source of the curse is. We will go and destroy it now. Okay, let's go now. Daughter, tell me where the source of the curse is. I will lead 1,000,000 rupes to crush it right now. Dad, don't worry about it, my husband and I will go. By the way, where's Mom? Ewer quickly said, Miss, the madam has gone back to her parents' home to seek help. Ask for help. Tian Kenyuer was very curious. Tian Kenyuer didn't know what was going on either. Asked, why do you want to ask for help? Maran Grong said, I should know why. Why? Tian Kenyuer and Tian Kenyuer asked in unison. Maran Grong looked at Huaxian and said, it's not my husband. He injured your brother and killed the undefeated general. The general is not here in order to deal with him. I should go to my mother's house to ask for help. At this time, there were hurried footsteps outside. Then, a beautiful woman came in aggressively with a large group of people. A middle-aged man said, Yao Yang Lai Zichai, along the way. I seem to have heard that the extremely terrifying pressure was caused by something rising into the sky from your southwest harbor. Do you really not know what it is? The woman said, I went back to my parents' home to invite you. How would I know? Anyway, when I was in Southwest Harbor, there was nothing special here. However, things of that level, even if they are treasures, are not something we can get our hands on, so forget about it. An old man said, what Yao Yang lies each I said is correct. Treasures of that level must have alarmed countless powerful people. It seems that Southwest Harbor will not be peaceful. Huaxian smiled when he heard their discussion. He didn't expect that these people would describe the commotion he and Tian Kenyuer had caused as a treasure. Soon, they entered the yard. At a glance, he saw many people in the yard. But all his eyes fell on Tian Kenyuer. Then they all froze. After a while, the woman asked in disbelief, are you okay? Tian Kenyuer said excitedly, Mom, I'm fine. Right, my baby girl is okay. A mother and son rushed towards each other and hugged each other. After a while, the woman said, my daughter, when I came back to my parents' home this time, I specially brought you a miracle doctor. I didn't expect that you have recovered. It's great. By the way, my dear daughter, how did you recover so suddenly? Mom, there's no such thing as sudden recovery. My daughter's resurrection this time was all thanks to my husband. Husband? Muttering, the woman's eyes fell on Huaxian. who was being stared at by Yan Kanur. He recognized her at a glance. It's you injured my son and killed the undefeated general of my general's mansion. How dare you come to my general's mansion? Before he finished speaking, he reacted and looked at Yan Kanur in disbelief and asked, Yor, what did you just say? He saved you? Yes, Mom. You don't know, Dad brought back a fake miracle doctor, gave me a pill, and it almost killed me. Fortunately, my husband spared no effort and spent several days to treat our daughter with great care, and finally brought her back to life. The demon she plies each eye's gaze fell on the heavenly silkworm Aos. John Kanaos hurriedly said, Madam, my daughter did not lie to you. It was indeed my son-in-law who saved her. Son-in-law? Yan Kanae smiled and said, That's right, ma'am, my daughter has already established a relationship with him. So Huxian is naturally our son-in-law. Did you know that he injured our son and killed the undefeated general? Yan Kanaos smiled bitterly and said, Madam, I naturally know. But it's all a misunderstanding besides, isn't my son fine? Even if he saved our woman, he injured our son and killed our undefeated general, which can be considered as atonement. So, if he wants to be with our daughter, I will never agree. Daughter, look, this is your eldest cousin from my mother's family. Yao Yang Li. He is handsome and talented at such a young age. He has already reached the 70th level of super god. Only a monstrous talent like him is worthy of you. Other people should stop daydreaming. The young man pointed by the demon she plies each eye hurried to Tian Kanur and said enthusiastically, Cousin Yor, don't worry, I will definitely treat you well. Tian Kanur, who possesses a divine body, is extremely outstanding in both appearance and temperament. Even if she tried her best to suppress it, she couldn't do it completely. Therefore, the demon Shipleki was deeply fascinated at the first sight of the heavenly silkworm Lizhi. He had fantasized about her countless times in his mind and wanted to pounce on the heavenly silkworm Yor immediately. He even swore that he must get Yan Kanur, and those women behind her. None of them will be let go. I thought to myself that it was a good decision to come to Southwest Bay this time. What realm is Tian Kanur in now? He immediately saw through the evil in the eyes of the demon, Shiplek, and felt extremely disgusted. He said in a disdainful tone, Mom, I am not worthy of just any cat or dog. No matter who it is, if they want to take advantage of me, they can. But I have one condition. Chapter 643. What's wrong with you? What conditions? Asked the sheep demon Lek excitedly. Tian Kanur said coldly, Defeat me. Is it true? Asked the sheep demon Lek in disbelief. Not to mention in Southwest Harbor. Even in the entire West Wind country, he felt that there were few people who could defeat him. Naturally, there are not many people of the same age who can be his rivals. In a western place like Southwest Harbor, he felt that he was absolutely invincible. That's why I can't believe it. Tian Kanur said. Of course it's true. However, if you want to challenge me, you must be prepared to be beaten to death after all. Fists and feet have no eyes. The demon Shiplek said confidently. Of course I know this since Cousin Yor wants to test my strength. Let's fight. I also hope that Cousin Yor will keep your word. If I defeat you, you will become my woman. Yan Kanur endured the disgust and said, Stop talking nonsense, come on, let me see how rubbish you are. The demon Shiplek said disapprovingly, Since Cousin Yor is eager to be my woman, then let's see what I'm doing. He rushed towards Tian Kanur, using only 1/3 of his strength, thinking that he could take her down easily. The demon Shiplai Zhi thought that Tian Kanur was letting him win on purpose, and he was very satisfied. Tian Kanaosa was a little confused. Where did his daughter get such confidence? As a father, he was very clear about his daughter's level of cultivation. Everyone looked on curiously. Maran Grong asked to Xin, Ubby, you don't seem to be worried at all if I remember correctly. Yor is only at the 15th level of the super god. Xin smiled confidently and said, That was in the past. The demon Shiplek has approached Yor. Reach out and grab Yor's proud place. I thought, since they are all mine anyway, it's okay to touch them in advance, right? This scene made Tian Kanur extremely angry. There was a murderous look in his eyes. Strike instantly. The latecomer arrives first. Bang. A muffled sound. Click. The sound of cracking eggs. An afterimage flew out. Boom. One wall of the yard was knocked down. Click. Click. 2 more trees were broken. I saw Yan Kanur standing there, not moving at all. Everyone already knows who the figure that flew out is. They were all stunned with shock. The gap in strength was so huge that they had no idea how the demon Shiplek flew out. Is he acting on purpose? But, isn't this performance too realistic? The walls of the courtyard that were blessed by the formation were knocked down, as well as 2 trees. Everyone was stunned for a long time, unable to recover. After waiting for a long time, the demon Shiplai Zhi did not come back. Everyone realized something was wrong. Rushed out of the yard quickly. After running for a long distance, he finally saw the demon Shiplek, curled up on the ground like he was raking dog shit. Unconscious and with a look of pain on his face. This is clearly a very miserable situation. What is going on? The demon Shiplek. I personally checked the condition of the demon Shipleki. His body trembled and he was extremely shocked. He muttered in disbelief. It's ruined, completely ruined. The others then reacted and hurried to check on the demon Shiplek. His body trembled, and then he became extremely angry. Who is it? Who on earth is so cruel? The demon Shiplek. I suddenly thought of Huxin, a man who killed the undefeated general, and roared. It's him, it must be that inferior human slave. He took the lead and rushed back to the yard. But I saw Huxin and the others sitting together, talking and laughing, discussing something. The girls were extremely curious about Huxin and asked him all kinds of questions. I accepted him in my heart. Inferior human slave. Come here, I want to ask you, is it you who beat my nephew like that? Huxin answered honestly, it's not me. If it's not you, then who is it? Tian Kenyuer said, Mom, it's me. It's you? How is it possible? You are my daughter, how could I not know what level of cultivation you are in? After roaring, he stared at Huxin and said viciously, it must be you. Huxin said in a nonchalant tone. So what if it's me? I can easily destroy him. You didn't realize that with such a weak strength. What can I do to him? After hearing this, the angry people of the Demon Sheep clan finally reacted. Yes, the opponent's strength is so terrifying. What can we do even if we know it's him? I feel unwilling to accept this. The old man said. Young man, do you think you are invincible? You should know that my Demon Sheep clan is a big clan in Fire King City. With countless strong people. If you offend my clan, you will only die. Huxin said disdainfully, this is a dead end. Come on, I'm standing here, what can you do to me? In fact, if people don't pay with their lives, they will be helpless. Tian Kanaoc, are you just going to watch and do nothing? The demon Shiplek roared at him. She cursed herself inwardly, wondering why she married such a stupid man. Tian Kanaoc smiled bitterly. Madam, it's not that I don't care, but the rules of the battle between the demon Shiplek and our daughter just now have been agreed upon. Right now, the demon Shiplek is no match for our daughter. He was seriously injured, and it's only because he didn't learn the skills well enough. What nonsense are you talking about? The demon Shiplek is at the 70th level of Super God. How could our daughter hurt him so badly? Tian Kanaoc said proudly. Madam, our daughter is no longer the same woman as before. She is now stronger than me, her father. It turned out that when they rushed out just now, Barangrong and the others asked about the situation. And Tian Kanaoc also knew that it was indeed his daughter who had defeated the demon Shiplek just now. Bullshit, our daughter. Tian Kenyuer interrupted impatiently. Mom, I'm your woman, can't you trust me just once? Are you still impatient with me? I raised you up, don't I know what's going on with you? Buzz. A space rumbled, and a powerful, suffocating aura burst out from Tian Kenyuer's body. Oppress all the people like the demon sheep tribe. Boom boom boom. Those with weak cultivation could not withstand the slightest burst of pressure from Tian Kenyuer. They knelt on the ground with a look of fear and sweat all over their faces. Looking at Tian Kenyuer, his heart was shot to the extreme. The demon Shiplek stared at her, also stunned. Unable to recover for a long time. Tian Kenyuer asked at this time. Mom, do you believe it now? The demon Shiplek's body trembled violently. Stared at Tian Kenyuer in disbelief and asked, Daughter, what's wrong with you? How did you suddenly become so powerful? I feel that you are even more powerful than the ancestors of our demon sheep tribe. But Tian Kenyuer looked at Huxin tenderly, with deep affection and love. Then she answered, all this is thanks to my husband. He not only saved me, but also gave me a new life. So Mom, please stop introducing me to other people. I, Tian Kenyuer, will only belong to my husband in this life. What a lively scene. It seems that one of you has the precious treasure. A strong man descended from the sky and said. Chapter 644. Cat poop? Everyone's eyes couldn't help but fall on this middle-aged guy. He was not very tall, about 1.6 meters, and his eagle eyes looked extremely sharp. Being stared at by him was like being hunted. Only those powerful Eagle Clan warriors have this feeling. The middle-aged man slowly descended, but did not touch the ground. He hung in the air 3 meters high, scanning the entire scene. Then he asked, where is that treasure that is so powerful that it shakes the heavens and shocks the people within a radius of billions of miles? Everyone looked at each other. The general asked, Sir, don't we have any treasures here? No treasure? What are you doing with so many people gathered together? The other party asked angrily. Sir, my daughter was seriously ill. The miracle doctor we invited today cured her, so we all gathered together to celebrate. Serious illness, what a coincidence, he recovered just when the treasure appeared. So, it was the treasure that cured his serious illness. He stared at Tian Qingyuer with vicious anger. This made Tian Qingyuer very dissatisfied. Huaxian pulled her behind him, stared at the middle-aged man, and asked coldly, "Do you think you are very powerful?" The middle-aged man was stunned. The whole audience was a little nervous. After all, the opponent is very powerful and has great momentum. After reacting, the middle-aged man didn't say anything, but a powerful aura that could destroy everything burst out, concentrated into a line and pressed towards Huaxian alone. The space wherever it passed was extremely distorted and on the verge of breaking. Even if the people around were not targeted, the momentum alone made them break out in cold sweats. They all looked at Huaxian. The latter had a dull expression and looked at the middle-aged man with contempt. He said calmly, "If you dare to attack me directly, then you are also prepared to be killed." The next moment, Huaxian's body shook. The speed was so fast that in the eyes of others he just shook. Booming magnet. A loud noise was heard. He was the target of the middle-aged man's attack. Everyone watched with eyes wide open, and after seeing clearly, they were stunned and horrified. The attack launched by the middle-aged man actually hit himself. The entire body was actually split into two by the terrifying pressure ray. Such an attack method is mysterious, powerful and shocking. But what shocked everyone was why the middle-aged man's attack hit himself. Looking at Huaxian again, he was standing there, as if he had not moved. The more this is the case, the more shocking and confusing it is. How strong is he? How could I do this without them noticing? Although the middle-aged man's body was split into two, as a God King level strongman with powerful genes, he was only seriously injured. With the explosion of genetic power, the horrific injuries were actually recovered visibly with the naked eye. He looked at Huaxian in front of him, his eyes full of horror. Just now, he was waiting for the target to be destroyed. I felt my shoulders tighten and my body sink, and before I could react, I was hit by my own attack. At this moment, his mood was indescribable. The fear in my heart is growing stronger. Huaxian smiled coldly. "Since you want me to die, then you can only die." Those plain words, without any murderous intent, made the middle-aged man feel the threat of death. It was so strong that it made the soul tremble. "Please spare my life. Sir, please spare my life. I know I was wrong and I was blind. Please let me go. I am willing to compensate you." "Oh, what can you give to compensate me, or how much do you think my life is worth?" Huaxian asked curiously. The remaining body of the middle-aged man trembled violently. He knew very well that if he could not show enough sincerity to impress the other party, he would not be able to survive. After hesitating for a long time, he said distressed lie, "Sir, I have a material obtained from outer space, which is extremely mysterious. I still can't figure out what it is. So I will give it to you." Although this item felt very precious to him, he couldn't see through it, couldn't use it, and there was no point in keeping it. What matters most now is staying alive, and taking it out can show your sincerity. Huaxian suddenly became curious and said, "Why don't you take it out quickly?" The middle-aged man quickly took out something, a black, egg-sized oval object. Everyone looked at it curiously, not understanding what it was. When Huaxian was about to take it out of curiosity, the voice of the void cat sounded in his mind, "If I'm not mistaken, that should be my shit." What the hell? The thing that the middle-aged man regarded as a treasure turned out to be the shit of the void cat? It makes me sick just looking at it. However, the feces of the void cat is indeed a rare treasure in the records of case medical techniques. And after floating in the void for many years, it is even more rare to absorb the air of nothingness. What the middle-aged man in front of him took out was undoubtedly the cat shit that had been floating in the void for many years. When he saw it for the first time, Huaxian took out a box and said, "Put it in." Seeing Huaxian's disgusted look, the middle-aged man couldn't help but ask curiously, "Sir, do you know what this is?" Huaxian did not hide it. After all, the void cat was on him, and his shit was not hard to find. Cat shit? Cat shit? The whole audience was confused. Maran Grong, who was standing by, exclaimed, "Could this be the feces of the void cat?" Huaxian looked at her in surprise and said, "Wife, I didn't expect you to be so knowledgeable and know all this." Maran Grong said, "When I'm bored, I like to collect ancient books to read. So I know. Yes, this is indeed the shit of the void cat. It is somewhat useful but not much. Okay, I'll let you off this time. If you dare to do it again, you won't be so lucky next time." A middle-aged man breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't expect that it was a pile of cat poop that saved his life. "I remembered that I had bitten this thing with my teeth." Vomit. I couldn't help vomiting. "What do you mean?" Huaxian asked, dissatisfied lie. "My lord, you misunderstood. When I guessed that this cat shit was something precious, I bit it again and again. Vomit. Before he could finish speaking, Niucc and the others couldn't help but vomit. Uxin said, speechless lie. That's also your blessing, although the shit of this void cat is also cat shit. The void cat is not simple, he was born at the level of God Emperor. His shit is also a treasure to you. Son-in-law, I wonder what the effects of this void cat's feces are? The general on the side couldn't help but ask. Uxin said. It doesn't have much use, its biggest use is to stabilize the realm and help those who break through the realm to resist the catastrophe. Even if the breakthrough fails, the cultivation level will not fall. Everyone was shocked by the effect of the void cat's cat feces. Wouldn't that be a guarantee for a breakthrough to a higher realm? It's so precious, yet you still say it's irregular? The general took a deep breath and asked, Son-in-law, do you have a lot of this? Everyone was looking at Uxin, waiting for his answer. Uxin smiled and said, it's not much. But I have a void cat. Chapter 645. I don't like bullying the weak. What? The whole audience was shocked. I think the cat feces of the void cat is extremely precious. So I just raised a void cat. In other words, the things that middle-aged people take out and think are treasures may actually be the poop of someone else's cat. After the shock, everyone was speechless. Uxin threw the cat shit to the general and said, if you like it, you can take it. Tian Kanaos didn't mind it. Even if this thing would not be used in the future, giving it to others would be a favor. Okay, I still have to go find the source of the curse with my wife. Who wants to go with us? Although he was asking, Uxin's eyes were on Maran Grong and the others. On your wife, how can I not follow you? Maran Grong said stubbornly. I didn't expect that, even though I obviously don't like men. When facing this guy, I am now worried about being abandoned by him. That's right, you and our husbands, don't ever think of getting rid of us in this life. Niucc also said quickly. Yukion Qin said nothing and walked in front of him. Mao Yui smiled and said, I don't mind. That's not a casual statement. Anyone who follows me is my person. Uxin said this in a domineering manner. Son-in-law, are you leaving now? The general asked worriedly. Certainly. Son-in-law, can you wait a while before leaving? You know the big commotion caused by Ur, and countless powerful people thought there was a treasure here, and they all rushed over. I'm afraid there will be trouble. When saying this, he subconsciously looked at the middle-aged man. The meaning is self-evident. Junkin Ur still cares a lot about her parents. After all, her parents are really good to her and would do anything for her. She said to Uxin, hubby, my condition is not serious now. Let's wait until this storm is over before we leave. Uxin pulled her into his arms and said, okay, I'll listen to my wife. The general and the demon she plies Ehi both breathed a sigh of relief. Yao Yang lies Ehi, it seems that you are on this guy's side. So we'll take our leave now. The people of the demon sheep clan held a grudge against Uxin, and left immediately after saying this. I thought, no matter how powerful you are, my demon sheep tribe wants revenge. Even if you are a dragon, you have to coil up. The demon she plies Ehi did not stop them, fearing that if they stayed, there would be another conflict between the two sides. My lord, I am leaving now as well. The middle-aged man also hurriedly said. But Uxin didn't say anything, and he didn't dare to leave just yet. Go away. Thank you for sparing my life, sir. Only then did he leave quickly, regardless of his injuries. Son-in-law, let's move to the living room and talk, said the general. Good. Everyone then moved to the living room of the general's mansion. When he came to the living room, Uxin did not sit down. After all, Tian Kanaos and Yao Yang Lizai are elders. Son-in-law, you don't have an ID card on you. I don't know where you are from. The demon she plies Ehi asked naturally, as if the previous misunderstanding had never happened. Where I come from needs to be kept secret, so please don't ask too many questions. The more this happened, the more people speculated that he must have come from the human race's holy land. What follows is some small talk. Buzz buzz buzz. Several powerful pressures from high in the sky seemed to come simultaneously, oppressing the entire place. The entire southwest harbor was in a state of panic. Son-in-law, let's go out and take a look. Good. Everyone came outside and looked up into the sky. An old man asked arrogantly, who is in charge of this place? Tian Kanaos said loudly, sir, I am responsible for this place. The other party asked angrily, then why didn't you greet us when you saw us coming? The powerful aura was pressing down, determined to teach the general a lesson. Tian Kanaos was not in a hurry. After all, he had an awesome son-in-law by his side. He said calmly, because I am entertaining my good son-in-law today. I am busy. You are so crazy, you are so busy. I will make sure you are busy for the rest of your life. The other person was actually a young guy, but he exuded a strong aura and his identity and status were definitely not simple. After saying this angrily, he attacked directly and slashed down with his sword. A genetic sword blade. 1,000 meters long, reaching the earth. The terrifying pressure made all living creatures in the entire Southwest Harbor tremble in fear. Tunkan was also panicked when he saw this, mainly because his son-in-law beside him had not reacted yet. With just a thought, Huaxian controlled the appearance of a transparent barrier. Not only did he block the old man's pressure, but he also blocked the young man's sword attack. There was only a slight muffled sound. The young man's attack did not even cause the transparent protective shield to tremble. What is that? The young man cried out in shock. I thought that with my strength, I could definitely sweep away everything in a place like Southwest Harbor. I didn't expect to be at a disadvantage the first time I made a move. John Kanaos breathed a sigh of relief and said proudly, I advise you not to do anything rash. My son-in-law is good in every way except that he has a bad temper. If you anger him, you may not even have a chance of survival. Who is your son-in-law? An old man asked. Yan Kanaos looked at Huaxian and introduced him. This is my son-in-law. All these people's eyes were focused on Huaxian. After observing for a while, one of them said distaffanially, You are so arrogant because of a lowly human slave with no status. I think you are tired of living. Yan Kanaos taunted. Inferior slave, you didn't even notice when my son-in-law set up the defense shield. And you didn't even shake the defense shield. What qualifications do you have to look down on my son-in-law? What? Several people were extremely shocked. Because from beginning to end, they didn't see Huaxian move. I don't believe it at all. The young man said distaffanially, You guys really know how to play by attributing the defense formation you set up in advance to this inferior slave. Didn't you say your son-in-law is very powerful? Well, let him get out of the shield and fight me. Yan Kanaos said. I think it's better to forget it, lest you die with regrets. How dare he, a lowly slave, kill me? The young man was furious. Then his eyes fell on Huaxian and he roared murderously. Do you dare to come out and fight me? Huaxian shook his head and said. I don't like bullying the weak. What? The old men around the young man were all shocked. The young man has reached the terrifying realm of super god level 80. But he is called a weakling in the other party's mouth? This is an existence that even they are afraid of. You say he is weak? The young man was so angry that he roared. Since you said I was a weakling, now, a weakling, want to challenge you to a life and death battle. Do you dare to come out and fight? Huaxian hesitated for a while and said. You seem to want to die. If I don't help you, everyone will think I'm inhumane. Right? And I will be a good person and help you. As he spoke, he walked out step by step. What was shocking was that he was not walking on the ground, but stepping in the air, just like walking upstairs. Going up to the sky step by step. Just this point alone shocked these people, because their cultivation level is not enough to achieve this. Chapter 646, I was just saying, hello. The young man was also frightened by this scene. Looking at Huaxian's age, he was probably even younger than himself. He didn't believe that the other human race could be stronger than himself. He taunted, You're just using your skills to hit the wall. The more you show off now, the worse it will be in a while. The strong men around suddenly realized. So it's a skill. I was wondering, he looks so young, how could he have such a terrifying level of cultivation? However, this skill should not be simple either. It must consume a lot of energy. But it is very impressive. That's right, if we learn it. I'm afraid we can intimidate many powerful enemies. While a group of people were talking, Huaxian had already reached a high altitude. He looked at the young man and said, Tell me, how do you want to die? The young man sneered, still pretending, I will tear off your disguise now. A knife cut out. Another huge blade, carrying the force of breaking through the air, flew towards Huaxian. Everyone in the audience, including countless creatures in the distance, were looking at this side curiously. Huaxian stood in the void, motionless. Boom! There was a loud bang. The young man's attack was once again blocked by a transparent protective shield. This time, they were all stunned. It was like this on the ground just now. And it is still like this now that we are in the air. This proves that this protective shield was indeed made by this human youth. The young man could not accept this fact and said angrily, You are just carrying a formation with you. If you have the guts, fight me head on instead of hiding in your shell. Huaxian suddenly said inferently, You challenge my bottom line again, and again. Do you think I dare not kill you? Take a step forward. The speed is too fast. No one saw him move. How is that possible? Only the young man felt the extreme danger and screamed subconsciously. Huaxian approached him and punched him in the head. Boom! With a loud bang, the outside world saw that the young man's head suddenly exploded. No one noticed that it was Huaxian who caused the explosion with one punch. Huaxian returned to his original position, giving the impression that he had not moved. The young man's body did not fall down under the control of soul power. The flesh at the neck was wriggling rapidly. Apparently, the young man was expending his genetic energy to repair his brain. This is the terrifying thing about those who are powerful in the genetic realm. Unless the body is completely blown to pieces, it can be repaired using super strong genetic power. Of course, this consumes an extremely huge amount of genetic power. After the repair, the impact on cultivation is enormous. Basically, 1 or 2 small genetic realms will be dropped. Therefore, genetic practitioners would not want their bodies to be destroyed. Wu Xian smiled coldly and said, "It's a life and death battle. Do you think you can still survive?" The young man's body trembled violently, and his soul roared in fear. "Do you know who I am? You dare to kill me?" Wu Xian asked sarcastically. "Then do you know who I am? Do you want to kill me?" The whole audience was stunned. Yes, where did this human race come from? Why is it so terrifying? Wu Xian stretched out his hand and pointed a finger at the young man. The space around him began to compress. The distorted lines are clearly visible to everyone. It was so simple, but it unleashed such terrifying destructive power. The several strong men around were scared to death. Cold sweat kept pouring out, and soon I was sweating all over. At this moment, I deeply realized how terrifying this human youth with no identity was. Boom! The young man's body exploded. Just when a shadow wanted him to escape. Wu Xian said coldly, "I said it's a life and death battle. Do you think your soul can escape?" With a wave of his hand, the density of space suddenly increased to a terrifying level, and even the soul was trapped in it, unable to escape. Everyone was looking at the shadow, which looked exactly like the young man. And it must be his soul. Even his soul was imprisoned. And the young man finally became afraid. "Let me go. And I'll give you 1 billion demon crystals." The young man opened his mouth and wanted to use the devil's crystal marrow to buy his life. Wu Xian said disapprovingly, "Demon's essence? This thing is worse than a pile of feces to me. At least feces can nourish the toy, but the demon's essence is useless." These words left the whole audience speechless. The demon crystal marrow that they treasured was worth less than a piece of shit in the eyes of these humans. It's so discouraging. An old man said, "His realm is probably far beyond the genetic power contained in the demon crystal marrow. So the demon crystal marrow is probably really useless to him." "Is that so? No wonder he's so arrogant. If I were so strong, I would have killed that old man a long time ago." Seeing that the demon crystal marrow was ineffective, the young man pleaded, "Sir, just tell me what you want. I promise to do it for you." "Do all of that for me? Then I want an imperial weapon. Do you have one?" This. The whole audience was shocked again. He spoke of an imperial weapon. Could he be an emperor-level expert? That's too terrifying. At this moment, the young man regretted his decision to the extreme. So many people did not take action, and he was too impulsive just now. Suddenly I realized that there are many beautiful women around this guy. Judging from his eyes, they should all be his women. This guy is lecherous. He quickly said, "Sir, if you let me go, I will introduce you to my sister, who is peerless and beautiful beyond the reach of the gods." Wu Xian immediately became interested and asked, "Is your sister really that outstanding?" The young man quickly opened his address book, opened a photo and projected it into the sky. Suddenly, a huge picture of a beautiful woman came into everyone's eyes. What a nice view. She's so beautiful, she's even prettier than Mar on Grong, the most beautiful girl in Southwest Harbor. When the young man saw Wu Xian's eyes, he knew that he had made the right bet. He never imagined that one day it was his sister's pretty face that saved his life. "How about it? My sister is pretty, right?" asked the young man. Wu Xian nodded and said, "Since you want to introduce your sister to me, she is one of ours. Remember to bring your sister to see me." With a wave of the hand, the imprisonment of the youth disappeared. Then he threw a token over and said, "Take your sister with you. Holding this token, you can sense my location. By the way, don't keep me waiting, or I'll come visit you." "Don't worry, brother-in-law, I won't keep you waiting for long. I'll leave first." "Go ahead." The soul body fled away at full speed. I thought, no matter how powerful you are, if you are captured by my sister, you will be my brother-in-law when the time comes. I will let my sister avenge me. After the young man left, Wu Xian's eyes fell on a few old men. All the onlookers were also watching them. "Young man, there is a misunderstanding. We are here only to investigate the terrifying pressure before, not to cause trouble," an old man said hurriedly. Wu Xian looked at the old man who spoke first and asked coldly, "What did you mean by being my father-in-law before?" The old man's brain worked quickly, and then he said stiffly, "I was just saying hello." Chapter 647, 3 Vixens Again. Say hello? Your way of saying hello is very special. I have to learn it. After Wu Xian finished speaking, a terrifying aura instantly erupted. The sky and earth changed color. Rumble, thunder roared in the 9 heavens. Lightning appeared all at once. The devastating power of thunder and lightning suppressed the world for eternity. Boom boom boom. Oswith Good Hearing heard the sound of countless creatures kneeling heavily on the ground. No one dared to look up again. At this moment, everyone realized what terror was. Several old men who were fighting against Huaxian in the air, all fell to the ground and knelt on the ground. This is to show the highest respect. The shock in my heart is indescribable. There were countless strong men in the dark who had come because of the previous pressure. Looking at Huaxian, who was like the Lord of Catastrophe in the air. They all remembered his appearance and breath deeply. I reminded myself, trembling inwardly, that I must not offend this guy. It's unbelievable that he caused such a horrible celestial phenomenon just because he was angry. It's so scary. What kind of realm is this? Even a high-level god king cannot achieve this. Could it be the divine emperor? Various speculations emerged in people's minds. Theo, the old man who had taken action before, decisively cut off one of his arms, and then knelt in front of Tianqian Os. There was a nanospace device on the ground. Sincerely apologized. Sir, I was wrong before. I will cut off one of my arms and offer you tens of billions of demon crystals. Please forgive me. He was really scared. It was just a matter of thought for Huaxian to kill him. At this moment, they realized that the transparent protective shield was probably set up by the other party on a whim. Tianqian Os naturally did not dare to offend these people. Although his son-in-law was powerful, he could not stay in Southwest Harbor all the time. He accepted the nano-space device and said, okay, let's just leave it at that. Son-in-law, forget it, we don't know each other without fighting. Shouted to Huaxian, who was high in the sky. I was a little nervous. It would be embarrassing if my son-in-law didn't cooperate. Huaxian put away his pressure, slowly descended, and came to the ground and said, Father-in-law, don't go against your will if you don't like these guys. You can uproot the forces behind them in one sentence. Yes. These words made everyone take a deep breath. I have no doubt that the other party definitely has this ability. Tianqian Os was extremely excited with such an awesome son-in-law backing him up. What would he be afraid of in the future? The Sky Silkworm clan is likely to soar into the sky. Son-in-law, this is our first meeting, there's no big conflict. Just forget it. Come on, it's lunchtime, let's go have a meal and a drink together. Tianqian Os was in a good mood. Since he had spoken, several old men who had come from afar and thought they could sweep away everything did not dare to be disrespectful. Come to the dining hall together. Huaxian and his family sat together. And the old men sat in the corner, trembling, afraid that they would offend someone accidentally. You are all guests from afar, come and have a drink. I'm in a really good mood. The meal lasted for more than an hour. And the topic was all about Huaxian. After lunch, Huaxian said, Father-in-law, no one should dare to cause trouble in Southwest Harbor. It's time for us to set off to find the person who cast the curse. After that, he handed him a token and said, if you have any questions, you can contact me through this token. Tianqian Os regarded it as a treasure and quickly put it away. Okay, since my son-in-law is in a hurry to treat my daughter, I, as a father, can't waste any more time. You guys can set off now. Mom and Dad, let's set off then, Tianqian said sweetly. Brother-in-law, wait. But it was Tianqian Xiao, whose injuries were almost healed. Wu shouted. Huaxian stopped. Tianqian Zhaoi came up to him and mustered up the courage to say, Brother-in-law, it was all a misunderstanding before. Don't take it to heart. He still remembers vividly the scenes of Huaxian displaying his supernatural powers. And he is terrified to the core. We are all family. How could I take it to heart? He said and patted him on the shoulder. System, I can raise his realm by one level with one tap. Ding, congratulations to the host, the setup is successful. Boom. With this slap, Tianqian Duo's realm was raised to a higher level. The whole audience was shocked. Huaxian slapped him a second time. Upgrade to the next level again. The third time is another level. Everyone present was numb. Huaxian then said, it's just compensation for the reward I gave you. Ding dong. Tianqian Tadou knelt in front of Huaxian excitedly. Brother-in-law, thank you. He was able to advance 3 levels by tapping 3 times. If it were him, it would take him thousands of years to advance that much. Son-in-law, can you pat me? The general said excitedly. You can level up by taking a photo. Who doesn't want to be photographed? Huaxian smiled and said, okay. Tianqian Os. I quickly walked up to Huaxian, and even squatted down to make it easier for Huaxian to take the photo. Huaxian said speechless lie, Father-in-law, you don't have to do this. After saying that, he patted him on the shoulder 5 times. The realm of the God King level was actually raised by 5 levels. The whole audience was shocked. What kind of method is this? It is extremely difficult for them to improve even a little bit. But they can break through one after another just by tapping? Am I dreaming now? The demon Shiplai Zhi also hurried over, squatted in front of Huaxian, and said expectantly, Son-in-law, pat me quickly. Huaxian looked at the demon Shiplai Zhi. Because he was squatting, he was looking at the scene that he shouldn't have seen. and he felt extremely embarrassed. The main thing is that although Yaoyang Lai Zhi is my mother-in-law and has lived for tens of thousands of years, as a god-king level existence, her appearance and figure are outstanding. He quickly patted her 3 times and turned around and said, "Wife, it's time to get going." Others who wanted to be photographed by Huaxian didn't even have a chance to speak. Looking at Tian Kanayosi and his family of 3, they were extremely envious. "Come outside." Mao Yui asked beside Huaxian, "Honey, I want to be patted by you too." "I want to too," Yukian Qin said quickly. Huaxian smiled and said, "Wise, if you want to improve your cultivation, isn't that a simple matter? There's no rush now. I don't care. I want to improve my cultivation now." Okay, I'll give you a promotion now." There was no other choice, but Huaxian could only improve their cultivation. But the improvement is not much, it is still 5 small mirror realms. Even so, we were ecstatic. At this time, Yan Yu took out a small aircraft and said, "Husband, we should hurry on our way." "Good. Everyone is about to board the aircraft." 3 beautiful figures were walking quickly towards us in the distance. When he saw Huaxian, his eyes were filled with excitement and awe. When I noticed that Huaxian was surrounded by many beautiful women, I understood what I had guessed. He is indeed a lustful man. But this kind of man is easy to control. Notice the direction the 3 people came from. Yukian Qin said angrily, "3 vixens again, I'm afraid some people will be bewitched again." Noticing Yukian Qin's gaze, Huaxian coughed awkwardly. But he didn't deny it, because he really had no resistance when facing beautiful women. Chapter 648, "Sorry, I don't want to make friends now." The 3 of them came in front of Huaxian. One of them took off her veil and asked sweetly, "Handsome guy, can we be friends?" Huaxian smiled slightly and was about to agree. "Ding, the mission is to refuse any approach from any beautiful woman within 3 days, and it is forbidden to approach any beautiful woman. If the mission fails, 10 levels of the highest genetic realm will be deducted. If the mission is completed, 100 points of beauty resistance will be obtained." Me, still beautiful woman resists the will. Do I need to resist? She's a beauty, why should I resist? Huaxian roared in his heart. But the punishment was too severe and we had to comply. With a cold look, he said to the 3 beauties, "Sorry, I don't want to make friends right now." When these words were spoken, the whole audience was stunned. Yukian Qin was particularly surprised. Looking at Huaxian in disbelief, the looks of these 3 beauties were more outstanding than hers. I thought to myself, if I were a man, I wouldn't be able to refuse such an active embrace. I didn't expect that my husband, whom I had labeled a pervert, would directly refuse. Judging from his expression, he doesn't seem to be joking. Huaxian had already turned around and walked onto the spaceship. The 3 beauties finally reacted. One of them asked in disbelief, "Handsome guy, are we not good looking enough?" Huaxian simply ignored it. Seeing that his wives hadn't come up yet, he shouted impatiently, "My darlings, what are you doing? Don't you want to leave?" Maran Grong and the others trembled and quickly boarded the spaceship with full of doubts in their heads. The 3 beauties became anxious. When they make a move, even if you are not a lustful person, you will definitely not be able to refuse their beauty. This guy is surrounded by beautiful women, all of them are his wives. Who would believe that he is not lustful? But when faced with the active approach from himself and others, he just refused. Is it a game of hard to get? "Ladies, where are you going? Can you take us with you?" The beautiful woman who had been silent said in a pleading tone. I thought to myself, let's see if you are playing hard to get. Everyone's eyes fell on Tian Kanyur. Tian Kanyur also wanted to know whether her husband really rejected the other party. He smiled and replied, "We are going to Dark City, are you on the way?" The 3 of them said in unison, "What a coincidence. We are also going to Dark City." It was a natural thing to get on the spaceship. Then, the spaceship took off from Dark City, and everyone's eyes fell on Huaxian. The 3 beauties also came directly to Huaxian, who was lying on the chair. "Young man, you seem to have something against us. Have we ever offended you?" said a beautiful woman with a look of grievance. This pitiful expression made Yukian Qin and the others fall in love with him. I thought to myself, she is indeed a fairy. Huaxian said seriously, "Since we are carrying you along, then hurry on your way and don't try to chat with me. I am not interested in you." His righteous words made everyone stunned again. Not only the 3 beauties, but even Niucc and the others couldn't figure out what was going on. Why? You have so many beauties around you, which proves that you are not interested in beauties. Compared with your women, our 3 sisters are not the best. But we are not the worst either. We approached you actively. Why did you reject us? I want to know the reason. A big beautiful woman got straight to the point. Huaxian smiled coldly and said, "If I don't like it. And I don't like it, why would you ask so many questions?" If you dare to bother me again, don't blame me for throwing you off the spaceship. After saying that, he closed his eyes. That cold aura made everyone understand that he was not joking. The faces of the three beauties suddenly became extremely ugly. They looked at each other and didn't find anything wrong. I really can't understand why the three of us were rejected so ruthlessly. The more this happened, the more unwilling they were. And the more curious they became about who Xin. Since you look down on us, we'll just keep pestering you. The three of them looked at each other and reached a tacit understanding in their hearts. Iwata sighed depressed. Niyucc came to Hu Xin and whispered, Hubby, 3 beautiful girls came to your door, how could you bear to refuse them? Maran Grong and the others also walked closer and listened curiously. Hu Xin said lazily, I am content with just the likes of you. Besides, I already have many wives and don't want to find another one. I thought if it weren't for the system task, I would have taken them down long ago. What a bunch of devils, they will never let go of an opportunity. Seeing that Hu Xin didn't seem to be lying, several people looked puzzled and didn't ask any more questions. After all, there's nothing you can get out of asking. At this time Hu Xin suddenly stood up, picked up the Cat Yi and rushed into the room next to him. The sudden attack caused Cat Yi to scream. Although she already considered herself as Hu Xin's woman, they had never slept together after all. The three beauties looked at each other when they saw this. One person muttered, it seems like this guy is just pretending. I think he can't hold it back anymore. It seems we have met an expert. So what should we do next? We are like this. After 3 rounds of discussion,